players that we haven't gotten to see in such a long time on the main stage. The gates are now open.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to see Hydra, but Hydra's on the bench. Donnie going to be substituting in, playing a peculiar double monk composition with Flynn on that Frost Mage. Let's see if they can penetrate the defense of Team Bronze Troll.
I feel like on paper, Team Bronze Troll right now, they have an advantage. With that Destruction Warlock, they're going to be able to provide a lot of burst, especially with that Infernal that has been dropped down. When you see the Destruction Warlock use that cooldown, you can expect a big damage.
You can already see a Maledicts being activated on Flynn. Donnie responds. Will it be enough to keep him going? It seems to be the case for now, as Donnie leaves crowd control and immediately retreats to safety. Both Flynn and Donnie trying to hide and duck for cover, but he gets knocked back into line of sight. Beautiful Ring of Peace. Infernion raining down destruction, an early ice block forced, and Team Bronze Troll get a lead.
Yeah, Team Bronze Troll, their objective is to just slow down Flynn, stop him from casting Frostbolt, stop him from dropping Blizzard, and not allow him to get those polymorphs off. If they can control Flynn, Team Bronze Troll will have an excellent advantage in this matchup.
Most certainly, Donnie still locked down in crowd control. Great crowd control from Team Bronze Troll throughout this first match. This could just be it as Flynn tries to get to safety on dangerously low health. Rezus in hot pursuit. That Temporal Shield, a race against the clock, will manage to be a race that Flynn can win as Donnie gets to safety and tops him off. But Team Bronze Troll have been in complete domination through game one.
Yeah, the only advantage Team Bronze Troll has right now is the mana advantage. Lotar now into some crowd control, and Infernion getting bursted down for the first time in this game. F2K and friends looking to strike back just a little bit, but Destro Warlocks are so tanky, it's going to be difficult for F2K and friends to really penetrate through those defensives.
We see at this point Donnie trading out more defensive cooldowns, but still falling behind as Rezus is just tearing into him, forced to polymorph and retreat back behind the pillar, but we've seen nothing but F2K and friends run away. That's all they've been able to mount. No offense, just simply try to stay alive. And you're not going to win a game simply by just trying to stay alive. Will they be able to find an opportunity to strike back is the question underneath all of this pressure.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Donnie, he's going to have to push in. I don't think Flynn needs to be looking for polymorphs in this matchup. They need to rely on that incapacitate that Trilly and Donnie have onto Lontar, and then they can get some burst rolling on Infernion, because if Flynn is using his blinks offensively, he's pushing in, looking for the polymorphs, and he gets denied on those. It's just such a huge waste of the mobility the Frost Mage has.
All right, Rezu's making a preemptive play, activating that diffuse magic right before the burst window so that he could just stay aggressive and not fall behind. You can tell that Team Bronze Troll have this matchup nailed down, but in the meantime, crowd control has been secured onto Lontar. Infernion alone here for a moment. Earthen Wall Totem connected, but gets knocked out for a moment. Infernion should start to stabilize. They do manage to get a polymorph, but Flynn is on the back foot. He's caught in midfield. Donnie locked in crowd control. This could be the second ice block forced early on. No, Donnie denies and keeps the match going. That ice block, a very important cooldown to hold on to as long as possible.
Yeah, so Donnie, he's actually opting to use the Song of Chi-Ji talent in this matchup. So Donnie, he can push in, he can get the incapacitate on Lontar, and then use the Song of Chi-Ji to extend that crowd control chain onto Lontar and allow them to get a little bit more uptime on Infernion, get some damage out. So it's really going to be up to Team Bronze Troll. They have to shut down that Chi-Ji, in addition to the polymorphs coming in from Flynn if they want to keep Infernion alive.
Beautiful crowd control by Infernion. Spell lock into a full fear, into a capacitator totem, and Team Bronze Troll are making F2K friends look like they're amateurs here in game number one. F2K and friends need to find a way to turn this around, because I see absolutely no openings for them.
Yeah, they haven't got a single defensive cooldown from Team Bronze Troll besides that Earthen Wall Totem, and that really isn't that big of a cooldown to be pulling out. Flynn, once again, he's going to be using the Temporal Shield, trying to mitigate some of this damage. Gets topped off there by Donnie. Double leg sweep coming in from Trille, looking for some burst damage on Infernion once again, but Infernion, he should be completely fine. Flynn just having to play defensive. He's just been running away the entire game, just trying to avoid Infernion, which you really can't blame him. Trading with the Destro Warlock isn't necessarily the smartest idea. These Chaos Bolts do huge amounts of damage, and Flynn gets low, but the Life Cocoon once again saves the day.
These Ring of Peace placed by Rezus are perfect. They knock back Flynn right into line of sight Infernion, and he can just nail Chaos Bolts straight to Flynn's face, and every time that happens, we see major defensive cooldowns forced. A couple more opportunities. It could just be it here and now. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Bronze Troll in complete domination in game one as Donnie is desperate. How much longer can Flynn stay alive? That Maledicts is going to soak up a lot of healing. Another spell lock secured by Infernion. He's basically 100% interrupt rate in game one, followed up by a Shadow Fury. Perfect timing into the leg sweep. Amazing crowd control. Maledict connects. Lava Bursts are flying in, and Team Bronze Troll are looking like they're going to walk away with this. Flynn hangs on. Donnie rolls away, and somehow, someway, F2K friends, they managed to just stay alive.
Well, although Donnie's getting crowd control, Trilly has been spamming out the heals onto Flynn over and over, but while Trilly's doing that, he's not getting any counter pressure, so he's kept the team alive, which is good, but really, F2K and friends, they need to find some sort of offense in this game. Team Bronze Troll in complete control.
All right, we can see the Touch of Death activated for both Windwalker Monks. Potential big burst coming in here as they set up a swap to Lone Tar. Are they going to pull off the miracle? Despite being behind the entire game, one opportunity could be it. Lone Tar denies, doesn't crack under the pressure. Now leading the charge for his team, getting a win shear on Donnie. Infernion trying to make his way over. Flynn manages to get control. Donnie rolls to safety, and Donnie surprisingly has a mana advantage over Lone Tar. If they can somehow keep this going into dampening, it might be a win condition for them.
Yeah, we are at 5% dampening right now. I think Lone Tar, his mana should be able to stabilize, especially if he stops with the offensive purges. That's likely what has put him a little bit behind, trying to actually end out the game. Flynn now, Cold Snap has just come back up, so he does have another Ice Block available. Choosing not to use it just yet. Wants to use that as soon as possible, unless he's trying to wait another minute and a half for that first Ice Block to come up once again. That's a bit of a risky play, but we'll have to see if it pays off. Now, Team Bronze Troll all rotting down a little bit. Lone Tar able to stabilize. Flynn once again on the back foot, trying to kite away. Like I said, he does not want to be trading damage with Infernion. He's doing his best to just line of sight, get away, and allow Trille to have that uptime on Infernion to do most of the damage.
Triple setup by Trille, but preemptively activated defense by Lone Tar denies any sort of damage from Trille. And I think it's important to note that this is the first game of 2019 in the AWC tournament circuit. So these teams might just be getting their feet in the water, trying to get comfortable here in game number 1 as we move deeper into dampening. Mana now equal on both sides, and it's not looking too good for either, but the crowd control has been perfect from Team Bronze Troll. Good follow-up as they set up onto Flynn, knocking him into line of sight with that Ring of Peace. Great combination. Flynn blinks to safety. Well-timed Temporal will keep him alive for now, but another spell lock secured by Infernion. Flynn and Donnie in retreat mode once again, start to finish, but Lone Tar sees the opportunity. If you're simply going to run away from the fight, I'm going to sit over here and drink, which allows Lone Tar to regenerate his mana back to full, which he uses for powerful healing spells. And since he has full mana now and Donnie is almost out of it, Lone Tar is going to be able to keep this game going a lot longer.
Yeah, Infernion actually moves his gateway. He gateways in looking for the Shadow Fury. Doesn't manage to find it on Donnie. Then getting bursted down a little bit right now as dampening gets higher and higher. Trille's damage on that Windwalker Monk is going to become more effective onto Infernion, especially if Flynn can do a good job getting away. F2K might find a win condition later on. Infernion getting locked out. He has no gateway. Ice Block going to be forced out onto Flynn, but he managed to hold on. He actually has the Cold Snap back up as well, so 2 Ice Blocks going to be available for Flynn, or 1 more after that one fades. Trille getting swapped to now. Rez is turning his attention onto him, making sure both members of F2K are under fire.
Yeah, they've realized that Trille is really the only one that's disrupting the fight and staying in it, so they're going to switch their attention to him and try and find an opportunity there to kill him. But now, immediately going back to their main target, Flynn, catching him into a leg sweep as Rezus leads the charge. Flynn retreats once again. We need a lap counter here, Rich. How many times do you think they've ran around this arena? It feels like maybe 10, maybe 20 at this point. They should maybe join a marathon after this game.
Yeah, so that's one of the things about this matchup. If Flynn just stands still, trades out Frostbolt into Infernion, who's casting Chaos Bolt, it's a losing matchup. So Flynn, he has to use the mobility he has on the Frost Mage, use the Blizzard, use, basically his cooldown damage spells like Comet Storm, like the Ice Nova, to burst down Infernion. And then when those aren't available, you don't trade, you run away, you line of sight to avoid as much damage as possible. But at this point in dampening, those Frost Mage burst cooldowns, that burst damage does become very effective. Flynn needs to be careful, though. If Infernion can get a whole bunch of Chaos Bolts off here, it's going to be very difficult for Donnie to recover.
Flynn went for an aggressive maneuver there and managed to pull Unending Resolve, but if you go toe-to-toe with a Destruction Warlock in midfield and no pillar to line of sight, you don't win that head-to-head, and Flynn is now forced to retreat away once again, but they've managed to overextend. Lone Tar and Rezu stack them up and set up for another swap. How much damage do they have? Lone Tar denies with Earthen Wall Totem. That's going to absorb a lot of damage and allow his team to stay in the fight, and that drink that he got earlier has secured him still a significant mana lead. They've got crowd control. Flynn's all alone as he's desperately trying to get out of line of sight of Infernion once again, but Rezus ultimately can take him out if Donnie runs out of mana. Lone Tar keeps the chain going a bit longer. Flynn's too far away. Donnie's caught in midfield. Flynn has to come back to dispel Hex. Donnie rolls over, but there's an interrupt, and he nails it again. Infernion with amazing spell locks throughout this match. They get the final Ice Block potentially of the match. I don't think we're going to see another one. The defense has finally been cracked. The mana advantage is secured, and Team Bronze Troll should be able to walk away with this.
Yeah, this is looking very good for them. Death Coil does come in from Infernion, looking for a fear onto Trille as well, just controlling him, not allowing him to get any damage rolling for F2K. Flynn still just line of sighting, running away. Donnie running on fumes in terms of mana. Full polymorph on Lone Star, but Flynn is the one that's in trouble. That is the Temporal Shield. Can he hold on a little bit longer? Rezu's looking to close out the game, and he does at 31% dampening, putting the first point on the board for Team Bronze Troll.
Can be faced with as a mage.
Exactly, and we know this is going to be an uphill battle right now for F2K. It seems like Bronze Troll may have the comp to carry this all the way to a 2-0.
Yeah, Team Bronze Troll basically know that Hydra and Flynn are kind of pillars on the team. They're going to be playing Mage and Priest, and this Destruction Warlock Windwalker comp can deal with both of those classes. They have the perfect answer to F2K and friends, so I'm curious to see how they manage to navigate through this match here on what is one of the largest maps in the pool. Are they going to try and bait Lone Tar into center field and set up a swap onto him? Are they just going to run laps like game one? Immediate burst, followed up by Team Bronze Troll, getting that life cocoon out of the way quite early on, and once again asserting dominance.
Yeah, this is a great start. You can see Donnie's actually activated the Way of the Crane, trying to get some healing out as he was interrupted. Manages to top off his team and will be able to easily with that cooldown, but it does cost a lot of mana. So potentially risking the late game advantage F2K might have. Lone Tar and Infernion taking a little bit of burst, but Flynn in the meantime forced into his first ice block.
Oh, Lone Tar is having a bit of a difficult time over there with Trille. Trille trying to get some pressure, forcing some major cooldowns from Lone Tar early on if he can keep it up, but it doesn't seem like he can. He's getting feared away with Infernion backing up Lone Tar. Flynn and Donnie retreating once again as we saw in game one. Rezu's in hot pursuit, but he's left Trille alone. We see a frozen orb. Flynn going crazy with that Ring of Peace, protecting him from the melee interrupt, getting knocked now by Rezu's. Good response. Lone Tar survives the attack with that Earthen Wall Totem. Trille going to switch to a different target that is not protected by its defense. Smart maneuver by Trille. Trille getting a lot more done here in game one. He's going to really have to put the team in his wheelbarrow for this match if he wants to carry the team.
Yeah, he's going to have to put out huge pressure. Flynn assisting him with the burst damage when he has it available, but other than that, just trying to survive. Polymorph spam onto Rezus, allowing Trille uptime onto Infernion, just keeping him away at all costs. If Infernion is casting Chaos Bolts, that is not a winning situation for F2K, so they just need to make sure that Infernion is snared across the map, out of line of sight, but now Infernion doing what I think he should, which is put some pressure out onto Trille. If he can't connect onto Flynn, make sure you're damaging at least the Windwalker Monk to force Donnie to use some mana.
It's such a peculiar situation. It's almost as if the Windwalker Monks are 1v1ing the Warlock and Mage respectively, with healers backing them up and ignoring everything else that's going on in the game. Trille trying to make some curious setups here onto Lone Tar, landing the double. Great positioning here. Donnie activates that Way of the Crane as they go for an all-in kill on Lone Tar. They get deflected by Infernion and completely shut down.
Yep, Flynn getting Shadow Feared, getting Mortal Coiled there by Infernion, shutting down all of that damage, like you said. Double leg sweep coming in from Rezus. Decent pressure onto Flynn, but he managed to Nova the Storm, Earth, and Fire from Rezus. That's going to be preventing some of the damage incoming. Donnie just trading out that life cocoon. It's a very short cooldown, 55-second cooldown, so as a Mistweaver Monk, you can sort of just trade that out when you think you're going to fall behind in a matchup or when big burst damage is coming to prevent a lot of that incoming pressure.
All right, Flynn in midfield, that's not where you want to be. He's forced to use Counterspell on Infernion's Chaos Bolt and deny damage. He was caught in an awkward position, but now that Counterspell threat isn't available for Lone Tar, so Lone Tar can get aggressive here. Crowd control onto Donnie. Flynn immediately answers with a well-timed Temporal Shield. His Temporal Shields have been the main reason he's able to even stay alive as long as he is. We need to give due credit where it is due, but Flynn once again by himself. Desperation. Donnie feared away. If Chaos Bolts come flying in here, it could be another ice block forced early on. Flynn's going to duck around the corner. Infernion trying to get line of sight, but just can't find the target as both teams begin to stabilize. Still Team Bronze Troll with a significant lead.
Trille actually traded out his Touch of Karma, so he might be a target. There's a leg sweep, big damage coming in, but once again, the Life Cocoon saves the day from Donnie. Nicely done. He trades out the Life Cocoon, goes for the cast. He gets interrupted, but the interrupt really doesn't matter because you have that huge shield. So that was a good play from Donnie. Typical Mistweaver maneuver there, just sort of baiting out the interrupt, so now he can basically free cast, but he is into the full fear. Flynn once again, Temporal Shield, line of sighting, trying to avoid some damage. Trille coming back to help him out a little bit. Rezus having a little bit too much uptime here. Flynn trying to line of sight once again, but Rezus, he's pushing in. He actually trades out the Touch of Karma as well. You can see Rezus, no Trinket, no Diffuse Magic, no Touch of Karma. Now this might be an opening that F2K can exploit.
Yeah, Donnie immediately ramping it up with a Ring of Peace out of Lone Tar's line of sight. Lone Tar moves forward to get there. Donnie rolls in. I'm curious aggressive, trying to stack Lone Tar up on the team, but Flynn is still just getting pressured. He doesn't want to have to trade this ice block. Trilly goes aggressive, but Flynn can't back him up. That leg sweep goes completely whiffed, and that's going to allow Team Bronze Troll a huge opportunity to strike back here with crowd control secured. Flynn once again alone in the midfield. That Maledict trinket soaking up a ton of healing. Donnie saves the day though with that life cocoon, and now Infernion on the back foot as Flynn finally throws some counter pressure his way.
Yeah, Flynn's been holding on to that icy veins the entire game. Normally we see Frost Mages, they just wait. Keep that as a threat in their back pocket until late into dampening when they can close out the game in just a few globals. So likely Flynn will hold on to that. Infernion has been using his offensive cooldowns, Dark Soul, throughout this match, trying to get some pressure rolling. Trilly still just all over Infernion. Infernion really having a difficult time connecting to Flynn in this matchup. He's been doing a good job making sure he's out of line of sight, keeping the snares on Infernion as he tries to waddle across the map. But we see Infernion, this is his moment to try to get some damage rolling with the Mortal Coil into Chaos Bolt spam. But Flynn once again blinks out of line of sight. Donnie still into crowd control. Can Rezus force out the second ice block onto Flynn? He's getting low, caught in midfield. And there it is. But Flynn, 33 seconds, he has that cold snap, so that's going to be a third ice block that he has available. They managed to hold on long enough.
I almost wonder if Infernion has actually missed a spell lock this game. I was thinking there, Donnie, you have to fake that spell lock. Are you going to be able to do it? Or, nope. Okay, and that's an ice block. So if he can't get through Infernion's spell lock, this is ultimately just going to be Team Bronze Troll's series, inevitably, unless they change it up. Great fear onto the way of the Crane. This is a well return for Infernion in tournament play here today. Their team looks to be devastating F2K and friends, and it may be a desperation time to pull Hydra in game 3 and try and reverse sweep, but as a disciplined priest facing this composition, it looks pretty intimidating. If anyone could do it, it would be Hydra, and we'd like to see him come back, but at this point, F2K and friends, I'm not sure what hope they've got.
Yeah, Infernion looking to get aggressive. Drops out his Infernals. A lot of pressure on Flynn. He's caught in midfield with the Mortal Coil. He has the Cold Snap available. He's holding on to it once again, so opting not to trade that out just yet. Hopefully he manages to find that button when he needs it most, when he needs to get into that third ice block. See Rezus chasing him down once again, but Flynn out of line of sight. Rezus with a beautiful Ring of Peace, once again keeping Flynn in the action, putting out a lot of pressure with that Storm, Earth, and Fire. Infernion now in line of sight. Flynn getting lower. Cold Snap comes in. Ice Barrier. Is he going to have to trade out the ice block as well? Fear on Donnie. Certainly he will. Flynn playing a little bit greedy there. Manages to find the ice block in the nick of time, but now Donnie almost completely out of mana. This is not looking good for F2K.
We will want to say that Team Bronze Troll, their team's built around defense and locking the enemy team down and not allowing them to do anything. Team Bronze Troll are simultaneously doing that while completely crushing their opponents offensively with these spell locks into great crowd control chains, and Team Bronze Troll could be a dark horse in the lower bracket for sure. I would not want to go up against them based on their performance in these first 2 games. F2K and friends potentially have an opportunity here with no Gladiators medallions available. They go for desperation. They go after Lone Tar. Will he be able to handle the swap? Maledicts, he dispels it. He hangs on. Once again, great defense by Infernion. They go for a double Maledict. Flynn, though, on the back foot, can't stay aggressive. If he tries to, he's going to fall. Rezus gets dispelled. Lone Tar with great offensive play, even lightning bolting. The bad manner lightning bolts from the Restoration Shaman could maybe cost him his life if he's not too cheeky here. But Flynn with no ice blocks left, a full fear secured. This should be game 2 for Team Bronze Troll. Unless Lone Tar throws the game, he's dipping down to about half, but Flynn, it will fall first, and Team Bronze Troll are just dominating.
I mean, it's Flynn just time and time again. Maybe
It back and give F2K a fighting chance here.
he needs to right now, or we are going to see his squad completely buried under the sands of Tolvaron. Team Bronze Troll looking to close it out here with a 3-0 in the lower bracket.
It's interesting that Hydra is not running Power Word Solace, instead going for Mindbender, which might mean a more passive play at the pillar game, and we have to see if he can out-dampen the Destruction Warlock, which teams have done in the past, but it can take quite a lot of dampening to potentially pull it off, and with the aggression that Team Bronze Troll have had and look to set up here and now, I'm not sure if they can last that long, Ven.
Yeah, one of the scary things about the Disciplined Priest is, Flynn taking a little bit of damage in the meantime, but one of the scary things about the Disciplined Priest is when Flynn is trying to cross the map, if he moves from one of these pillars to another, Hydra will get caught in midfield, doesn't have the same sort of mobility as the Mistweaver Monk. You can see Hydra now crossing preemptively, might use the life grip onto Flynn, and now they are in a much better position. So this is what's going to have to happen. Hydra's going to have to make that leap first and potentially help out Flynn with that leap of faith talent and the feathers to use that mobility. But if Hydra gets caught in the midfield, there's actually an opportunity for Team Bronze Troll to swap to him, unlike the Mistweaver Monk.
Yeah, they do gain some extra crowd control, bringing in that Disciplined Priest, which actually managed to get a defensive cooldown, at least from Infernion, which is a lot more than they've got for basically the entire series. But now Infernion's still low health, the pressure a lot higher with Hydra in the arena. Is he going to be the X factor in bringing his team back in what would have to be a reverse sweep, a 3-0? Can Hydra pull that off? 3 wins in a row for his team against such a devastating composition. Another double leg sweep, though, as Rezus looks to set up. Infernion follows it up, gets incapacitated by Trilly. Good shutdown by Trilly.
Yeah, Hydra Flynn, line of sighting right now. Rezus still trying to generate some pressure. Finally, Infernion in a position where he can find some damage. Trying to look for a Chaos Bolt. Flynn needs to get out of line of sight once again. Earthen Shield Totem gets dropped out by Lontar. Infernion's going to be very tanky. Basically a turret in this spot where he's not going to be able to be taken down, but he can deal a lot of damage. So F2K and friends, they need to reposition. Nice Ring of Peace coming in from Trille, preventing Infernion from staying on target.
Ooh, good double crowd control here by F2K and friends with the mind control on Rezus. Infernion completely alone and getting destroyed right now by Trille. Lontar forced to use that Spirit Link Totem. That's the first time he's had to use that in the entire series. I would say that this sub-in is starting to pay out here for F2K and friends. They may have wanted Hydra the entire series if they can keep this up.
Yeah, nicely done by Hydra. Pushes in for the Fear, gets the trinket from Infernion. He has no wall, so Infernion is actually very vulnerable in the situation. Flynn gets gripped away once again. The leg sweep coming in from Rezus. Good damage. Hydra able to spam out the heals with the Shadow Mends. That's one of the things about the Discipline Priest as well, is you have multiple schools of healing. So if you get interrupted on penance, you can use the Shadow Mend. He's not as vulnerable to the lockouts coming in from Infernion.
Yeah, Infernion's offense will be kind of shaved away a bit with that Discipline Priest swap up. The disadvantage you get is that mana bar, but they're ultimately even on mana. They're a lot more evenly matched in general between these two compositions. Infernion posted up here in midfield, trying to get some devastation going here with crowd control on both Hydra and Flynn. Flynn needs to get around that corner as soon as possible. Chaos Bolts are flying in. One connects. Flynn stays afloat for now. Rezus getting Nova'd behind the pillar. Actually uses Diffuse Magic to dispel Frost Nova. He's been using that defensive cooldown aggressively to stay on target. An interesting maneuver from the Windwalker Monk, but one that could be punished moving forward.
Yeah, Rezus as well as Trille, they're not going to be too vulnerable in this matchup, so I like that they're using the Diffuse Magic. Offensively, like Zika was kind of saying, it is up to Rezus to generate as much pressure as possible, especially when Infernion, he's just out of line of sight, just getting disable rooted from Trille over and over. Hydra now caught into the stun.
Beautiful.
Lontar and Hydra's mana relatively even. Fear coming out, but I think it actually did get tremored there, so nicely done by Lontar. Infernion getting a little low, but gets topped off. In the meantime, Flynn taking quite a bit of damage in line of sight with the Temporal Shield. Should get topped off, but Hydra really falling behind at this point in the game.
Yeah, they stacked on top of each other. Both Hydra and Flynn were just getting destroyed by Rezus as they stood in that Fists of Fury. Touch of Death activated by Rezus. He's trying to lead the charge for his team. Potentially huge burst here onto Flynn. It could be an Ice Block, and it will be immediately traded out. Hydra trying to get aggressive, feathering towards Lontar, looking for a Psychic Scream. He preemptively earthen walls. Good read by Lontar. That defense will protect Infernion, and now Infernion's defensives have rotated. Team Bronze Troll, it's the time to attack. They've got Fear and crowd control on the other entire team. Flynn potentially still on hypothermia and unable to use Ice Block. Can Hydra keep this going? Activates Rapture, powerful Power Word shields flying in. Flynn ducking for cover, trying to escape, but that Maledict's Chaos Bolt combo could be devastating. Flynn manages to blink to safety with some clutch polymorphs and stays alive.
Yeah, Infernion using the gateway, still playing aggressive in this matchup. Flynn, no blinks available, has to hold on a little bit longer. If he gets Ring of Peace back in line of sight, could be devastating for Flynn in this matchup. Hydra gets interrupted, taking a little bit of cleave from the Fist of Fury coming in from Rezus. Flynn and Hydra, they cannot be stacking up, or the Windwalker Monk will be able to tear through their defensives. Icy Veins gets used by Flynn, but he's getting low. Second Ice Block going to be traded out in the matchup, and Dampening has just kicked in.
Lontar cancels it and goes aggressive. Lontar trinkets, but Flynn is still on the back foot from that aggressive Ice Block cancel. Can Hydra keep him up? He gets spell locked. Infernion looking to shut this match out. Hydra ducks around the corner there with that pillar on the wall. Great positioning by Hydra to avoid crowd control, but Infernion pushes up. Hydra can't dodge it. Fear incoming. Flynn denies the fear to desperately stay alive. Will he be able to get out of line of sight? The barrier, I think he's like 1 inch out of that barrier. Flynn desperately needs that defense, but looks like he's going to survive regardless. Rezus defensively Psychic Screamed away. Infernion with not much defense left. Neither is Flynn. There's no mana left. Dampening has just started. It's still anyone's match.
Yeah, Incapacitate over onto Hydra. Flynn's still getting low. No Ice Block for quite some time. And I think with the mana situation for both of these healers, it's unlikely Flynn's going to be able to last another 4 minutes. Interrupt on Hydra. Another double stun coming in. Rezus really punishing punishing the positioning from Hydra and Flynn as they are stacked up. Infernion right on top of them. Trill got feared away, and Infernion was able to chase. Double Mortal Coil coming in. Infernion gets kicked on the Chaos Bolt. Nicely done by Trilla. Still, Flynn and Hydra, they managed to hold on. You can see Hydra crossing the map once again. Flynn has been kind of left behind, but he's not in too much danger right now as long as he can line of sight Infernion.
Hydra's positioning great on this map. He's very far away, so he can use Life Grip to allow Flynn to escape to safety. That Infernal's going to come crashing down, and Infernion is going to start to ramp up insane Chaos Bolt damage here if they can't deny the Chaos Bolts. They stop one. He's looking for some fake casts. They duck for cover. All three members potentially need to retreat. Infernion gets an offensive gateway into the enemy team to get right on top of them. He wants to close this out. Shadow Fury nailed, but not able to get in line of sight. Frozen Orb is slowing down the assault. Infernion needs to get some Chaos Bolts. Doesn't manage to get it. Gets denied by Trilly's Ring of Peace. Great denials onto Infernion by the entire team of F2K, but inevitably it may not matter here as Hydra has no mana left to keep this fight going. He's pulling penance after penance out of his pocket to keep this fight going, but that Life Grip will allow Flynn to get to safety for now, but a Chaos Bolt is chasing him. Temporal Shield will bounce him back. Lone Tar is in desperation with mana. Really, right now, I'd love to see a swap to Rezus behind the pillar potentially, but at this point, they're just not going for it. They keep going after Infernion, but they're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I really want to see Rezus put some pressure on Hydra if he can in this matchup. Good. He's getting the double cleave out right now. I think Hydra is a good target, especially when he's completely They just need to make sure he stays So if Rezus is having a difficult time staying on Flynn, I think they can swap around a little bit at this point in the game. We're at 16% dampening. Full Sheep on Lone Tar. He actually trinkets out. Infernion very vulnerable. DR Sheep coming in onto Lone Tar as well. The Earthen Shield Totem should be enough to keep Infernion alive. But a nice Ring of Peace from Trille. Double Coil coming in. Infernion doing everything he can to survive in this situation. Hydra getting low. He's locked out, caught in midfield. Chaos Bolt's going to be cast out, gets interrupted.
Hydra.
Very nicely done, and here's the swap onto Hydra. Rezus trying to keep him in line of sight with that Ring of Peace, but Hydra manages to escape for a second.
Lone Tar trying to get on top of Hydra as well, potentially for his team to get aggressive, but he left Infernion behind. It's Infernion versus Flynn in midfield. Who will fall first, Hydra or Infernion? Neither team has mana, but Hydra gets the double fear. Infernion all alone in center field and potentially able to clutch this game out. Touch of Death is about to tick and could be the final countdown. Spirit Link saves him, but Rezus is not inside. It may not be enough. Infernion barely hanging on. Hydra hanging on barely as well. How much longer can they keep it going? Polymorph secured. Hydra, this could be a 2-on-2 here very shortly as Hydra gets interrupted. Rezus looks like he's going to be able to secure the kill, but gets denied by a Ring of Peace. Hydra barely hangs on. Infernion barely hangs on. Hydra's going to duck around the corner. Infernion does not have that same luxury, but Earthen Wall Totem should be enough. Dampening stacked up. Comet Storm comes in. Hydra might just pull off a miracle.
Yeah, Hydra managing to survive, but the thing is, once they get off of Flynn, he's able to put out all this pressure, land the polymorphs, get the Frostbolt damage that he needs, and if Frost Mages can free cast, their damage potential goes up by quite a bit. Hydra now caught into the leg sweep, taking still a decent amount of damage by Rezus, who's really
the double
this game. Nice double interrupt. Lone Tar's there as well, gets caught in line of sight. Lone Tar looking to close out the game with the trinket, and unluckily for Hydra, he does get taken down. That was very nice offensive push coming in from Rezus.
That was a fantastic.
Still playing it out.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear why they would. Pressure still very much on Infernion. Hopefully that totem going to be able to keep him up in the case of Lone Tar. But when we do look at this final game in the series, if you're going to have a 3-0 coming out like that for F2K, definitely going to be impressive. We see what they are able to do as we finally do see Flynn go down. That is going to close the book in the chat. Let's find out if that is what is going to go down in our second series of the year. The gates are now open.
This is the first time we're going to see Tempo Storm go head-to-head against Method Black in 2019. Who is going to get the lead here in terms of points? They're both in the lower bracket. They both face potential elimination, and they're going to lose out on the opportunity at huge points if they go down in this series.
Yeah, Method Black, they're actually coming in with a Cleave setup, so they're bringing in the Unholy Death Knight and the Demon Hunter with the Restoration. Druid Swapsy going to be target down, taking a little bit of damage early on, but the thing about these two melees is they are very mobile. They're going to be able to stay on Alex, slow down that damage. They're also very durable, so I think it's going to be difficult for Temple Storm to actually land a kill until a little bit later on.
Swapsy getting targeted down, but just shaking that off with ease. That initial vendetta from Nixie really not pulling too many powerful cooldowns, and if Method Black are looking this solid defensively, it's going to be desperation for Alec. He's trying to kite and stay out of range of these melee classes, but quite difficult with the Demon Hunter chasing chasing you down. One of the highest mobile melee in the game. Great composition choice by Method Black, and Nixie's trying to make a move here for his team, going after Chaz. Alec manages to duck around the corner and dish out some damage, but Chaz just going to shake it off with that bark skin. However, they have gotten through the Gladiator's medallion and the bark skin of Chaz. If he is not careful for another attack, or maybe they just stay on target, potentially Nixie carrying the team here.
Yeah, Maledict's going to be used over onto Chaz, and now if Alec manages to find a polymorph onto Raikou or Swapsy, he's going to have a difficult time dispelling it. Chaz actually just getting trained down here, gets the Iron Bark on the kidney shot, nicely done. Swapsy playing it safe as well, trading out the AMZ, realizing Chaz is very vulnerable. He has no Trinket, no Barskin, no Iron Bark. Really not too much left to save him except for Raikou. He has the Trinket and he has the Darkness as well, so Raikou's going to have to trade out his Darkness for Alec's damage because he does have that combustion up.
This next kidney shot is going to be the end of the game if they're not careful here. Chaz has basically nothing to survive, and Alec held onto the powerful cooldown combustion on a Fire Mage, allowing all of his spells to critically strike and could be a critical blow against his enemy team. Nice Frost Nova. Raikou out of range, cannot use Darkness. If they can keep Raikou away from Chaz, they get the Cyclone. Great crowd control executed by Tempo Storm. Raikou manages to get there in the nick of time, securing that Darkness and allowing Chaz to stay alive.
Yeah, and now for Chaz, his defensives are going to rotate back up. He has the Bark Skin, he has the Iron Bark Trinkets coming up shortly, so Method Black, they just need to hold on a little bit longer, but really, they are struggling to find damage. Alec just having a field day with the Polymorphs, with the Ring of Frost, and that's what makes Mage Druid so powerful. If you train down the Mage, guess what? You got a Resto Druid to back him up, and you can land those Entangling Roots, you can land the Cyclone, and make it really difficult for this melee to actually land a kill.
I would have liked to seen a swap here by Nixie. He's committed his Vendetta. It seems his strategy is going to just be train Chaz the entire game, do as much damage as possible, but there was an opportunity to switch to Raikou in a Smoke Bomb with Vendetta combined together and try and KO him, but that opportunity is going to be lost now. The damage potential much lower because he committed his Vendetta to Chaz. I think they are still going to make the swap. They drop the Smoke Bomb, but imagine if there was a Vendetta paired up with this, it would be a lot more devastating than only 20% of Raikou's health, and now that Smoke Bomb threat is basically out of the game. Chaz is trying to be greedy because those cooldowns are no longer available. Nixie moves in to follow the crowd control chain, manages to keep it going, but Raikou looks completely stable throughout this moment. We see the Abomination activated by Swapsy. That does a lot of damage if it can connect to the target, but it doesn't seem like it's been able to make its way there just yet. They still got Chaz locked down. They're still going after Raikou to make something happen here, but with Nether Walk available, Raikou can activate that and go immune to all damage. Not even needed. Asgroth's mana not looking good, and Method Black's defense looking unbreakable.
Yeah, Chaz, he just sat a full blind into a Sap, into a Bash, into a Cyclone, into a Cyclone, and Raikou managed to stay alive during those moments. And now Method Black actually turning around the pressure over onto Alec. Asgroth's mana is not looking good though. Pushing in, landing those Cyclones, that can definitely backfire. It's a way for them to end the game, but it also backfires because it's so taxing on a Restoration Druid's mana.
All right, Asgroth with this Innervate needs to get some value. Innervate makes all of his healing spells free. He wants to spend the most expensive spells as quickly as possible. Looks like he's going to start to stabilize. Got some mana regenerated off the back of it. Reverse Magic on Chaz. This is the best Restoration Druid comp you could play in the game in terms of having support with a Demon Hunter and a Death Knight. Anti-Magic Zone, Darkness, Reverse Magic. You have so many defensive abilities to protect you. This is a great composition by Method Black overall. They've obviously done their homework. They've executed some burst here over towards Nixie as he's forced to trade evasion to stay alive. Looks like he's going to be switching his attention to Swapsy, and Tempo Storm are just trying target after target to try and find some opening, but just not able to find it. They do get pressure generated. Are they going to force a cooldown? Anti-Magic Zone gets traded out. Once again, before the combustion, you usually will see this purple barrier traded for Alec's combustion, that red icon below his health, and Swapsy's been using this cooldown before combustion. Maybe it's to bait him into then committing it, and then Raikou just uses Darkness. It could be the case there since this team just has so many defensive cooldowns.
Well, I think it was the trade-off for the Vendetta, so wanted to slow down some of Nixie's damage there, and maybe they just don't want to fall behind and be caught in a situation. Like you said, Raikou maybe just saves his Darkness for combustion. Swapsy trades out the Anti-Magic Zone for Vendetta, and that way they have basically all the offensives from Tempo Storm covered, so smart pick by Method Black if they can execute, and so far it seems good. Asgroth rotting down just a little bit as they turn their attention over on him. Raikou chasing him down. Barkskin does get traded out, and Asgroth's mana, once again, not looking good in this matchup. Swapsy into the full kidney shot. Nixie and Alec trying to find some damage, but Swapsy just completely fine. Shrugs off all of that Rogue Mage damage and now can continue his assault on Alec.
There is no opening for Tempo Storm right now. They're going to have to stay alive at least another 3 to 4 minutes if they want to even create an opening. And right now, Asgaroth, I don't think he has the mana to do it. Nixie's trying to make something happen here, going after Chaz. They've got Raikou and Polymorph, good cross crowd control, but they don't even tickle Chaz's health in that attack. He's going to completely wipe it away and go back to full health immediately. Asgaroth almost out of mana, and it's going to be a ticking time bomb. He's trying to sit down for a drink. Alec needs to buy him time. They may need to trade Ice Block to get mana back for a longer match. They need a longer match, and Alec's doing whatever he can to make sure he doesn't need to. While Asgaroth sits down for a drink, they deny the Spectral Sight of Raikou. No, Raikou actually manages to make his way over. Nixie secures the crowd control. Swapsy's actually exposed in midfield. This could be a potential darkness. No, not going to be forced as Chaz gets out of crowd control and starts connecting heals. Does actually manage to get caught. Maledict's huge damage could be an opening. Great usage there by Tempo Storm, overlapping defensive cooldowns, and Tempo Storm might be creating opportunities here moving forward if they can stay in the fight just a bit longer.
Yeah, and Raikou, he actually traded out his trinket to stop the drink from Asgaroth, so now he doesn't have the trinket available. So if Tempo Storm can land crowd control on Raikou, he won't be able to get that darkness out. In the meantime, Asgaroth in a lot of trouble. Iron Bark on him, as well as Barkskin gets caught into incapacitate, as both Swapsy and Raikou looking to close out game number 1. AMZ gets used there by Swapsy on the Vendetta cooldown, so just looking to trade that out on cooldown. Doesn't want to fall behind. He's going to be sitting on that as Nixie is the one taking most of the damage.
Mana has evened out at least a little bit closer, but Nixie and Swapsy are falling low, and in dampening, Death Strike is not as potent. Swapsy could be an exposed target here as that dampening ramps up that number at the top of your screen, that minus 14%. That's 14% of all incoming healing spells, which makes it difficult to recover through heavy burst damage, such as this moment right now for Swapsy. Is he going to be able to deal with it? Raikou will save the day with that purple cloud on the ground, darkness, denying a huge amount of damage and keeping Swapsy aggressive as Chaz starts to stabilize the team.
Yeah, Nixie's going to be vulnerable as this game goes on. He gets topped off very quickly by Asgaroth. He still has the evasion as well, so Nixie does have some cooldowns to rotate through, but he's going to be a great target for Method Black. Nice grip in by Swapsy. Raikou manages to land the double Chaos Nova. Good pressure onto Asgaroth once again. Vortex by Chaz keeps Asgaroth in the fight as he's looking to get away, forcing the Barkskin. Now full polymorph over onto Chaz. Swapsy could be in some trouble, but he still has the AMS, so defensively Swapsy's looking completely fine in this situation, but he doesn't want to overextend too far.
Yeah, at this point, though, Asgaroth has bought his team time and mana deeper into dampening, and with one heavy burst window, potentially could take Swapsy down. Swapsy death grips Asgaroth in, and Method Black, they're getting aggressive here in deep dampening, just running down the healer, constantly switching to him, trying to run him for a loop. They've still got pressure on Alec as well, but Swapsy preemptively anti-magic shields. This green shield around his character absorbs all magic damage and was timed perfectly right before a stun, which doesn't allow him to activate it, but even still, just getting crushed under the weight of Tempo Storm. Chaz is forced to trade, and even with that trade, dampening's too high. It's a race to the finish here. Will Swapsy be able to stay in it? He's retreating. Nixie is hunting him down, but with Chains of Ice, Swapsy looks like he is going to start to recover. Alec can't get in line of sight to get a polymorph at the back of that cheap shot, and the crowd control will be diminishing here shortly. Alec blinks in, triple Dragon's Breath. Good setup, goes for the polymorph. Fake cast doesn't manage to land it. Mind Freeze interrupts it by Swapsy. Mana starting to even out, and at this point, it's actually anyone's match. Asgaroth has done it. He's bought his team enough time.
Yeah, Chaz gets interrupted. Swapsy still falling a little bit behind. And if Alec is using that Kleptomania talent, he's going to be able to remove all of those heal over time effects if they can land any crowd control over onto Chaz. And at 26% dampening, that becomes devastating. Swapsy still has the AMZ available as well as the EMS. There's a kidney shot onto Chaz as they're making a swap to him. Vendetta gets used. Swapsy trades out his AMZ, and that gets huge value because that was the Meteor coming in from Alec as well, so preventing a lot of potential damage that Tempo Storm has available. Chaz just going to be line of sighting, keeping himself alive. Alec spamming out the fireballs, looking for some pressure. But with Chaz out of line of sight, it's difficult having to play a peel game, just throwing out the polymorphs onto Raikou, forcing Chaz to get out of bear form, and that allows Nixie to get more pressure on him as well.
Alec has to ping pong between both defense and offense. Whenever Raikou guns down for Asgaroth, Alec needs to back him up, but Chaz has been isolated. There's no defense left for him. Will he be able to survive? Raikou peels Nixie away. Chaz ducks around the corner, catches a big heal, starts to stabilize. Nixie's just going all in. This is a bit aggressive. Raikou's trying to punish him on the push, but he knows he needs to take advantage of this opportunity while Chaz has no defense. If he can stay alive another 13 seconds, I feel like there's almost no way for Tempo Storm to win. They've got 8 more seconds to kill Chaz, but they can't even dent him. Chaz is buying enough time. All of those defensive cooldowns, but all darkness, Barkskin, Ironbark, the Glidier's Medallion, basically everything from Method Black have rotated back and are available. And Asgroth is completely tapped on mana unless he can escape for a drink once again. Method Black should be securing victory, I believe, here very shortly. Chaz trying to read the situation. Pre-Ironbarks, Tempo Storm bait it. Actually, no, it trades with the Combustion. They're going to have to try and crush through the defense of Chaz, but I'm not sure if they've got the damage to do it, Ven.
Yeah, kidney shot on Chaz. He manages to find Bear Form. Alec looking for some pressure as well. Nixie all over him, but Chaz, his HP just isn't moving. He has the Barkskin still, has the Trinket, didn't trade it out. Darkness not going to be available. Actually, I think Raikou just traded out the Darkness, and that's why his HP was not moving. Asgroth looking for Cyclones, but now completely out of mana because of that. Chaz just getting ran down, though. Garrote Silence from Nixie. Chaz has to be able to survive a little bit longer. Manages to survive with the Frenzied Regen and the Barkskin now out of line of sight. It is time for Swapsy and Raikou to really tear in, especially with Asgroth having no mana left, Sid.
This might just turn into a healer race. Will Asgroth be able to handle the pain deep in dampening, or will Chaz fall first is the question. Asgroth's got nothing left. Chaz has at least just a little bit left in the tank with Innervate to give him free mana. Asgroth is trying to go for a drink with a defensive blind as they swap to Swapsy and try and kill him with pressure. Raikou denies the drink. Alec moves in for the game-winning polymorph, but gets shut down by both Swapsy and Raikou. Great coordination to interrupt every polymorph by Alec, just making his life a living nightmare. He moves in. He's actually playing Pandaren, goes for the Pandaren racial, but gets denied on the Ring of Frost follow-up, and now he's overextended, but he activated Temporal Shield right before making all of those maneuvers and should be bouncing not very high on health with 42% dampening. Alec in a tough position, but Asgroth gets crowd control. It's a race to the finish, and neither team has anything really to work with.
Yeah, Chaz had to trinket out of a nice Cyclone coming in from Asgroth. Asgroth completely tapped on mana, nothing left. If Alec and Nixie both get low, I don't think Asgroth can really recover that. Alec forced into the ice block is Asgroth. I think he's sitting down for a drink right now. It doesn't manage to find much mana. Chaz getting interrupted. Swapsy low as well. No defensive cooldowns whatsoever besides Chaz's Ironbark, and he manages to find the Ironbark right before the smoke bomb. So nicely done by Chaz and Method Black surviving, and now Tempo Storm there in a world of trouble.
You can tell that both teams are of the highest caliber here as they go head-to-head for the first time in 2019. We move into the deepest stage of dampening as we've seen in the day. Both healers are completely tapped. They're on the ropes to try and close this match out. Raikou trinkets aggressively. This could be an opportunity to punish, but Asgroth denies it. Swapsy once again just taking the brunt force of Tempo Storm. Chaz with a well-timed Innervate is clutching out some expensive heals to try and stabilize, but even still, at what is almost 50% healing reduction, it may not be enough. Nixie is forced to retreat away. The Abomination by Swapsy has forced him to run. Nixie knows the power of that cooldown and is completely respecting it at this stage of dampening, but they set it up. Great crowd control. Raikou breaks it up, though, with the reverse magic, and now Alec on the back foot with nothing much but Ironbark and no mana left is likely to fall as Raikou desperately closes out. Cauterize triggers, Alex on the run, and he's not going to be able to stay alive. Method Black with clinical precision on defense take game one.
And also here, one was in, but the question is Method Black's early dominance going to change? Are they going to get off to a strong start against Tempo Storm?
Yeah, you can see just by the talent choices, Raikou is opting not to use the Temporal Shield, so likely has a Kleptomania. Alec could have it as well, but giving up a little bit of offense. Greater Pyro going to be used for both of these mages as they find midfield looking for that cast, and that's going to be something very important during this matchup. If either mage can get a Greater Pyroblast off, that's going to do 33% of someone's health. It is massive damage and can easily turn the tide of a fight.
Ooh, one Greater Pyro going to be making its way on over. Cyclone, though, at low health will deny any sort of follow-up, but it does break up some of the defense of Asgroth as Chaz is trying to make some moves. Alec getting swapped too. Method Black asserting damage dominance early on, but Alec is looking like he's going to get his opportunity to blast back. No, gets shut down by Waz, connecting in a smoke bomb as well to try and create even more pressure. Meteor crashes in. Maledicts, huge damage. It's going to soak up a lot of incoming healing. They go all in with those Maledicts and get everything from Alec. That's a massive swing for Method Black's lead.
Yeah, and here's one of the things about the Maledict Trinket, especially against Fire Mage. Fire Mage has sort of a cheat death with their Cauterize, and if you can use your Maledict Trinket right before that cheat death procs, he's not going to get that heal. Fire Mages can not expect that, and you can take them down very easily. Luckily, Alec, he read the situation. He was low, manages to survive with that ice block, and now Temple Storm looking for some damage on Chaz.
Yeah, Alec in desperation to make something happen and kill Chaz, the healer of Method Black. They managed to overcommit defensive cooldowns onto Chaz, but Restoration Druid is a lot more difficult to go after than the Mage as the target, and I feel it's very unlikely that Chaz gets switched to moving forward. Waz on the other side has Vendetta. That's a massive, powerful cooldown. If Waz can connect, it's going to be devastating. Nixie trying to make a move here on Raikou, bursting him down. Chaz moves forward, does start to stabilize. Chaz getting cycloned. Potential opportunity here for Tempo Storm, but Waz once again just shutting Alec out of the fight, not allowing him to get that powerful greater pyroblast off as both mages go fishing for pyros. Alec shuts them both down with that Dragon's Breath. Good position, and Raikou looking to line up, gets kidneyed right at the last second, and every single rogue in this game is going to be saving that kidney shot right till the end of a cast to deny it. But now with the Cyclone, might not be able to. Greater Pyroblasts are starting to get casted by both mages in center field. Raikou taking the first one here, blinking in aggressively with a follow-up onto Alec, and both mages hang on. Chaz's mana even with Asgroth as we move forward, but obviously with that ice block from Alec not available for 3 minutes, that is an opening as Method Black look to try and force and find it. Asgroth trades his Gladiator's Medallion to get out of blind. Waz immediately retreats away, having gotten that trade that he wanted. Now the next crowd control and Asgroth could be curtains for Tempo Storm in game 2.
Yeah, definitely could be very scary for them. Alec looking for some damage once again. Raikou finds the greater Pyroblast, looking for number 2. Alec in a lot of trouble as he gets low. Asgroth is able to keep him alive as Waz not able to connect to Alec there. Nice polymorph coming in. Raikou putting in a lot of damage, but unfortunately Method Black just wasn't able to connect, and Alec will stabilize, especially with that Iron Bark coming in from Asgroth. So they did manage to find that big defensive coming in from Asgroth, and now can sort of push through that Restoration Druid healing a little bit later on. Chaz sitting a full blind into a sap. Raikou managing to survive, doing a good job with his blinks, creating space. Waz coming in with the cheap shot spam as well. Nixie into the polymorph, and Chaz now was able to hold his trinket throughout that entire blind sap, and they couldn't find any damage on the Raikou. I
think Chaz should look to use that Gladiator's Medallion to get aggressive and land some Cyclones and just close the game out. Those Maledicts have to be available here for both teams, and one swift move with that trinket activated on all 3 members could just be the end of Alec if they can coordinate together. Chaz is crossing the map, gets Frost Nova. Alec trying to buy time, but he's locked down. And immediately uses a preemptive Iron Bark. Chaz moves in, gets the Cyclone, but with Iron Bark's defense, it's unlikely that we see Alec go down. He's also kiting quite effectively with polymorphs on Waz. Really good defense by Alec here in this Rogue Mage mirror, but ultimately his defense is very limited. He needs a couple more seconds. Temporal Shield will bounce him back to full health. Great defensive timing by Alec, and now he's setting up for the team to take down Raikou.
Yeah, Raikou caught into the Ring of Frost, full Ring of Frost onto Chaz as he gets lower. This could be his ice block. Alec actually has his second ice block rotating back up. Even though they got it so early on, it might be a disadvantage for Method Black later on in the game, especially if they can get this ice block right here, right now. Alec will have that second ice block trading back up. Raikou won't have it for some time. There's the full interrupt over onto Chaz. He manages to land the Iron Bark onto Raikou, negating some of that damage before the interrupt. Raikou still looking to stabilize his HP, looking for the greater Pyroblast as well. Looking for it onto Alec, manages to find one. Waz connecting as well. Full Cyclone now on Chaz. Both mages seem to be fine in this position.
And Alec has managed to weather the storm. His ice block's going to be available in 9 more seconds. However, Asgroth has spent a lot of mana basically over-healing the incoming damage to try and make sure that Alec doesn't go down. But now with both ice blocks available, Alec can be more comfortable playing aggressive and setting up for his team. Chaz needs to be ready for that incoming crowd control. He was dodging a lot of polymorphs in the mid-game. If he gets caught even once, though, that could be ice block for Raikou. Chaz and Asgroth both need to dodge polymorph quite effectively. Their positioning is great, 40 yards away from the fight, but a smoke bomb gets dropped to try and punish that max range positioning, and now they're forced to come close. Raikou blinks out of the bomb and survives, now looking for a greater pyroblast of his own, and it looks like it's going to connect. Alec could take a huge hit here as Asgroth times some heals and immediately picks him back up.
Yeah, Raikou actually completely wasted his combust there. Didn't have any crowd control onto Asgroth, pulled the trigger on combust, didn't find any damage whatsoever. And I think if they want to find the burst damage they need to close out the game, they just have to be a little bit more patient with their offense. Raikou actually running Fire Starter in this matchup as well, so if he can get the fireballs off, it's going to lower the cooldown of combustion, but it's odd to play that with greater Pyroblast because you're not really spamming out the fireballs, so you don't get much value from that talent.
We can see some crowd control here set by Method Black. The Maledicts are flying in towards Alec, absorbing all of that incoming heal over time effect, but Alec, great positioning, blinks around the map right back to Asgroth as the chain begins to finish. It's almost as if these players didn't leave the BlizzCon stage last year, just playing out of their mind points here in game 2, but Alec is still dipped low. Raikou, Maledicts come in. Ice block on basically 0.1% health. Raikou stays in the fight, but Chaz is still crowd controlled. If they can keep the chain going, Asgaroth lands it. Great timing, and Tempo Storm may look to take the mirror here. Cauterize triggers. Raikou retreats away. Chaz, Maledicts fly in to absorb that healing, dispels it instantly, and it looks to be enough for Raikou to survive. Another Maledict from Alec. Raikou hangs on. No kidney shot. The pressure is still gone.
Yeah, Raikou taking some damage, but Chaz in a good position, just spamming out the regross to keep Raikou alive. And now Temple Storm in a commanding position where Alec, he has the ice block. Asgaroth has his Iron Bark as well. The only thing Method Black really has going for him is Chaz is way ahead on mana in this matchup. Asgaroth does manage to throw out the Iron Bark right now onto Alec. He gets cycloned up, nicely done by Chaz, not allowing Alec to really get out the free damage he would have with that Iron Bark. He couldn't really get taken down in that situation. We're at 13% dampening right now. Raikou, he has the combustion up. They need to force out that ice block from Alec if they want to be on an even footing, but they just can't find the damage.
All right, Chaz looks like he may be trying to cross the map, but Nixie intercepts. Asgaroth looks to follow up, not able to get it, gets denied with a blind. Alec will now be on the back foot should Asgaroth. Oh, they swap to Nixie. Nixie preemptively read it, but he gets caught still by Waz. He has no Gliders Medallion. He's dipping dangerously low. Will he be able to stay alive here at 16% dampening? Asgaroth no longer crowd controlled. A Tempo Storm hit a switch and reversed the pressure going after Raikou. He doesn't have much. If Asgaroth can get crowd control, Raikou will fall. Chaz trinkets, he trades. Raikou stays alive for a bit longer, but now he will be exposed to blind, the strongest crowd control in this mirror matchup, and he will have no way to escape it. Nixie needs to buy time for that moment, and if he can make it, I'm not sure if Method Black are going to be able to do this, and Tempo Storm will tie the series. How is Chaz going to pull this off? It's basically an impossible feat to achieve.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult, but Nixie did shrink it there, so that is an opportunity for Method Black later. Raikou getting low. There's the kidney shot. Chaz caught into the full blind. If they have any follow-up, I don't know how Raikou can survive this. Nice interrupt coming in from Raikou, denying the incoming polymorph from Alec, and now Chaz out of crowd control will most likely be able to top off Raikou, but now caught into the cheap shot. Potential Ring of Frost. Unfortunately, Alec wasn't able to find it. Raikou still low. Nice offensive Cyclone, denying the heals from Asgaroth. Chaz still, he has to avoid crowd control. Waz is with him to protect. Raikou in a Cyclone once again, but this Fire Mage, he has no defensives left. Kidney shot and Smoke Bomb should secure the deal, but the Iron Bar coming in from Chaz might be enough to keep Raikou alive in this situation. Ultimately, Temple Storm, they will close out game number 2 in the mirror match.
All right, I feel like Method Black is definitely going to disagree with that.
Target in this matchup, I think it's going to be Chaz, but it can just be so difficult for Alec to connect the damage he needs to really assist Nixie, especially being caught into the chains of ice of Swapsy. It's just really difficult to run around this pillar. So Temple Storm, they definitely have their work cut out for them. Both Raikou and Swapsy going to be very tanky. We saw in the late game, they kind of won after Swapsy, and it looks like that's who they want to start on as well.
Good crowd control by the team of Tempo Storm early on, and Swapsy appears to be the initial target, but immediately trades anti-magic shield, that green shield, soaking up all the magic damage and making him quite tanky as he survives the initial assault and gets aggressive. And yes, this map selection was a healer rushdown strategy, but Asgaroth with a well-placed wild charge to safety. Alec in great position to allow Asgaroth to escape, but they left Nixie behind, and Method Black make a swap, crushing him under the weight of so much damage, forcing multiple defensive cooldowns and creating an opening that they could exploit moving forward.
Yeah, the Maledict forced Nixie to actually trinket and use that Cloak of Shadows, and that is the power of stacking them. You use one, Asgaroth dispels it, you use another, and now they have that necrotic that really Asgaroth wasn't able to heal through, forcing out those defensives from Nixie. So well done by Method Black. That's going to be the opportunities they look for throughout the game. Alec actually switching up his talents in this matchup to play Greater Pyroblast. So now, sitting back far away, he can spam out those Greater Pyroblasts and try to find some openings in the Method Black defense.
Yeah, that could be an opportunity for them to build pressure on Swapsy for sure, but on this close quarters map, someone can always rush over and deny Alec, and Raikou is doing that duty right now, denying Alec of any sort of pressure generation, and they are going to run down Alec and try and nullify that Greater Pyroblast threat. Gripping in Asgaroth, but with no stun. Alec deflects with that Dragon's Breath instantly on the death grip, and Asgaroth escapes to safety absolutely unscathed. Nixie actually going to be doing a healer rush, and he's trying to make the map backfire in favor for his team by rushing the healer down. This is a great map to run at the healer, just close quarters, easy to stay on target. But you have to be careful that you don't overextend, which is what Swapsy is forced to do here. He really wants to go after Asgaroth, but if he goes past that waterfall, it's going to be a little bit too deep, and he could ultimately go down or at least force major defensive cooldowns. So he's doing it quite patiently and methodically, death gripping in Alec and slowly advancing his way across the map.
Yep, now Swapsy and Raikou, they're looking to get aggressive with that Abomination. Alec in full defense right now, spamming out the polymorphs as much as he can, and it's difficult for Chaz. He can't get the dispels, really. Nicely timed bash over on Nixie allows him to get aggressive. Chaz pushes in, but now Garrote's silence onto him, but Temple Storm, they just can't find the damage. This is the combustion. A little bit of pressure onto Chaz. He responds with the bark skin. The AMZ gets used as well. Now kidney shot on Chaz. He's getting lower. He doesn't have a trinket. Heal Absorb comes in from that Maledict. Chaz has to play catch up. He will survive ultimately in the setup with the Iron Bark, but that was a lot of defensives traded out by Method Black.
They're going all in, and they're still in pursuit. Will Chaz recover, or will Darkness be forced as well? If it is, that's a huge opening. They've managed to buy just enough time, and Chaz looks like he's going to recover just before he can go back to full health. Asgaroth lands a Cyclone. Unlikely that Tempo Storm can build any momentum off the back of that. They've already committed a huge amount of their burst, and they're basically out of gas in the tank. They're going to need to spend some time and recharge and refill before they're going to find another opportunity. Greater Pyroblast could be a surprise attack, connecting onto Chaz, chunking him quite a bit, but Swapsy's there to back him up, and this is just such a great map for a Demon Hunter. You want all three enemy targets standing on top of each other for massive damage, massive stun potential, so the positioning here with Swapsy and Chaz at the pillar will allow Raikou access to that if Tempo Storm overextend, and it looks like they're going to have to. Alec double blinks in, goes all in for a Greater Pyroblast for a switch on Swapsy, trying to mix it up a bit here and catch Method Black off guard, but Swapsy, you cannot catch him off guard, trades and survives, and should be recovering here shortly as Chaz leaves crowd control. Potentially more cooldowns for us, anti-magic shield as well. Tempo Storm still mixing it up and keeping themselves in the fight.
Yep, Swapsy does survive though. Abomination gets traded out once again. Now Alec and Nixie getting a little bit low. Asgaroth has to play catch up. And you look at mana, once again, Tempo Storm behind. Chaz about 25% mana higher. Asgaroth looking for a drink, I believe, but it is so easy for Raikou to just push in and deny that drink anytime he wants, and that's really the power of this map. But Asgaroth, he's been in cap form for quite some time. I think he actually went to full mana, so Tempo Storm really swinging the tide in their favor. Yeah,
good awareness by Asgaroth, realizing that this matchup is quite difficult to penetrate through the defense of either side and likely to go into the deep dampening stages, which means as the healer, you need to find opportunities to sneak away and drink, and that will allow you to regenerate your mana back to maximum and keep your fighting potential at max. As Asgaroth moves in, he gets clotheslined by Chaz. Alec tries to deny something here with defensive polymorphs. No, imprison on Asgaroth, decides to trinket and use Iron Bark. That trinket from Asgaroth could be a potential punish for Method Black if they can get on target, but Asgaroth is just going all out aggression here on top of Chaz, but they both get shut down on the crowd control by Method Black, and that allows Alec to even fall behind further. It looks like Nixie's just trying to make something out of this mismatched situation, but not able to make anything of it. Dampening just kicking in, and as time moves on, healing will become increasingly difficult.
Yep, so for Alec in this matchup, he's casting the Greater Pyroblast. Basically, he's looking for these windows of burst damage. In addition, with this Greater Pyroblast, he's soaking a lot of those interrupts, and that allows him later on to push in for polymorphs if he can, but still, Swapsy on the Death Knight and Raikou on the Demon Hunter, they have so many interrupts for Alec that even when he does push in to find those polymorphs, and they've already used some of their interrupts, they still have so many little micro stuns that they can use to really slow down Alec, and that's why it's difficult for him to push in a matchup like this.
I really like Swapsy's Azurite trait choice here as he's trying to maximize on damage on multiple targets with those orange chains that appear. It will connect a lot of damage to anyone that stands in between them. It synergizes quite effectively with the Demon Hunter. Really good choice by Swapsy overall. We see Asgaroth lockdown and crowd control. This is the opportunity that Method Black set up a little bit earlier on, but Alec read the situation, already has Temporal Shield rolling, and immediately bounces back to full health, denying that opening. And when you pair two teams of this caliber head to head, it is almost certainly guaranteed that the match is going to be going on for an extended period of time, as neither side is likely to make any mistakes whatsoever. Tempo Storm try and go for a big punch here on Chaz, but Swapsy's going to back him up, allowing him to just barely hang on.
Yeah, Chaz getting lower. The Maledict might be able to secure the kill. Darkness gets traded out by Raikou to keep him alive. At 10% dampening, things start getting a little bit scary for these Resto Druids. Chaz once again, Maledict connects. Does he have the Dispel? Manages to get it off with the Iron Bark, but he's still low. If Alex can find any damage in this situation, if Chaz gets interrupted, this could be lights out for Method Black.
Ooh.
Now trying to find some offense. Blink CS coming in from Alec onto Chaz, but he manages to stabilize with the Frenzied Regeneration. Now Swapsy, Raikou, they're looking for some pressure onto Asgaroth as he is forced to retreat from that Abomination.
Chaz needs to try and hold his Glider's Medallion on this blind. If he gives it up, he's given up basically all defense for his team, and he's read that situation, knew there wasn't enough damage, and gets away with it, which will keep his team in the fight moving forward. He has still a significant mana advantage over Asgroth. Amazing Imprison there on Alec. It denies the healing of Temporal Shield. It is effectively like a Cyclone with the Honor talent to improve it, so great awareness by Raikou, denying some healing, and now Asgroth will have to try and fight through that himself, costing him even more mana and a lot less time. Nixie at a race to a finish is trying to solo Chaz behind the boxes. Asgroth and Alec move in to back him up, but Chaz immediately repositions, and Alec is just having such a hard time connecting to anything at this point.
Yeah, that's the problem. You have Chains of Ice on you, you use your blinks, you get Death Gripped away, and that really makes it difficult for the Fire Mage to push in. Dragon's Breath looking for a sheep onto Chaz, manages to find it. Raikou there, he doesn't have the reverse magic, actually used it offensively onto Swapsy as Chaz was caught into some crowd control to keep Swapsy in the fight, keep him aggressive, but now Raikou doesn't have that as a defensive, and if Temple Storm can take advantage of these little opportunities that come their way, little overlaps from Method Black, they can definitely close out the game.
Top tier Restoration Druids, Chaz and Asgarath here. You can see with the recent changes to Restoration Druids, you put them in the hands of players of this caliber, BlizzCon champions. It's really quite difficult to push any side over here as we move deep into dampening, but at some point there will be a kill because simply healing just won't do anything, and at that point things will start to get a lot more chaotic and the trades will become a lot less predictable, and at that point the opportunity needs to be seized, and Tempo Storm have to win this game if they want to get the swing match. They look like they're trying to do it here as they gun down Chaz. He was crossing the map, he got caught in midfield and clotheslined, huge damage, dispels off that Maledict with the anti-magic zone shield's defense, will survive, good awareness, and Chaz stays in the fight. Now Asgroth has to do the same and survive. He positions down below out in the open so that Alec can free cast, and Method Black know that and they don't keep chasing him, but still if Asgroth can bait Method Black to chase him into the open and these greater pyroblasts let loose, it could be devastating for Method Black, and Alec's getting a lot of no. Raikou denies it right at the last second.
Yeah, nicely done by Raikou. Alec, if he can get one greater pyroblast, that's scary. Two is absolutely horrifying, especially at this time in dampening. Alec looking for the polymorphs, and unfortunately not able to push in onto Chaz, just really playing defensive right now as Asgroth once again sits down for a drink. Chaz in stealth as well. He's pushing in. He wants to find the crowd control on Asgroth. As soon as he gets out of that drink, pushes in. Chaz doesn't have the bash, it doesn't look like, so it doesn't find the CC onto Asgroth, just repositioning on top of him. Alec, nice imprisonment, nice again coming in from Raikou, slowing down those heals onto Alec, denies the temporal shield. Alec in a lot of trouble right now. Iron Bark does fade. If Raikou and Swapsy can stay on target, Asgroth has to do something to keep them alive, but the double crowd control with the polymorph on Swapsy and the Cyclone on Raikou denies the offense of Method Black.
Crowd control initiated by Tempo Storm, and Chaz trades Iron Bark preemptively for Nixie's assault here, and really Tempo Storm, their only opportunity is if Nixie can catch Chaz off guard and Alec is somehow able to blink in line of sight just in time to finish him off. Other than that, it seems unlikely. They're trying to go after the more safe target being the Death Knight, but with Death Strike and all this great defensive play by Swapsy, I feel like it's very unlikely that he ends up going down as you see him retreating away from Alec and not overextending. Method Black want to play on these boxes. They want to play in close quarters and stacked up. They're definitely not going to want to look to overextend. Tempo Storm cannot manage to bait them in the open, and because of that, Method Black are slowly establishing a significant lead on mana, as well as cooldowns, as well as pressure over time. Will they be able to close it out here? Dampening now at 34%, and Raikou is getting a bit impatient, trying to go after Asgroth, and he's overextended. Alec is looking for greater pyroblast, but he's also taking a brunt in this exchange of damage. Manages to get a nice double Frost Nova, escape to safety while Asgroth was crowd controlled, but the Maledicts are flying forward. That's going to absorb a lot of healing on Alec, and that could be potential to force Cauterize. Will they have enough? Alec blinks away. Defensive Ring of Frost, but gets Fel Erupted on the cast. Asgroth manages to just push through. No, Cauterize was triggered, so that defense is lost, and potentially Ice Block as well. Alec wants to get aggressive while Chaz is locked down in crowd control, but he just can't. He's too much pressure going straight at him. Ice Block forced, and Method Black are looking like they're going to close this game and move it to game 4 and match point.
No, Raikou just uses Metamorphosis as well. He has that available for quite some time. Going to be able to do a ton of burst damage to Tempo Storm. Asgroth really falling behind. This pressure from Method Black is huge, especially at 40% dampening. Asgroth looking for the regrowth, trying to keep Alec alive. Temporal Shield does get used. Greater Pyroblast coming in, but he gets stunned by Swapsy. And these are the micro stuns that I'm talking about that make it so difficult for Alec to get these casts off. And now retreating once again, using the combustion, just trying to get some damage rolling for his team. AMZ does deny. Alec getting chased down. He gets gripped back into the fight by Swapsy. Dragon's Breath defensively. Alec trying to run away, but the damage is just too much from Method Black.
Now, let's break down what we did actually see. Tempo Storm with this game.
I think the most interesting part about this tournament as a whole is that we are taking players decades old and pitting them head-to-head against some of the most recent competitors, and all of them are still playing at the top of their game even throughout all of this time and all of this history. And this year is looking to be like one of the biggest years for Arena esports in general, with how many competitors have lined up this year. Everyone's a great team. We see triple crowd control though by Method Black early on as they lead the charge.
Yep, you can see Alec, he's actually playing the Gnome race, so he's going to be able to use that Escape Artist talent in order to get away from Raikou and Swapsy just a little bit better, and that will be the game plan from Temple Storm. We saw when Nixie was on the Rogue, he tried to put a lot of pressure onto Chaz. That is not going to be their strategy in this matchup. Nixie, he's going to be sitting on Swapsy, sitting on Raikou, putting out as much cleave pressure as possible in this matchup, just keeping Alec alive, who's just going to be kiting away, putting down the Blizzard, putting down the Frozen Orb when he finds those burst moments, and it is going to be a long game.
All right, Method Black, they seem to be target acquired. Run at Asgaroth, pressure whoever's on the way there, Terminator style at the healer, but Asgaroth and Alec are kiting laps around the arena, similar to how we saw Flynn doing in his series earlier today. Asgaroth looking to deny Chaz's drink. Chaz actually using a lot of mana early on? I don't think so. It was almost a bit of a bait to get Urzel's Vortex out of the way. Swapsy, though, getting set up on, and this is what is devastating. That leg sweep, Frozen Orb combined together does a ton of damage, but Chaz immediately knows how to respond, trading Iron Bark and recovering immediately.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what talents Alec is running in this matchup. I think he's playing the instant Blizzard talent after his Frozen Orb, so he can keep up those snares on this target, and that would really indicate that they are going for that long game strategy. Alec still kiting away using the Ray of Frost over onto Swapsy, getting a little bit of burst damage out. Asgaroth gets gripped in, nicely done by Method Black, finding some pressure here, but Asgaroth should be able to shrug it off with that Bark Skin.
All right, Alec's offense there not getting too much done here in the earlier stages of this match, and Swapsy having a difficult time staying on target with Nixie on his back. There's the advantage. Nixie trying to dodge an incoming double stun, but secures one of his own with a counterspell. Great crowd control by Tempo Storm here at this particular moment as they start to build even more momentum. Swapsy, though, just trading out Death Strikes and able to recover through it, despite Nixie using that Turbo Fist to try and parry incoming Death Strikes, and potentially could squeeze that in at a clutch moment to get a kill, denying Swapsy's defense on that heal. We have to keep our eyes open to see if that does happen to be the case moving forward.
Yep, Alec manages to get away with that Gnome Racial once again. So he drops the Cone of Cold, uses the Gnome Racial, and that gives him just a small opportunity to get away from Swapsy. I think in the late game, the amount of damage he's going to be able to avoid could end up winning them the game. So I think it was a really smart choice there by Temple Storm in their Racials. Asgaroth getting swapped to once again, and that's what Swapsy and Raikou want to be looking to do, because a Frost Mage with full Resto Druid Hots is going to be very difficult to take down. So making these swaps onto Nixie, onto Asgaroth, sort of switching it up and keeping Temple Storm guessing is going to be ultra important for their offense.
Yeah, switching targets frequently against the Restoration Druid is an effective strategy, as Life Bloom is not easy to apply. You need to cast it 3 times with an Honor talent to stack it, which costs a lot of mana. So if you switch off the target with Life Bloom to one that doesn't, the Restoration Druid has to spend a lot of time and mana to get that heal over time effect ramped up on a different target. So I would like to see more swaps by both sides. A little bit less damage on Swapsy, maybe go after Raikou a tad bit, as this is likely to be an extended match into deep dampening, and switching targets can be a good way to run a Restoration Druid out of mana.
Yep, there's no question about that. Asgaroth doing a little bit worse on mana. It is because of these swaps that we see Method Black doing, like you sort of alluded to, Sid. Barstein gets used by Asgaroth. He's going to be able to leap away onto Alec, and now it's going to be difficult for Raikou and Swapsy to really chase him down. So as long as Alec is positioned nicely, Asgaroth can use him as sort of a get-out-of-jail-free card in order to escape. But Method Black, I gotta say, they really haven't been under any pressure in this game, and that's really where dampening comes into effect. They need the reduction in healing in order to sort of push through some of the defensives and all that healing that Method Black has available.
It really seems in this matchup in particular, the moments to look for are that Maledict Trinket when that Shadow Ball crashes into a target, dealing tons of damage and absorbing incoming. There's a Shadow Ball onto Swapsy as they are trying to set up some momentum towards him, but with no crowd control, Chaz easily deals with it, and now Nixie still trying to keep something going here with that double leg sweep, but with no Frozen Orb comboed together, basically getting no damage done. Alec going in for an aggressive play with that counter spell, but Chaz with a nice response, bashing Alec and getting his Gladiator's Medallion could open a kill or nice block for us potentially later on. Alec really getting aggressive. Unfortunate that that polymorph ended up getting reverse magicked by Raikou. They still managed to keep it going. Alec trying to set up some burst damage here onto Swapsy. Maybe some turbo fists to parry an incoming Death Strike. No, Nixie instead just switching for a second to Chaz. Trying to maybe just poke some attention at Chaz and keep him off guard, but really not committing too much.
Yep, Raikou is going to get polymorphed up there by Alec, and it doesn't look like anyone is really taking too much damage, but dampening has now kicked in, so the rest of Druids are going to have to be very good with their mana, and we'll have to see these swaps and target swaps in this matchup in order to see these teams start generating some pressure. Leg sweep now over onto Swapsy. Full polymorph onto Chaz. Nicely done there by Alec. Raikou doesn't have the reverse magic available just yet, so this might be an opportunity for Tempostorm to find some damage. Swapsy manages to deflect and avoid some of that damage with the Icebound Fortitude, as well as the imprisonment onto Nixie. Now Method Black, they're looking to put some pressure over onto Asgaroth as he kites across the map. Alec free casting polymorphs as well as Frostbolts will keep Asgaroth alive.
Nixie, or Asgaroth jumping into the fight, securing a Cyclone. Raikou locked in polymorphs, but basically no damage for Swapsy. Maledict activated by Asgaroth to try and pull some cooldowns here from Swapsy. Frozen Orb is out, but they get gripped into a triple Chaos Nova. Great coordination by Method Black as their assault begins. Devastation, all three members down to about 50% health. Defensive cooldowns forced from each, but they are starting to fall behind, and Method Black are simply switching targets more frequently, creating pressure at more points than Tempostorm, getting a mana advantage and creating a lot more momentum, and deep in dampening, these moments are going to be much difficult to recover through. Asgaroth crossing the map, Nixie sets them up, good crowd control by Tempostorm here in desperation, but even still, just not any damage. Swapsy is just a tank on the battlefield.
Yeah, and he chases down Alec. Alec looking for some damage, drops the Blizzard, but gets kited out of it. Frozen Orb gets dropped there by Alec onto Swapsy and Raikou, but Swapsy's able to easily get out of it as well as Raikou. The Blizzard gets dropped down. Alec is playing that instant Blizzard talent, so anytime he uses the Frozen Orb, he can drop an instant Blizzard. And Blizzard, every time it does damage to someone, it resets the Frozen Orb, so those talents are very synergistic, and it allows Alec, the Frost Mage, to get out multiple points of damage onto Raikou and Swapsy.
All right, another Death Grip, triple Chaos Nova. That's what I'm looking for. They are kiting that Abomination. The Frost Mage, a good pick into the Unholy Death Knight as it can snare up all the pets. But there's the grip. There's the double stun as Alec manages to blink to safety. And spreading out like that allowed him to just avoid a huge amount of damage, basically taking none in that exchange as dampening begins to mount higher and higher. And at deep dampening stages, it becomes increasingly difficult to rotate your defensives. Raikou with great play there, reverse magics Chaz out of crowd control and allows his team to stay aggressive and on target, mounting their assault towards Alec. It would be at this point in dampening that they need to start getting ice blocks or more switch attempts onto Asgaroth. It looks to be the case, but Asgaroth can immediately jump to safety with Wild Charge. Swapsy's not able to stay on target. Going for a Maledict play and switching his attention to Alec. Temporal Shield activates immediately on that assault and soaks up all of this damage, healing it back, but not by too much, with dampening starting to ramp up. And at this point, we may be setting a record for dampening, just looking at the pace of the game, and I'm curious to see if we actually do see a record set. I believe it was 81% last year.
I feel like the record is very high. If we saw that, that would be amazing, especially with the introduction of the Maledict trinkets. So we'll have to see how that goes. Triple Chaos Nova going to be used once again by Raikou and Swapsy. Good synergy, good burst pressure out onto Asgaroth. He manages to escape away from Swapsy, but Raikou chases him down. Asgaroth now looking for crowd control. Full bash into Hibernate onto Chaz, but Chaz shifts out into a polymorph. So that was very nicely done by Tempostorm. Beautiful crowd control coming in, but Swapsy just really not taking any damage.
At this point, with heal over time effects and Death Strike, unlikely to go down until deep stages of dampening at this point. Maybe Nixie could potentially run grapple weapon. I'm not sure. He probably loses too much offense or defense to go for that kind of kill, but taking a Death Knight's weapon away allows you to deny the ability Death Strike, which heals the Death Knight. So if you can remove the weapon or parry the attacks or immune the attacks, you can prevent that healing, and you can kind of almost burst down the Death Knight in that moment, but you lose some going for that grapple weapon. It doesn't appear to be the case that Nixie is running it, so it's unlikely, which is why I would have liked to see more switching onto Raikou. He doesn't have a Glider's Medallion, so he can't activate his defensive cooldowns, and they're getting double leg sweeps. All they have to do is switch their attention. In the meantime, Method Black have set up, again, a triple stun, putting Alec on the back foot, but reverse magic immediately gets Chaz out of crowd control. There's double leg sweep, and they could easily just switch targets instead of going after Swapsy, at least before dampening. Maybe in deep dampening, the Death Knight is the priority train target, but I feel like they've tunneled Swapsy far too much in this game, and it's just making it easy for Chaz to heal.
Yeah, at some point during that exchange, Azeroth managed to sit down for a full drink, resetting his mana, and that is a good spot to be at 30% dampening. Chaz might be falling behind here, especially if Alec can get the burst damage out, but in the meantime, Alec forced him the ice block. Raikou pulling out the Metamorphosis, going for big damage. Nixie still taking some damage as well, has a touch of Karma available if he needs it. But Azeroth having to play catch up on both DPS. He has the Iron Bark to fall back onto, as well as a full mana bar, so not the worst situation for Temple Storm, but it seems like Method Black, they're the ones finding most of the offense in this game.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, unless Temple Storm want to go deep into dampening, but at that point, if they've got no ice blocks, Alec is just an easy target, and he already used one, and maybe another with that Maledict connecting by Raikou. Swapsy's connecting. This is a lot of damage. Dampening's ramped up quite high, and second ice block has been forced. They switch their attention to Nixie. Method Black all over Tempo Storm at this point, and it's not looking good for them. The only advantage they have is mana, but if they can't heal because of dampening being so high, I don't care how much mana you have. Alex still under pressure, manages to get to safety, desperately spamming up Polymorph to try and peel the damage away with Hibernate time together. Asgroth and Alec's teamwork is great, but Reverse Magic denies it. Now the crowd control has been broken up. Chaz is free, and his team is mounting an assault.
Yep, Alex getting relentlessly trained down in this matchup, and as a Frost Mage, if you're being trained down by a Death Knight, by a Demon Hunter, your damage output is very limited, but at this point in dampening, you might not need the damage. Swapsy getting lower and lower as he looks to just try to stay on target. Incapacitate over onto Chaz. Nixie looking for the crowd control he needs. Double stun coming in from Swapsy and Chaz. They can't be grouping up like that. That's a big mistake from them this point in the game. Nixie finds the double. Cyclone follows it up, but Alec not there to find any damage over onto Swapsy. Swapsy doesn't have the AMS for another 13 seconds, but Iron Bark connects, and that should be enough to keep Swapsy alive and potentially stabilize. Nixie putting out huge pressure, though. It's Windwalker Monk doing a good job in the matchup.
The slow and methodical play by Tempo Storm has managed to at least create some openings for themselves moving forward, but they're playing against the wall with no ice blocks. Alec is going to be dancing with danger here moving forward. Raikou denies Temporal Shield. Even if it's just a small amount of healing, it's still an amount of healing. We see the Maledicts activated. Swapsy gets counter-pressured away as both teams go aggressive at the same time. Who is going to come out ahead after this chaotic ball of destruction? It looks to be Method Black. It's match point. Tempo Storm could be going home. The damage is just too much to handle. Asgroth gets interrupted. Alec manages to hang on, blinks back to the pillar, kiting for his tournament life at this point as they are match point. Now trying to reverse the pressure, dropping that double leg sweep, but Swapsy denies the kill with the anti-magic zone. He can't leave the safety of that shield. He's trying to get aggressive and still have the defense at the same time, but he's going in and out and taking a huge amount of damage in the exchange. Can Tempo Storm somehow do it with their backs against the wall? Dampening mounted up at 45% healing reduction. There's no defense for Swapsy. There's basically no defense for Alec. Temporal Shield gets activated. Chaz is even moving in to try and secure some crowd control, but gets denied due to Alec's great positioning and kiting as both teams fight it out to the bitter end.
Touch of death coming in from Nixie. Swapsy could be in some trouble. Raikou trying to keep the pressure up on Alec, but Swapsy, he cannot afford to be in midfield right now. He has to get topped off by Chaz, but at 50% healing reduction, it becomes so difficult. Incapacitate coming in from Nixie once again. Alec in a position to get some damage rolling on a Swapsy, but Swapsy with the AMS, he's looking to get aggressive. Caught into the leg sweep though. Big burst damage coming in from Tempo Storm. Swapsy has to use the AMS, trades it out with the Iron Bark. Overlap from Method Black, but at this point in dampening, you have to overlap to stay alive. Alec now really able to do significant damage in this matchup. Still just stalling out the game, looking for the Novas, looking for the Polymorphs. Swapsy just not getting topped off.
All right, but Alec is still on the back foot. One more second to Iron Bark. Alec gets it, but he was able to get to safety. He may not have needed it. Now they switch to Nixie. Double cooldowns. Asgroth has to Gladiator's Battalion as well. They've got basically one more opportunity to get a kill, but Swapsy's got Icebound Fortitude in 4 more seconds. That opportunity is immediately going to get denied. Asgroth can't keep his team going for much longer to get through it. Swapsy just uses Icebound Fortitude to stay aggressive. It's a race to the finish. Who is going to fall first? Is it going to be Swapsy? Is it going to be Alec? Both healers locked down in crowd control. Both healers almost completely tapped on mana as Alec just running for his life, but Maledict connects, gets dispelled instantly, but it's still not enough, and Raiku's going to close this game out 3-1. Nixie still playing it out, trying to deny it, but with Raiku's defense there with darkness, it's impossible. Method Black, they're back.
And ultimately, you say, hey, look, they're playing it out. Don't have many multi-classers. They're very fixed in their ways, and they can't fit Gelu on his Mage, Valet on the Shadow Priest. Now, these guys have found the perfect teams to be used, and they're going to start it right now in the Grand Arena. It's going to be the Milkmen versus Team.
Knobbers is back from retirement. Minpoike as well here as we begin the AWC program in 2019. It's a battle of the best here today. Gelu Baba already lining up some greater pyroblasts, and those can be quite devastating as he actually gets 2 off in a row. Looking for an early kill on Valet. Tons of damage connecting. Great crowd control by the Chalky Milkmen early on, as Valet is still now forced to trade Dispersion. That early assault, banking them a powerful defensive cooldown from the Shadow Priest, and the chain on Minpoike continues.
Yeah, Minpoike forced to trinket out, as well as to use the Iron Bark on Valet. So a big victory there for Chalky Milkman in the opener, but that really falls back on these greater Pyroblasts that Gelu is able to get off. Another one casted out, but unfortunately gets cycloned up there by Fnaber. So the damage does get avoided by Valet in the meantime. And Minpoike now into a Quaking Palm. Big burst damage onto Valet once again. He trinkets out of the kidney shot, trying to get out of the smoke bomb, but this is actually really scary for Valet. Still has the Void Shift, has to use it as well on the Fried Kitty. This is a horrible start for Team.
Yeah, I mean, this RMD, the Rogue Mage of Ashley and Gelu Baba, is just decimating Team in game number 1 with amazing crowd control and tons of pressure. And we can see that when Gelu Baba has a team that can utilize him, he's a hard carrier to not be kind of just washed away. He's going to be carrying his team here in game 1 and throughout the tournament, I do believe. We see some damage finally showing up for the team of Team, as Ashley dips fairly low on health, and Poike caught into a blind. This is what the Chalky Milkmen have set up for throughout this entire fight, with everyone locked down in crowd control. Valet is all by his little lonesome trying to survive, manages to secure crowd control in the entire enemy team, keeping himself afloat just a little bit longer, but Minpoike still can't connect the heal, and Valet looks like he's ultimately going to be going down. Chalky Milkmen execute precision in game 1.
That was a lot faster than we thought it was going to be. We saw how fast that first game did go. Will Team be able to hold on? Will they have a stronger opener? We find out right now.
Yeah, Gelu's going to be pushing in, putting a little pressure on Fried Kitty. Both mages just exchanging damage, but as a Frost Mage, you really don't want to mess with that greater Power Blast. So if Gelu can cast those out, it is likely Acro has to stop him, and that is what happens. Blind over on the Fnabers. He trinkets out immediately, does not want to fall behind. And it looks like Team, they're getting aggressive early on. And Kitty shot now over onto Acro, but Ashley gets spam polymorph by Fried Kitty, and he manages to deny that situation.
Yeah, we really haven't solidified which target is the optimal one. It does appear to be that Gelu Baba is the target for Team, and Acro is the target for Chalky Milkmen early on. Acro pre-activates Feint, expecting an incoming stun and trying to read the situation, but that stun no longer available. Fnaber's locked down crowd control. This is dangerous for Gelu Baba. Great crowd control by Minpoike as well, and Team are doing a much better job here in game number 2 in terms of offense. Maledict connects. That's going to be absorbing a lot of healing. He needs to be careful, as that Cauterize will also be absorbed if he gets bursted down too heavily. Ray of Frost gets interrupted by Gelu, but I would say that Team are in a much stronger position here in game 2. Minpoike on fire with these Cyclones.
Yeah, nice Cyclone on Gelu on that Iron Bar coming in from Fnaber. It's going to make it more difficult for Fnaber to actually top him off, but finally able to land some heals. Gelu going to be okay. Kidney shot over on Acro, but once again gets denied by Minpoike. Like you said, Minpoike on fire so far in this matchup.
He's completely controlling Ashley across the map with those triple Cyclones and Entangling Roots. They drop the Smoke Bomb on Gelu Baba with no Gliders Medallion. He cannot escape that. Fnabers goes for a Tranquility, which heals through it. Smart move. Gelu will easily survive. Ashley with Vendetta available may swap to Minpoike. I would like to see that at some point with Combustion and Vendetta. They can do an all-in kill on Minpoike, and with that balanced Druid affinity, he loses all of the defense of the Guardian Druid, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the case as Fnabers jumps in for crowd control, locking Minpoike out of the fight. No good, though. Follow-up with the polymorph casted as well, and with no trinket, Acro is in trouble at very low health. The Maledict is soaking up a lot of healing. Minpoike is still locked down, and Acro is all alone. He's trying to get aggressive at the same point, but Minpoike just can't heal. Fnabers locks him out with another into the third. Finally out of Cyclone. Minpoike's got a lot of work ahead of him. That Maledict dispelled off, but still dangerously low as Acro manages to escape into a Cyclone, and Fnabers immediately responding to Minpoike's Cyclone pressure with Cyclones of his own. Minpoike crosses the map, gets clotheslined though by Gelu. Great teamwork, and now Acro in a ton of trouble. Fried Kitty has nothing really available for him, and Acro will fall. Chalky Milkmen takedown method black in the offline rounds and look unstoppable.
Games in Chalky Milkmen they've been able to execute.
Also, neither of these Druids are afraid to get aggressive. We saw in the previous series that the Druids were playing ultra defensive, staying max range, not going for Cyclones, but both Fnabers and Minpoike were constantly looking for Cyclones, and if you're an aggressive player as a healer, that opens opportunities to get punished and go down. So because they're playing so aggressive, these opportunities have opened.
Yep, and I think the Mage in general is really strong against the Restoration Druid because of that Kleptomania talent. When you do land that crowd control, you can use Spell Steal with Kleptomania talent. It removes every single heal over time effect, and that's a great way to reduce some of the incoming healing a Resto Druid has available.
Beautiful crowd control by the Chalky Milkman once again on match point. Their devastating assault is going to force dispersion and potentially even more valuable defensive cooldowns as the assault continues. Cyclone after Cyclone into Bash. Maledicts connect. Valet in trouble. Minpoike overlaps defensives during this assault, and finally team secures some crowd control, and the Fnobbers try to launch an attack, but Gello and Ashley are already immediately retreating away. Valet trying to hunt them down. Maledicts flies in. Ursul's Vortex pulls Gello into line of sight. Well positioned by Minpoike as he carries the team here early on. They managed to pull at least Iron Bark by Fnobbers, but in the meantime, Blind has been committed as Ashley goes in for potentially the kill here towards Valet. They continue the chain with a sap. Fried Kitty gets cycloned up, and Chalky Milkmen are just completely destroying this game at the moment. They need to try and get a Void Shift from Valet. They drop the Smoke Bomb to deny it, but they don't have the damage to back it up. Fried Kitty blinks in just in case and pre-temporal shields the incoming Void Shift to survive the Smoke Bomb. That was amazing teamwork by Fried Kitty and Valet to survive, but that Void Shift is a 5-minute cooldown. Unlikely to see it again with the intensity that Chalky Milkmen are bringing.
Yeah, Gellu now just controlling up Valet. See, now that he's not getting targeted down, you control the Shadow Priest as much as possible, deny their go, and now once again, Chalky Milkmen, they can look to get aggressive, but beautiful triple CC coming in from team. Cyclone on Fnobbers, Polymorph on Ashley, and a bash over onto Gellu. Nicely done, but just not really able to find the damage so far in this matchup. Quaking Palm onto Minpoike. Potential Ring of Frost. No, Gellu not able to find it. Now Minpoike can get a free Cyclone onto Gellu and escape and keep his team alive.
Yeah, that balance affinity play by Minpoike highlighted quite effectively here. Both these Druids playing with Cyclone very well, but in the meantime, Fnobbers opened up to school. He got counterspelled. Could be an opportunity for team to attack towards Gellu. No, Iron Bark connects. Gellu will restabilize, and looking at the cooldowns, Combustion is up shortly for Gellu. That's a big hit. They need to get a dispersion from Valet with that power punch. Gellu making his way over, but Fried Kitty's got Blizzard down. Gellu has to blink in. Minpoike's crowd control, triple crowd control here, set up by the team of Chalky Milkman. Can they get the chain? No. There's a gap in the crowd control. Minpoike, they connect the defense, but then they overlap it, and then they get the polymorph off the back end of it. This could be devastating, potentially. Valet, once again, hard carries with triple crowd control, stalling out the kill just that little bit longer.
Greater.
But with Maledict and a greater Pyroblast incoming, Valet's on the run. It's match point. Will they fall down to the lower bracket? Ashley commits crowd control to Minpoike. Greater Pyroblast being channeled. Tons of damage. Valet dips low. Fnobbers keeps the chain going, and it's almost like Fnobbers never even left. Huge damage coming in. Valet barely staying alive.
Yeah, blind on Minpoike. It is unfortunately diminishing return. Ashley looking for more crowd control. Manages to find the Garrote. No sap because it was DR with that Dragon's Breath or a Cyclone. Now Valet cycloned up low. Healing gets denied by Minpoike. If they can find any crowd control on Minpoike, Valet has nothing left in this situation. He has no Void Shift. Minpoike tops him off before any incoming crowd control. Nicely done. Team manages to stay alive for a little bit, but their offense just isn't that great. They can't find the damage they need. They're struggling to stay alive. Cyclone on Minpoike. Valet still in a lot in trouble, using his Vampiric Embrace to try to get some healing, but the greater Pyroblast is going to get Valet dangerously low. But with the line of sight Valet and Minpoike have, good teamwork, they managed to escape for now.
They picked Tolvaron Arena, the largest map in the pool, to try and take advantage of having a Frost Mage and a Shadow Priest, both ranged classes, but Gellu's greater Pyroblast is a bigger threat than both of them can bring combined, and because of that, every time he gets a couple off, it's a cooldown or potentially a kill here, as Valet gets cycloned at low health. Minpoike moves into Cyclone Fnobbers, but they can't get anything off the back end of this. There's a greater Pyroblast being channeled, gets line of sighted. Valet is going to have to hug this pillar for dear life if he wants to stay in this fight into dampening, but Chalky Milkman, their setups have been immaculate throughout, and I'm not sure how much longer he can really keep this up. Meteor connects, and Minpoike makes his way over, manages to connect some heal over time effects to Valet as he starts to stabilize. Let's look at Gladiator's medallions right here. Valet sets up crowd control with a stun. Good setup here by the team of team, as Ashley doesn't have cooldowns for 14 more seconds. It's tons of damage out of nowhere as they pull off a miracle. Ashley goes down, and team stay in the series. Bringing this up, they need 2 more to stay in it.
These guys did have to go against, already on fire in this tournament, but here it looks like the Milkmen may potentially have team's number. Team was able to grab a rebuttal in that last game. Will they be able to keep it going and extend it to game 5, or will they be dropped down to the lower portion of the bracket?
And Hook Point is the setting here for potentially the match point of the series. This is a map brought in with Battle for Azeroth. It's a close, quartered, quick combat map and quite easy to traverse. So you have to be very careful of targets switching or healer rundowns. And Ashley positioned quite closely to Minpoike, but already in combat denying a sap. Ashley sprints over for a cheap shot so that Gelu can continue the chain of crowd control with all three members locked down on the side of team. Valet could be in a bit of trouble, but he crowd controls Ashley with that quaking palm into a mind control. Bit of a cheeky play by Valet, but it bought enough time that Minpoike is now no longer crowd controlled and easily survives. And this is the best start to a game that team has had in this series.
Yeah, and now they get to get aggressive. Nover's not in any crowd control though. Gelu trinkets out of that stun, wanting to remain aggressive and just to survive, looking for the greater power blast on Valet once again. But like you said, team, they had such a great start, perfect positioning. Valet able to just crowd control Ashley with the Pandaren racial quaking palm into a mind control that completely shut down their opener. Now Valet's in a situation where he still has every single defensive cooldown available to him.
Secret weapon of the tournament is Pandas.
Yep.
Confirmed it here in this match. Pandaren racial quite effective at stopping damage and starting crowd control chains, but in the meantime, Minpoike locked into Cyclone and devastation across towards Valet. Fried Kitty locked down in Polymorph. Fnavers walks into a double fear. He was trying to continue the chain with a bash, but Valet punishes. Good punish, but they still get the Polymorph off the back of it, and Valet's in trouble. He trades Gladiator's Medallion, but not the Void Shift. You typically see those paired together, which is now an opening to kill Valet moving forward. Vendetta available, if not just right now. There's so much pressure right now. Smoke Bomb gets dropped. Valet in trouble, and just to get around the corner and right back to Minpoike's arms with that Iron Bark should start to stabilize.
Yeah, now Valet looking to get aggressive, and I want to see team, they need to push in, get crowd control onto Fnavers, try to reverse the pressure as they are on the back foot. Gelu doesn't have a trinket, so that could be an opening for them as well. Ashley being much more patient. Their defensive cooldowns, has the Cloak of Shadows available if needs it, and looks like he will be able to survive. And once again, Chalky Milkman, they're getting aggressive. Kidney shot onto Valet, greater power blast connects, but with no crowd control on Minpoike, he should be able to easily stabilize Valet.
Yeah, the Vendetta being thwarted away as we see team initiating an assault. Second core into Cyclone, bash on Ashley, good cross crowd control. That's going to force Ashley's most precious defensive cooldown. Gladiator's Medallion paired with Cloak of Shadows, which can immune all incoming damage from magic, which both Fried Kitty and Valet basically only do. So it is very important that Ashley holds on to that, but now that it's out of the way, he is a lot more vulnerable and going to have to be a lot more careful as we see him in stealth, hiding from his opponents and looking for an opportunity to safely strike.
Yeah, and Gelu's still looking for those greater power blasts, but like you talked about, Sid, Valet, one of the ways he can counter that is with a mind control. If you simply cast something a little bit quicker, you can prevent the greater power blast like we just saw, but can backfire. If you get interrupted on that mind control, then all of a sudden you can't use your Fade, you can't use your Dispersion, and you become very vulnerable, so you have to be very careful with that out of line of sight, but it is so far working out for them, shutting down Gelu.
Ashley is literally just staying in stealth, now going for a blind attack from stealth, but not able to really get any damage with the blind, effectively wasting it here unless they can manage a dispersion off the back end of this, but I don't believe so. And Ashley waited the better part of a minute to do basically nothing in that exchange and now is exposed. Fnavers backs him up though with Iron Bark and will stabilize.
Minpoike.
They go for a swap to Minpoike. That balanced Druid affinity makes the Druid a lot more vulnerable. Will Minpoike be able to handle the swap? Double Maledicts, tons of damage, triple Maledicts, huge damage. Void Shift redirects the health back to Valet, allowing Minpoike to breathe and recover.
Just do that once again. I really feel like Gelu can take advantage of the positioning on this map, get this damage out. Now Valet's in a little bit of trouble, and Minpoike trying to play catch up with the Iron Bark, but I think he actually committed it onto himself. No, it wasn't on Valet, so Valet should ultimately survive here with the Vampiric Embrace as well, but Gelu, with the greater power blast, he can just be free casting them, find these opportunities throughout the game, and Poike still in crowd control. Nice Master Spell coming in from Valet to free him up. And now once again, team, they need to find some sort of pressure. Disarm over onto Fnavers. Is there any follow-up? The Ring of Frost, nicely done by Valet and Frost Kitty, but no one really taking too much damage. Now full Cyclone secured by Minpoike. Gelu out of line of sight, just avoiding as much damage as possible. Bash coming in. Now finally Gelu's caught in the middle midfield, but Fried Kitty kind of ran out of damage there. Fnaver's just going to dispel off all of the Shadow Priest dots, and I think Gelu should be able to survive here with this Iron Bark and Safeguard.
Yeah, Valet getting run down by Ashley with Vendetta activated. Ashley does a ton more damage, but not enough to even force Dispersion, which is typically the trade you see for that cooldown. Fortunately, though, that purple box below Ashley's health is now available as Cloak of Shadows, which allows Ashley to play a lot more aggressive, knowing that that safety net that is there to catch if he takes a ton of damage. And Poike caught in a Cyclone, Valet still getting pushed forward, but in the meantime, Valet starts an assault with that Psychic Core Ring of Frost, but even though they're getting crowd control, they just simply don't have the damage to back it up. It's quite easy for the Chalky Milkmen to just retreat out of line of sight, as Fried Kitty and Valet do not have enough lockdown to hold 3 members down in place long enough to get burst damage out, and Chalky Milkmen constantly abuse that, doing these hit and runs when they're on the back foot, and a couple greater Pyroblasts, 3 in a row being casted there by Gelu. Valet can't allow that. He's going to duck around the corner and deny any further, but if he opens himself up to a greater Pyroblast like that, it could easily be curtains if he's not careful.
Yep, there's no question about it. 5% dampening now, so it's going to become more and more difficult for these Restoration Druids. Kidney shot now on Minpoike. Barskin gets used as well. They make another swap onto him. He's getting lower. Safeguard comes in. Minpoike trying to escape, but he can't get rid of these Maledicts coming in from Fnobbers. And Minpoike is getting low. They could take him down right here, right now. If Gelu has any more damage, Ashley has to be able to reconnect, but nice peels coming in from Team, keeping Minpoike alive in this matchup.
All right, Minpoike once again survives the swap, which can be devastating on hook point, such as close-quartered map. It's difficult as a healer to have the range away from any incoming attacks or crowd control. In the meantime, Team secure crowd control. They might be looking to put this to a game 5 as Ashley dips below about 50% health, but not enough damage to follow up any real threat. We do see Valet getting interrupted. Minpoike locked down in a Quaking Palm, Ring of Frost, good crowd control, but where's the damage? They need just a tiny bit more to take down Valet here with the kidney shot. They do manage to pull at least dispersion from him, which is now a defensive no longer available as dampening ramps up. Chalky Milkmen have the mana lead, they have the cooldown lead, they have the pressure lead, and it's looking more and more in their favor. Team need a miracle, although they did manage to pull one off the last game. It may be unlikely as so long as the Chalky Milkmen don't throw.
Yep, Valet, he's going to be line of sighting, try to avoid damage. What Chalky Milkmen need to do, they need to get the Iron Bark from Minpoike. There it is. They get the Iron Bark, but that's some Vendetta. Valet might just die through Iron Bark. Polymorph on Minpoike. They have really no way to get out of that. Valet barely surviving, trying to get in line of sight to Minpoike, trying to slow down the crowd control, pushing forward. Silence on Fnobbers. Now a blind on Minpoike. Valet really nothing, looking for the mind controls. Minpoike has to get out of crowd control. Nicely done by Team to stay alive there. Valet almost taken down. He had to push into the enemy team to get his crowd control out to keep himself alive.
All right, at this point, Minpoike is in a polymorph, and Valet does not have a lot of defense. Fortunately, he's far away from Gelu, and Gelu cannot get to him in that polymorph. Ashley unlikely to kill Valet by himself, so good defensive play by Fried Kitty, backing up Valet. Valet with good defensive positioning and playing a lot better than we've seen earlier in the series. The team of team has improved drastically throughout, but still they're on match points. Even just one mistake could cost it, as they will be sent down to the lower bracket. In the meantime, Chalky Milkmen initiating an assault, but Valet just playing ring around the rosy on the pillar, and Ashley simply can't catch him. Valet manages to keep it going just a bit longer as Minpoike leaves crowd control, but there are the Maledicts absorbing incoming healing. Minpoike does not want to use Dispel on that should Polymorph be devastating later on, but Valet's positioning at this pillar has denied so much from the Chalky Milkmen as they finally get an opportunity to attack. Triple Psychic Scream.
Yeah, Gelu doing a good job, though, with that Dragon's Breath, denying any crowd control on Fnobbers out of that Psychic Core the Shadow Priest has, and that's what Valet is able to set up Fried Kitty with. And Fnobbers in that Moonkin form, he's not going to be very susceptible to Polymorph, so the only CC that team is really able to get is the Psychic Core stun into a Ring of Frost. And if that gets denied, then all of a sudden Chalky Milkman, they have free reign in the game to sort of do what they want. 25% dampening. The single target pressure on Valet is going to become very scary, but team is doing a good job so far avoiding that sort of damage and setup.
So Ashley just sitting in stealth, playing very patiently, and then actually finding a sneak attack on Minpoike from stealth, and maybe just killing him outright. He tries to jump to safety, but Ashley in hot pursuit with that Shadow Step. Maledict's all-in commitment. Minpoike does not falter and manages to escape to safety without overlapping defensive cooldowns, and still playing quite cheeky, looking for some Cyclones and a Malediction of his own towards Ashley, but now Cloak of Shadows is available and unlikely to find a kill unless Ashley throws it away here at low health. Cloak of Shadows, but they want to run down Minpoike. He's too far away. They can't keep up the chase. Fnobber still in crowd control. Manages to connect Iron Bark to at least start to stabilize Ashley. Will it be enough is the question at 30% dampening. Valet in the meantime getting counter-pressured. Quaking Palm, crowd control by Gelu, as this should secure a dispersion. Delay holding on to it. A bit of a greedy play here. He doesn't want to throw it away. Greater Pyro gets mind controlled right at the last second. Good denial, but the blind is still available. Valet in a 3-on-1 situation and has to trade that vital dispersion. But as dampening ramps up higher and higher and higher, it's going to become difficult for both teams to recover from burst moments.
Yeah, Gelu had a really nice play there. Lands the Greater Pyroblast onto Valet, manages to interrupt the Polymorph from Fried Kitty, so he really can't assist, and then goes in with the Quaking Palm, followed up by a Polymorph, really turning the pressure in Chalky Milkman's favor single-handedly. So a very nice play coming in from Gelu in this matchup.
Greater Pyroblast, Gelu in the back line, gets one off. Ashley moving forward and following it with a kidney shot. Lots of damage, and Poike jumps over to try and save. Manages to bash up Ashley and deny the damage. Ashley does not want to trinket aggressively, so holding on to that. Ashley's been playing absolute perfect defense in this game, trying to play methodical into the deep dampening depths that we have achieved here at 36%. Fnobber's still locked down on crowd control. Ashley retreats away. Curious to see if maybe they can swap to Fnobbers. Gelu getting some Greater Pyros, no, gets Psychic screamed on it by Valet. Valet constantly shutting down the enemy team, doing whatever he can to keep it going just that little bit longer and find some sort of opportunity. But Poike gets caught in the Polymorph by Gelu, but Fried Kitty backs him up. No, he's Cyclone. Gelu gets out. Valet gets dropped with a Smoke Bomb. He's all alone. He only has Void Shift to his name to survive. He needs to be in line of sight to use it. Nobody's in line of sight. He needs to get over there as soon as possible. Swaps over to Fried Kitty. Ashley immediately ducks over and looks for a re-stealth, seeing that the kill is lost. Fried Kitty's low on health. Valet is low on health. There's 40% healing reduction in the game, and Poike has a lot of work ahead of him. Cyclone at low health denies any healing. Fnobbers gets cycloned himself, and Gelu suddenly in trouble. Can they finally pull off the miracle here, Ben?
I don't know. Gelu might be able to survive. Once again, another Maldic coming in. Fnobbers dispels it off, gets the Iron Bar. Gelu still has the Cauterize to cheat death on that Fire Mage to fall back on. And now Gelu in a great position to land these Greater Pyroblasts. Valet could be in a lot of trouble. Greater Pyroblast #1 at 42% dampening. These become very difficult to heal through. Burst damage once again coming in from Gelu and Ashley. Full blind on him. Poike's playing relentless. He has no way out. Valet does not want to wait too long to use that dispersion. Activates it with that Vampiric Embrace, keeping himself alive a little bit longer. Poike has the Iron Bark. Nice crowd control coming in from team. Can they reverse the pressure? Valet still low. Gelu getting low as well. Caught into the silence with a disarmed Polymorph over onto Fnobbers. But Quaking Palm and Poike, Valet's in a lot of trouble. Both teams doing everything they can.
As dampening mounts up higher and higher, I don't think we're going to see a complete reset in health ever again at this point in the game. But Poike just simply doesn't have mana. Greater Pyroblast is being channeled by Gelu for the kill. It's going to be secured. Valet falls, and the Chalky Milkmen get a special delivery here on map.
We do get out of this game, but Baba's Boys versus nLite starts right now.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm kind of speechless.
It's on my screen.
I don't think any of us could have predicted this matchup, but it looks like it is going to be Restoration Druid, Elemental Shaman, and Balance Druid going up against a Cleave setup that nLite is bringing with the Discipline Priest, the Feral Druid, and the Retribution Paladin. But I feel like Baba's Boys, they've got this on paper. If they can survive, I mean, maybe Luna can get taken down. There's a lot of burst pressure very early on.
Maru suddenly getting swapped to as well, and nLite are doing devastating damage early on against the team of Baba's Boys, but they do not panic. Looney is not a healer to crack under pressure, always making even exchanges, and even if he's dangerously low on health, will never overextend his defensive lineup unless he absolutely needs to, and that's really what his niche is as a healer, is playing maximum fortified defense and being an unbreakable wall. nLite with this peculiar composition, one that I'm not even sure we've ever seen in AWC, with the Retribution Paladin Feral Druid, brings in hybrid healing, so both the Retribution Paladin and Feral Druid can heal, and that allows Uniaki a lot more freedom to just do damage. And the composition on the side of nLite actually on paper makes sense that it could go for long matches, but the weakness is that this Retribution Paladin does not move very fast, and if he's caught in the middle field for just a little bit too long, he can get bursted down, and that's the weakness that Baba's Boys are going after.
Yeah, and one of the things we see with Elemental Shaman these days that we didn't see before is the Lightning Lasso. So Zeepai is going to be able to channel a stun on a target, in addition to doing massive damage. It keeps them locked in place, so look for Zeepai to find great Lightning Lassos throughout this game if he is playing it. Kara caught in midfield once again, and that's really what Baba's Boys wants to do. They want to keep Kara in midfield, keep him caught in this lasso, put out big pressure, and eventually, if they can bring the game to dampening, Kara's uptime is just going to be a huge problem for nLite.
I would like to see Zuniaki being a bit more aggressive in terms of damage dealing, not necessarily Psychic Scream, as it's completely nullified by Tremor Totem, and the positioning is too difficult for the Discipline Priest to really get to Looney. It's more that Zuniaki needs to just maximize his damage output and sort of make up for the lack of single target damage that his team provides with no Mortal Strike or no healing reduction effect. Zuniaki at the pillar trying to pick his team back up, but Zeepai right on top of him going for a Hex, gets Psychic Screamed away on the cast. Zuniaki, he does manage to instantly get dispelled by Cassidy. Zeepai would like to combine Hex on Zuniaki and Lightning Lasso on Feral, but because Cassidy dispelled Zuniaki so fast, Zeepai couldn't get that set up, and now Cassidy easily survives.
Yeah, and for nLite and Zuniaki, as the game goes on, it's going to be more difficult for Zuniaki to keep his mana up. There's a fine line where your Atonement healing just no longer is enough, and Smite isn't enough to sustain, so you have to start spamming out the Shadow Mends a little bit later on to keep your team alive. For now, Zuniaki's doing great on mana, but I worry about nLite if the game does go on long.
Yeah, at this point, constant burst damage towards the team of nLite. Zuniaki probably playing Trinity and healing a lot with Smite and Penance, and that's why his mana is so high as a Discipline Priest. If you're running that Trinity build, you just do damage to heal. However, if a game snowballs out of your control, it's very difficult to recover from it, so Zuniaki needs to stay completely ahead. You can see he's fallen quite far behind, and Cassidy hasn't gone up in a little bit. Kara actually healing with Avenging Wrath, Word of Glory, and Tapium back off, and the support of two hybrids also benefits that Trinity build for Zuniaki, so I think it would be the nice decision there on his part. Looney in the meantime using Thorns to try and maximize damage as both Kara and Cassidy connect, but it does appear to be that the durability of both sides is likely to extend this game into dampening.
Yep, Kara and Cassidy on target right now, putting some pressure out on Tomorrow, but with no real crowd control threat onto Looney, it's difficult for them to get the damage rolling that they need. Zuniaki on the Discipline Priest, of course, he has the Psychic Scream, but pushing into Looney just to get your Fear Tremored doesn't seem like a wise decision, and Zuniaki knows this, so he's playing very passive, far back, healing with Trinity, like we said, keeping his team stable. But I just feel like dampening is going to be required for this game to end with the way these two teams are playing.
Effectively, there are 6 healers in this arena as well to take note of, with hybrids on every team. They'll be able to constantly support everybody else on the team, so it's likely that healing reduction is going to be necessary for either team to really make something get going here. I would like to see more Hex Lightning Lasso combos by Zeepai, and they're trying to kite away and bait Zuniaki into midfield. Now Zuniaki's midfield, so Zeepai and Maro push up to try and get crowd control, and Zuniaki immediately retreats back, and it's going to be a bit of a tug of war between both of these wizards and both of these melee before we get to dampening. We see Hammer of Justice onto Maro. Now, that may seem peculiar because a healer can dispel it, but if you actually use it on cooldown, you may be able to run a healer out of mana, as Dispel is actually a fairly expensive ability to use, and that could be a strategy Kara is intending to employ moving into a late game.
Yep, there's no question about it. Maro now on 50% health, but Looney, I don't think he's used Iron Bark at one point during this game, so double Thorn's going to be activated onto Maro. Now Kara attacking him becomes very risky because of all that redirect damage that the Thorn's ability provides. Kara now caught into the Bastion midfield into a Cyclone on his Avenging Wrath. But Zuniaki and nLite, their team has been very stable. Babas Boys as well. Dampening has now kicked in, our good friend Dampening. Things will start happening in this matchup. Kara pushing towards Maro, trying to get some damage rolling. Kara looking for heals as well. Like Sid said, there's just a lot of off healing in this matchup, which makes it really difficult to push the enemy over.
Stormkeeper Malediction combo as Kara gets bursted down in midfield. Another Malediction as tons of damage follows it up, but immediately catching heals from all 3 members of the team. Kara will bounce back to full HP in a jiffy. Kara making his way over, but Cassie getting Lightning Lasso. Kara looks like he wants to go after Looney, catching him in a Hammer of Justice and trying to lay down some punishment, but Cassidy is just staying on Maro. Potentially they go for a split strategy, but immediately Baba's boys switch their turret attention to Cassidy, bursting him down. Kara getting left behind the pillar, not able to support both Maro and Cassidy, about half health here. And as we move deeper into dampening, these moments could be kills quite easily.
Yep, there's no question about it. Cyclone once again on Cassidy. Nicely done by Maro, I believe, who's landing these Cyclones. Looney playing very far back. Really doesn't want to tax his mana, casting out those Cyclones at this point, especially when you have a balanced Druid on your team. There's no real reason. Zeepai now getting a Lightning Lasso, and those Lightning Lassos, as the game progresses, are going to be very scary for Kara, especially if Zeepai is not getting interrupted on those. So that's something nLite definitely have to consider as this match moves forward.
I would either like to see hexes being casted on Zuniaki or Kara. If they can remove Kara, then remove the extra healing from him at least, and then Lightning Lasso Maro. I think Zeepai could be more effectively utilizing that crowd control together to try and burst down the target, or at least tax more mana from Zuniaki, as he's likely to use Shadow Man to recover on his own if both Kara and Cassidy are removed from the fight with crowd control. Dampening ramps up. Zuniaki's doing a good job to maintain his mana on parity with Looney, constantly focusing on healing with Atonement, Penance, Smite, these very inexpensive spells, but they don't heal very much to stay in the fight and contend with that Restoration Druid. Mara with Incarnation active could be devastating, but they're actually counter-pressuring him during the Incarnation. He's not able to benefit at all from that boost of damage, although now immediately being topped off can start to switch the pressure in favor. Gunning down Cassidy, then Cyclonium at relatively low health, not really too devastating at this point in the game. However, using Cyclone on a target at low health can deny incoming healing, can potentially force the team to use a mistake and heal into that Cyclone, completely nullifying the heal and removing it from the match. Zuniaki looks like he wants to try and make a move here as he's crossing center field, which can be quite dangerous as he's exposed himself to crowd control.
Yeah, Zeepai with the Lightning Lasso on Cassidy once again. He has overextended. Zuniaki now forced midfield into a Cyclone, looking for the heals he needs on Cassidy. Cassidy's going to have to play very defensive here. The Leap of Faith will bring him back to the pillar with Zuniaki. Nicely done. Good teamwork there. At 20% dampening now, things are really going to start heating up. Zuniaki's been doing a good job keeping his mana pretty high in this matchup. Kara now getting bursted down, and as soon as Zuniaki gets to the point where he has to spam out Shadowmans, it's going to become very unstable for his team, especially his mana bar.
All right, we see a Dome of Light powered bear. Maybe it is not Dome of Light, which is why Zuniaki is kind of tossing that out so casually. You would typically see that barrier traded for Incarnation, or at least Stormkeeper of Zeepai, and now if he is running Dome of Light, that was a powerful cooldown he effectively wasted at a critical point in Dampening. It seems to be the case that Kara and Cassidy are more often on the back foot in this matchup, and slowly but surely Baba's boys are going to be walking away with this match, and nLite may need to try and figure out a different strategy. Now they're going for Lightning Lassos on Kara instead, but Cassidy can support the team and heal, which is why I think going after Cassidy with Hexes on Kara is a better overall strategy during those Lightning Lasso moments, but they're just not going for it. Zuniaki's mana has now finally taken a hit here as Dampening stacks up. He's having to use a lot more expensive heals like Shadow Mend, and that's putting him even more so behind. We see Looney locked in a bash, looking for Cyclone. No, Cassidy actually getting Cyclone. Rake stun now on Looney, and Looney might be the kill target deep in Dampening potentially. Will he crack? Cassidy ripping in right now, lots of pressure. Looney ducks in bear form. Frenzy Regeneration gets Cycloned. Good denial by Cassidy, and now keeping some pressure up on Zeepai as well. And later we move into Dampening. Looney gets swapped to like that again, and it might just be curtains.
Yeah, and that's one of the changes that came in 8.1 is Feral Druids actually have Cyclone now, so they lost a little bit of their burst damage, and now they have the ability to actually use Cyclone. So they can do these sort of hit and run strategies, pressure down Looney, then Cyclone is Frenzied Regen, like you said. Gives Feral Druids a lot more crowd control, a lot more options to sort of score these kills and find these windows of opportunity.
Cassidy getting bursted down in midfield. Kara, Zuniaki both backing him up as he restabilizes, and Dampening continues to mount. Maro in Incarnation, boosting his damage quite a lot, and what will they do? Kara, Cassidy, they're on the run. They want to duck for cover behind the pillar and avoid this, but Kara gets left behind, and Zeepai holds him in place. Life Grip gets Ursul's vortexed by Looney. Good positioning, and Kara's forced to trade his Shield of Vengeance, which is a pretty powerful shield. Great offensive play by Looney there during that moment, but now they're stacked up behind the pillar. Perfect positioning for Earthquakes from Zeepai to try and crowd control and burst down the team, but they've repositioned. However, out into the open, Zeepai has that Fire Elemental. He's playing the Primalist version, going to be doing a lot more damage with it, and they need to be a bit careful here. Lightning Lasso comboed together with it, and Kara gets bursted. Zuniaki denies with Rapture, but these Power Word Shields just continue to get weaker and weaker as Dampening gets higher and higher.
36% Dampening. Zuniaki still keeping his team stable. Zeepai now casting out the Stormkeeper, looking for big pressure over onto Kara, but gets shut down by Cassidy with that Rake Stun over onto Zeepai. Root going to be used, or Beam going to be used over onto Zuniaki to interrupt him. Kara's getting lower. Zeepai in a position where he can actually land some Wind Shears to interrupt these Shadowmans as well. Bash on Looney, but Baba's boys, they're looking so solid, so stable in this position. Zeepai looking for the Lightning Lasso on Kara. He trinkets out to avoid the incoming damage to interrupt on Zuniaki once again, and now you can tell Zeepai, he's in a much more offensive position because the Wind Shears at this point in Dampening, they matter so much more.
Yeah, and you want to be using Wind Shear on Penance, on Smite, on these low mana cost spell, so Zuniaki is forced to smash Shadow Mend and run his mana bar completely dry. And that could be an effective strategy against a Trinity playing Disciplined Priest. Good stun combos here into a Hex, but no lasso. Cassidy instantly dispelling these Hexes, and even though Maro tried to cycle on him, Cassidy is just too fast on that Dispel Keybind. Zuniaki ultimately, though, falling behind on mana. Incarnation is cycling up for Maro in about a minute. Cassidy has a punch here with Berserk, but he needs to be stable enough to push for it. Zuniaki is moving in, and nLite are getting aggressive. They know they're on the clock. They need to get crowd control. They need to get burst out if they want to find a kill, because inevitably they are going to be rotted down by Baba's boys moving forward.
Yep, good pressure here coming in from Baba's boys. 44% dampening. Kara getting lower. He still has the Divine Shield, but I don't know if Zuniaki is going to be able to top him off. Kara trades out the Divine Shield, just trying to avoid some incoming damage. There's the Maledict over on the Maro. Gets dispelled off now. Swap over on the Zeepai. Kara and Cassidy looking for some pressure, but Zuniaki, this poor Disciplined Priest, he's falling further and further behind, trying to play catch up with his Rapture. Penance on Kara as well. If Cassidy, Kara, and Zuniaki can get behind the pillar, they are playing a triple healer setup essentially with the two hybrids, so they should be able to top themselves off and really assist Zuniaki before they try to go out and put out a final push on the Baba's boys.
Well, nLite, if they're going to all play defensive and hide behind the pillar, Looney's just going to simply drink, regenerate his mana to full, and absolutely secure the late game advantage for his side, as slowly but surely they are going to be able to get victory. Cassidy's Lightning Lasso gets broken out. Kara actually using Sanctuary on the Lightning Lasso, which I think is a smart maneuver there. If Cassidy had been held in place with no Gladiator's Medallion, it could have been the end of the game. Typically, healer or Retribution Paladins want to use that on their healers, but in this particular matchup, he has to mix it up and use the Sanctuary on multiple targets and pick which one's more vulnerable, and he's been doing it throughout the fight, so great usage of that. Kara now leading the charge. Avenging Wrath activated. It's do or die time for nLite. They're almost completely tapped on mana. They got no more defense left. Kara gets clotheslined by a clone in center field. Zuniaki unable to heal. Cassidy trying to run and hide, but he simply can't. So much damage flying in. Looney completely ahead on mana. Stormkeeper, they're all stacked up for some Chain Lightnings potentially from Zeepai, and dampening is just at the point where the hybrid healing is slowly but surely becoming non-effective. Kara gets bursted down by the remainder of that Stormkeeper. Cassidy dips low as well, but Maro is somehow actually getting pressured despite all of this, and Baba's boys are forced away.
Yeah, Maro having to run away, playing a little bit too aggressive at 56% dampening. All bits of damage are scary. Cassidy getting lower. Bash on Looney. He has the Iron Bark almost up. Bark's going to be used by Maro. Looney plays it safe, plays it a little bit greedy as we move towards 60% dampening. Iron Bark is going to be forced out as Cassidy and Kara looking to close out this game. Dark Archangel gets used by Zuniaki. They're looking to make the final charge. Can they take down Maro? Cassidy into the bash. Survival Instance gets used. Interrupt over on Zuniaki. Cassidy still low as the Maledict connects out of line of sight. Zuniaki trying to heal him up. Once again, all three members of nLite behind the pillar trying to catch up their HP. Zeepai charges in. They smell blood in the water. They want to close out this game.
I mean, even still, they can't. Zuniaki healing on fumes. Lightning Lasso gets trinketed at the final second, and they're trying to stay alive for one more push. If they can stay alive just a bit longer, they've got one more chance to push, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to. At 61% healing reduction, Baba's boys are all over them. They don't want to throw the game, so they're trying to be careful. At the same time, they bought time for Berserk, but Kara's too low. Zuniaki has nothing. He's just mashing out mind controls, trying to hold Maro back from this push. He gets cycloned up. Kara's got nothing. Cassidy's got nothing. They're just quivering behind the pillars. They all go down behind here shortly, and they will. Baba's boys securing that late game kill to perfection, taking game one.
Baba's boys going to be leading by 1 once again. Maro on the boomkin. Is that going to be enough for the 2-0 lead?
I really just want to see nLite target Looney start to finish, do or die, try and make it happen, but they could also go after Maro. Bounce Druids are susceptible to Feral Druid pressure. Looks like they're splitting for now, or trying to make it difficult for Looney to predict who they're attacking. Kara and Cassidy tag teaming onto both targets. Looney can't really identify who should have Life Bloom, and if they go after the person who doesn't, that target's a lot more vulnerable. Hex instant dispel there by Cassidy, really quick on the trigger finger to remove that crowd control. Not able to almost ever get that Lightning Lasso combined together as a result. Cassidy is just bouncing back and forth on Maro and Zeepai. This is effective strategy against Restoration Druid. It's actually banking a lot of defensive cooldowns with Astral Shift now out of the way at the back of that freezing trap. And if nLite can stay stable and bounce between both targets, this could work for them.
Yeah, you can see Zuniaki, he's pushing in. He wants to get the damage rolling on Zeepai, playing Schism. Looking for it, gets interrupted. not able to find the fear over onto Looney. Gets caught into the stun, into the Hex, into the Cyclone. So a little bit of an overlap there by Baba's boys, but ultimately Cassidy could dispel the Hex, so not the biggest deal. Kara now getting bursted down. The Maldic Trinket, 2 of them coming in. Zuniaki should be able to deflect with this Rapture, but Zeepai just spamming out the Purges, reducing all of that absorb effect, and now all over Kara. Zuniaki forced to use his shield.
It may have been almost more beneficial for Kara to simply trade aspect of the turtle. The barrier here, power barrier, a bit late by Zuniaki. That's usually a fair trade for Incarnation, but using it towards the tail end isn't as quite as effective. In the meantime, freezing trap on Looney, pressure being developed on Maro as both teams are taking the brunt of this hit. Bringing in the Survival Hunter brings that Mortal Strike effect, which reduces healing on the target as opposed to Retribution Paladin, but you lose a lot of that healing from losing Word of Glory. So it's an offensive trade for a loss of defensive, and typically in this meta you don't want to make that exchange, which is why Zico feels that this composition is not the right move for nLite to make. But if they can stay stable, they had good pressure early on. Now they're trying to get something going, but Cassidy gets Cycloned at low health, and things are slowly falling out of their hands.
Yeah, Looney's still in a good position. He has the Iron Bark, he has the Trinket. Maro has every defensive as well. Zuniaki's mana is much more taxed than we saw in the last game, and there's a full trap on Looney as they look to make a push on Maro, but unlucky for nLite. Looney made a great play with the Iron Bark. Maro will survive. Full Fear going to be secured. Zeepai into the cross stun, so he can't use the Tremor Totem. He's just going to sit on it, though. Using it with only 2 seconds left on that Fear wouldn't have been the play, so nicely done by Baba's boys.
In the meantime, nLite spreading some pressure on Looney, really trying to force him to use heal over time effects on the multiple members, but gaining no significant mana advantage whatsoever despite their best efforts. And slowly but inevitably, Baba's boys are going to be moving, I think, in this game. Cassidy getting bursted and still choosing to be aggressive, jumping now over to Maro, and it looks like they're trying to attack all 3 targets, but they're just taking so much damage constantly because every time they switch, they leave the other one open and Zeepai will free cast, or if they switch off Maro, then Maro will free cast. So it's quite risky and difficult to actually accomplish what they're trying to do, and Looney is still just quite easily healing through all of it regardless and gaining an inevitable mana lead.
It's looking good for Looney as he gets a little bit low. Lightning Lasso now on Cassidy used as a peel, but you can see Kara putting out massive pressure onto Looney. Looney, I think, is going to be okay as long as he can get away from Kara. Good pressure on Cassidy. Still, Paint Suppression gets traded out by Zuniaki. He doesn't have that defensive cooldown to really fall back on. If you look, Zuniaki doesn't have any defensives left. And Zeepai, he has a Stormkeeper available for him, so to get solid damage out, it might be difficult for Zuniaki to recover.
Kara gets bursted down by the Stormkeeper. Zuniaki manages to somewhat recover, but Incarnation activates an aspect of the turtle, almost immediately has to be exchanged off the back end of that. Now Cassidy getting bursted down by the Lightning Lasso, and Baba's boys have this game pretty much in checkpoint from all aspects, all angles at this point. nLite, I think, are going to need a different composition to accomplish this task should they want to take down Baba's boys in the upper bracket. Fortunately, if they do lose the series, they will have a second chance in the lower bracket, but there's so many high-intensity teams in this tournament that you don't want to be facing elimination in your next series. You want to be on the upper brackets. Potentially, if they can recover behind the pillar, they could maybe go for an all-in kill, but it seems so unlikely with how low Zuniaki's mana is getting.
Yep, Kara still just line of sighting Zuniaki with the Rapture will keep his team stable during this time. The Incarnation gets activated by Maro as he's looking to put out big pressure. Fear defensively coming in from Zuniaki onto Zeepai with the stun onto Looney. Mind Control going to be used by Zuniaki as well, but it get immediately purged there by Zeepai. Nicely done. Stormkeeper casted out. All that Elemental Shaman damage is locked and ready to go. Nice Stormkeeper there on the powered barrier. Nice Cyclone as well. So Zuniaki is getting CC'd, but that barrier will prevent any damage onto Cassidy.
Yeah, but still trading the barrier not for the Incarnation exactly leaves an opening, and the next time that comes up, there's, I believe, aspect of the turtle available, so at least Kara will be able to exchange that. nLite are trying to make something happen here on Looney, but going after him is the riskiest target. Leaving an Elemental Shaman and Boomkin free to cast in center field is quite dangerous and volatile, and Kara immediately has to abort that mission, otherwise he would have lost his life here in game number 2, but dampening has started. It will become more and more difficult for both teams, and it looks like they're actually trying to crowd control Zeepai. and stun Looney at the same time to deny the Dispel, and removing that healing surge is great. Zuniaki playing Schism, but I think that might have been only the first time I've seen him actually have an opportunity to use it in this matchup. He's been under so much pressure. Schism is a more aggressive pick. I don't know if he necessarily can even get away with it. I think Castigation may have been better if he wanted to move for a late game kill. Right now, Looney is getting pressured, and suddenly nLite do have some opportunities.
Yeah, that's true, but the longer they stay on Looney, the more of an opportunity Maro and Zeepai have to get aggressive on Zuniaki and keep the pressure rolling onto Kara and Cassidy. So it is a good strategy, but it's definitely risky. Looney right now, no Barskin, no Iron Bark. They make another swap. This could be devastating for Baba's boys. 8% dampening. Do they have the damage to push Looney over? Looks like he's just going to stay in the open. He doesn't want to kite out of line of sight, because that kites out of line of sight is kind of counterproductive, because then Zeepai and Maro counter pressure, which is a really good peel in and of itself.
All right, Kara Cassidy going for the kill here on Looney. He activates Thorns. They cannot attack into that, or the damage will be reflected back at them, and quite devastating if you're taking free cast damage from Bouncer, Elemental Shaman, and Thorns. It's going to be dangerous. Now Zeepai getting Thorns. They don't really have an option with 2 Druids on the team. They try and switch immediately back to Looney and deny any benefit of that. Suddenly nLite are actually slowly but surely equalizing the mana, which I was not expecting. Perhaps they can pull this off. As I say that, though, Zuniaki is caught in Cyclones. Cassidy gets bursted down quite heavily. In the meantime, they freezing trap Looney and switch targets to Zeepai and find an opening, but with Stone Form, Zeepai removes all those bleeds and now can start reversing the pressure back onto Cassidy, who runs back to the pillar, trying to heal himself back up, but nLite are showing signs of life.
Yep, Cassidy, he's going to be moving in, looking for the pressure onto Zeepai, and continuing the pressure onto Looney as well. I think bleeding everyone up, putting single target pressure onto Looney is a really good strategy. Zuniaki feeling a little bit of the heat there, though, has to grip Cassidy back, stopping him from really putting out maximum damage just to top off. And at this point in the game, Zuniaki, his mana is getting low. I don't think he's going to have an opportunity to recover it. So nLite, they need to find an opening, and they need to win pretty quickly here.
Yeah, Looney, he is getting bursted down, has cooldowns to trade, unless he's just a little bit too greedy, and he is trying to get away with it right now with Thorns activated. Bashes Car into a Cyclone. Cassidy's getting torn up. Zuniaki gets Solar Beam. It's looking more and more grim for nLite as they try and pull a miracle from this dark place they've found themselves in. Dome of Light used almost aggressively for them to commit for the kill on Looney. Lots of damage. Will he fall? Healing surges and regrowths by both Maro and Zeepai allow Looney to easily recover. And now Cassidy on the back foot, caught in center field. Wild charge back to the pillar. Kara now left behind out in the open. Goes for a freezing trap, but no one can back him up. He's dangerously low. They can't deal any damage during that crowd control. Now Kara cycloned at low health. It is going to make it difficult for Zuniaki to recover. Cassidy gets lightning lasted. Pain suppression is forced to be traded. Maledix is soaking up healing, and Kara and Cassidy could be a potential double kill for Baba's boys. His Kara is getting stunned up on 10%. He's trying to hold on to Aspect of the Turtle for his dear life. He manages to hold on to it just a couple seconds longer, but now Cassidy's left out in midfield. He's trying to get something going on Looney despite all of this pressure in favor of Baba's boys. Cooldown lead, mana lead, pressure lead, mana lead, everything lead at this point. We're not even that deep into dampening, and it looks like Baba's boys are going to be closing this to a game 5, and nLite need a better answer.
Yeah, they definitely do. They're not completely out of it yet, but they are running out of time, and running out of time quickly. Zeepai Lightning Lasso over onto Cassidy. Zuniaki really no mana to recover. Uses the Dark Archangel. They're trying to get some pressure rolling on Zeepai. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. You have to get Baba's boys off your back, and you have to push in, try to get aggressive. But I feel like in this positioning, when Kara, Cassidy, Zuniaki, they're running behind the pillar, they're running on fumes, there's really not too much they can do in this situation.
Ooh, Looney jumped in for an aggressive play, and potentially could cost his team the game as he got crowd controlled off the back end of it, and now Astral Shift was traded out, but there's just too much damage, too much crowd control. Baba's boys are all over them, and Cassidy goes down in game 2, advancing to match point.
Baba's boys going to be on fire here. We're going to be getting this one started very quickly. Baba's boys looking for the hot 3-0.
All right, can Kara, Cassidy, Zuniaki do it? Can they get through the brick wall that is Baba's boys in deep dampening on Runes of Laura? Zuniaki headlong running across the map on his mount, looking for some Psychic Screams, gets dispelled. Kara maybe going to be freezing trapping that dispel, doesn't look like it. Zuniaki just going right on top of Looney, even without Psychic Scream. I think Looney at this point might just be bored. He's like, okay, I'm getting in the fight, I'm going to make something happen, but if you overextend in the open, they're just going to attack you, and that immediately is what happens. Zuniaki gets tossed to the side. Looks like they do want to try and gun down Looney, and Zuniaki's just going to go all-out aggression despite losing the defense of that pillar to hide behind. He needs the extra damage for his team, and maybe it can be enough.
Yeah, he's pushing forward, trying to take Looney down. Rapture's going to be traded out, has a Dark Archangel caught into the bash. Nicely done by Looney, still just baiting Zuniaki in the open. Looney getting low in the efflorescence in bear form, and this is where you'll see Morrow, if he needs to, toss out the regrowth. Zeepai tossing in the healing touches as well onto Looney to keep him alive. Barskin gets traded out, but a lot of pressure coming in from nLite, a surprising amount of damage.
That malediction from Zuniaki pulled basically every defensive cooldown by Looney, and even though Zuniaki, it's kind of looks like he's trolling because he's just in the middle of the map, but he's actually getting a lot of pressure out. If he can keep this up and still deal damage without dying, it could work, but so much damage from Zeepai. Zuniaki gets hexed at low health, Cassidy dispels it, and Zuniaki does not care. Caution to the wind. I'm killing Looney. I don't care if I have to be in the center of the map at this point, and this is going to be quite an interesting feat of strength if Zuniaki can pull it off, being out in the open against Zeepai's pressure.
Yep, Looney getting caught into the stun once again, actually preemptively using that Iron Bark on all of that incoming damage. Zuniaki thinking twice about just sitting in the open the entire game, but it is an admirable push by nLite. Once again, Zuniaki pushing in, Lightning Lasso coming in from Zeepai, and this is exactly what Baba's Boys needs to do. When Zuniaki charges in, they just need to attack him. The Priest is very vulnerable to spell damage, so he doesn't really have that damage reduction. Takes a lot of burst. Bash over onto Looney, going to be completely fine, I believe. Fear over onto Zeepai, trying to crowd control Zeepai as he is an additional healer to keep Looney alive. So getting that cross crowd control on these hybrids is very important.
Only attacking one target means that target gets 2 Thorns from 2 Druids. Life Plume the entire game. Even though they've gotten a lot of pressure early on, this is just going to be so devastating into the later parts of the match. Zuniaki cloned up, Cassidy gets bursted down. They're on match point and barely hanging on as they cower for cover in the protection of this room. But how much protection is it really as Zuniaki gets interrupted over and over? Cyclone again. Cassidy just doesn't care. All right, you're in crowd control. We're targeting Looney and killing him because nothing else has shown any sort of success. So if it's not working, change it, fix it, and that's what they're trying to do, even though this is so chaotic for them.
Yeah, Looney in bear form, spamming out the swipes, kiting away again, just trying to create distance from Zuniaki. Doesn't want to allow Zuniaki to get purges out, get that additional damage out, just has to stay away. Bait him in the open, now a bash over on Morrow. Cassidy reconnecting to his target. Looney could be in some trouble, but he gets in bear form before the stun once again. Very nicely done.
All right, once again, Zuniaki moves in, gets double cross crowd control. Maybe the miracle. Can they do it? Can they get a kill on Looney with this kind of just caution to the wind? YOLO, you only live one strategy. I don't know. Maybe Zuniaki gets stunned up in the room. He's getting just destroyed by the enemy team. He's got basically not much to work with. He gets cycloned on what he does have to work with. He's just completely exposed to Baba's Boys. Looney's defense has rotated completely back and available. Significant mana lead, and despite this valiant aggression, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to break Baba's Boys.
Yeah, nLite is looking hopeless in this matchup, to be completely honest with you. They need to find some massive burst damage, but look at Looney. He has Trinket, Barskin, Iron Bark, Renew, Thorns, everything available to keep himself alive. Big swap over on a Zeepai, though. Nicely done. Can they find the pressure? Astral Shift gets traded out by Zeepai. He should be fine with the Iron Bark, with the Astral Shift. With a huge heal coming in from Looney. Zeepai gets topped off, and now Zuniaki running, realizing, uh-oh, I'm out of mana. I need to try to find something quick. Runs across the map, but if Morrow and Zeepai are smart, which they are, they're going to be moving in. It's going to be up to Kara and Cassidy to deny. Zuniaki actually sitting down, getting a big amount of mana in the situation. Really well done.
I mean, it's not that big. It's like it's enough, but it's not really going to be
decent amount. Come on,
securing. I don't think of the game here in this match. We're not into dampening. The healers are almost tabbed with Looney though at a significant lead. Diamond Ice trap, but Cassidy can't get damage out as he is cycloned. Morrow's support has been unparalleled in this match, completely shutting down any sort of attempts. See that malediction on Cassidy. Zuniaki dispels it immediately. And all right, nLite say, all right, we played in the pool long enough. It's time to get out and dry ourselves off and try and figure out a different strategy, because that's just not working. They managed to bait Morrow and Zeepai back onto the tombstone. They can attack multiple targets and then jump back onto Looney. And I think this is a much better strategy. You need to bounce onto different targets and force Looney to have heal over time effects on different targets. Otherwise, you're just never going to get through the defense. But even still, this is looking grim.
Yeah, they may have jumped out of the pool to try to dry off, but you cannot escape the damp. It is coming, and we are at 3%, and as this game goes on longer, Baba's Boys is going to have more and more of an advantage. It seems like Zuniaki almost completely tapped on mana, still playing midfield, trying to play aggressive, but they just cannot find an opening against this composition.
Cassidy getting lightning lassoed once again. Zeepai on a rodeo. Looney still getting tunneled, but seems to be dealing with it just fine. Thorns preemptively activated, and Kara's getting a lot of that brunted damage from Thorns. Cassidy's trying to split his pressure. They're going to a similar strategy in game number 2, but with a lot less mana and a lot less time, so I'm not sure if it's going to work out for them. Obviously, the all-in on Runes of Lordaeron not going to be effective here. And Looney's just crossing the map to stop the drink. Zuniaki is very cheeky in this last game. Goes all-out aggression and then it's like, all right, I'm going to chill. I'm just going to sit back here and sip and get my mana back. And it's actually keeping his team in the fight just a little bit longer and perhaps an opportunity for them to get a kill.
Yeah, sort of baiting Baba's boys into an unideal position where Looney's chasing in. Maybe they can get some damage rolling. And actually, now nLite, they have the mana advantage in this matchup. Cassidy getting low, though. Pain Suppression gets traded out by Zuniaki. Cassidy looking for the Cyclone. Zeepai denies it with a grounding totem, I believe. That was nicely done. Kara still line of sighting. Zuniaki caught in the hacks. Immediately gets dispelled. Lightning Lasso on Cassidy. Good burst pressure. No interrupt going to be available for nLite. So if Zeepai can continuously land these lassos, they're very effective at dealing damage and locking down a target from nLite.
All right, Thorns activated by both Druids. You can't attack anybody, nLite, so they're just going to run away, hide behind the tomb with that power word barrier protecting them. Well placed by Zuniaki, soaking up a lot of this incarnation damage, but even still with dampening stacked up and how much mana he's got left to work with, I don't even know if he's going to be able to recover his team. He's so far behind. Now Cyclone. Cassidy's left alone. There's really nothing to keep him going. It barely hangs on. And about 1% health gets wind sheared. Zuniaki penances, and somehow Cassidy stays in it. Zuniaki is playing basically the game of his life for a 0.0001% chance to win, but he's still doing it.
Yeah, he's doing a good job at a very defensive position right now. Really not too much mana left to work with. There's a bash coming in from Morrow. Potential full Cyclone, and now Cassidy and Kara could be in a lot of trouble. Cassidy trying to line of sight. Has a Feral Druid. He does have some heals for himself. Manages to toss them out. Gets back into the action, wanting to continue the pressure on Morrow. The Diamond Ice trap over on the Looney. Morrow taking a little bit of burst, but I just feel like such a solid position. Cassidy getting low. Not looking good for nLite. 20% dampening. Zuniaki gets out of the crowd control, out of that beam. Finds some healing onto Cassidy, but can he top him off?
I don't really know at this point. Dampening 20%. Cassidy's getting cloned at low health. Zuniaki's right on top of Zeepai. Now Zuniaki is Cyclone. Cassidy gets caught in a stun. Tons of damage to that Malediction. Zuniaki instantly dispels it, but now he's caught in a bash. Dampening's too high. Another Malediction. They duck for cover once again, hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Desperately trying to develop any sort of sense of danger even for the team of Baba's boys. They're really not getting too much. Finally, Barkskin at least from Morrow, but Zuniaki's got no mana, a little blue bar just barely squeaking by below his health, and I don't know if he's really going to be able to get much going for his team. Just mind controlling, really just playing whatever he can, any opportunity, any angle that he can get, but even still just not even scratching Baba's boys.
Yeah, Cassidy getting low. In the meantime, Zuniaki completely tapped. But Zeepai is getting a little bit low. Looney has to top him off. He still has the Iron Bark. They have the Astral Shift. They're looking good defensively. They just need to find a kill against nLite. If nLite can hold on a little bit longer, there is a chance that they could take down Zeepai. It's just such a small chance, especially with all the defensives they still have available. Cassidy gets gripped away. Nice Cyclone coming in from Morrow, denying the healing from Zuniaki. Kara, in the meantime, getting low. Has to trade out the aspect of the turtle as he's looking to kite away. Line of sight some damage. Zuniaki caught into the bash. Baba's boys, they want to end this game. They are pushing in to close it out.
I mean, it's almost like they're just trying to swat flies, but they're like flies in steel armor that just refuse to die at this point. But at the end of the day, they're still just flies to Baba's boys. They can't get anything going. They're more of an annoyance, but there's still maybe that 0.1% chance that nLite can do this. If they can develop any sort of pressure, good damage on Zeepai right now. They managed to at least pull a defensive cooldown, maybe a bit more. Dampening's pretty high. Looney's starting to struggle, but Zuniaki gets crunched. He ducks around the corner to stay in the fight with both members of his team still dangerously low. How much does he have left to really keep it going? He pain suppressions, says go for it, get a kill because I've got nothing left at this point. nLite are cowering, but ultimately going to be closed out here, I believe, shortly as Kara will fall. Zuniaki plays out of his mind, but just can't get anything going for his team. Baba's boys will. I almost think that they could take the entire tournament. Minpoike is going to have a second chance here in the lower bracket with his team. Acrolol, Fried Kitty playing that Rogue Mage Druid, a powerful composition. Lone Tar, the last Shaman. Will he be able to hang with the Druids?
Yeah, we will definitely have to see Minpoike caught into the incapacitate. Infernals do get dropped out by Infernion right away, looking to get aggressive, but really no one taking damage just yet. Rezu's trading out his diffuse magic to get out of a Nova. He's basically using that as just a magic break, just a root break, so he can play aggressive. That's how confident he is he can survive in this matchup.
All right, Lone Tar Lava Bursting, getting aggressive as a team towards Fried Kitty. Rezu's getting some Fists of Fury, attacking Minpoike a little bit as well, at least just softening him up. In the meantime, team have secured crowd control onto all 3 members of Team Bronze Troll and got Unending Resolve, which is a powerful defensive cooldown on a very long cooldown, 3 minutes to be exact, which is unlikely for Infernion to potentially see again if team can continue these great crowd control chains.
Yeah, Rezu's using the Storm, Earth, and Fire, as well as the Ring of Peace, trying to get some pressure rolling. Fried Kitty blinks out in the middle of the map. This looks like a good spot for Infernion to actually land some damage. Minpoike's going to have to keep him alive. Incapacitate stops the healing for just a little bit, but a full kitty shot on Infernion with a smoke bomb. Now Acro putting out huge pressure onto this Destruction Warlock, and if Acro can just sit on Infernion the whole game, it'd be really scary for him to survive.
You normally see a healer trinket out of that blind crowd control, but Lone Tar is saving his trinket to use in conjunction with Spirit Link Totem. If he doesn't have trinket, he can't use Spirit Link Totem, so he's being greedy, waiting until the final second to go Gladiator's Medallion, Spirit Link Totem, save the day. If he had trinketed blind, gotten polymorphed, he wouldn't be able to get out to do that, so that was good presence of mind from Lone Tar to pair those 2 cooldowns together, not get ahead of himself and trinket the blind a little bit haphazardly, as healers sometimes do. So good awareness, but their defensive lineup is starting to dwindle, and Minpoike's team is setting up quite effectively in game 1.
Yeah, team's doing an excellent job so far. Infernion really doesn't have too many defensives left. Lone Tar as well doesn't have anything to keep him alive, so Team Bronze Troll might have to play a little bit defensive here, not just charging in across the map from Fried Kitty, because if Infernion gets caught into a kidney shot, Frozen Orb drops down, it's actually a lot of damage on this Destruction Warlock. Big swap now over onto Acro, but Lone Tar into the polymorph. Infernion is vulnerable. Incapacitate gets traded out by Rezus. He's looking to find some damage on Acro, as Fried Kitty's just been doing too good of a job kiting away and controlling the game. Rezus really can't find the damage he needs.
And Poike is playing Feral Affinity, which is a very aggressive. He stunned up 2 members of the team and started the crowd control chain, and now following it up with another really aggressive choice, but he's not been healing for a long time, and Acro falls behind. Minpoike got aggressive, he played cheeky, just fell behind. Acro got caught in an
Poik, if he's playing that feral affinity still, we could potentially see him go down, and Team Bronze Troll could still be in this.
It could come down to those swap opportunities, all tied up. The gates are now open.
Check 1, 2. You were just lying to me the whole time. Okay then, Rich. Crowd control initiated by Team with a sap on Lone Tar and kidney shot on Infernion. Infernion actually using his Glider's Medallion early on to counter push, and it's a very aggressive maneuver on his part, and Team might be caught off guard. Rezus looked like he wanted to make a swap to Minpoike, but then immediately flying Serpent Kick to a different target. Fried Kitty's got Temporal Shield, soaking up all this damage and then healing it back right as it ends and denying that entire initial aggression that Infernion tried to get rolling.
Yeah, here is the nightmare of a Windwalker monk. You chase down a mage, he retreats back to his druid, and his druid just cyclones you. But luckily, Team Bronze Troll, they are there to back up Rezus, allowing him to continue the pressure. That's why Infernion and Lone Tar, they're constantly pushing on top of Minpoike, on top of Fried Kitty, because they need to help Rezus get out of these polymorphs, get out of these cyclones, deny the crowd control so they can actually get some damage rolling.
Defensive Ring of Peace used there by Rezus to try and deny Acro from connecting to his target, but regardless, trades on ending resolve, gets a Chaos Bolt with it at least, trying to build some momentum with that trade as well, but not finding it, and Team are really asserting dominance here in game number 3 and looking likely to take this series with this kind of momentum. Rezus going for paralysis, not looking for a swap. I still think that it might be their only opportunity at victory at this point in the match with how many cooldowns are available on the side of Team as they initiate another crowd control assault. Bash gets denied. Good spell lock by Infernion, slowing down the pace of crowd control on Lone Tar. Fried Kitty finally taking some damage, and Team Bronze Troll seem like they're going more all in. Let's get on top of the mage. Let's do as much as we can before we inevitably go down, but this is a risky move on their part.
Yeah, I think it's smart. If Fried Kitty has to use all of his blinks defensively, running away, it becomes much more difficult for him to get the follow-up crowd control. As I say that he manages to find the full polymorph on the Lone Tar, it's just spelled out. Is Infernion actually... Oh, he's playing the Healing Rain, so he preemptively dropped the Healing Rain there, and that has a chance, if it crits, to dispel magic effects. So nicely done by Lone Tar, getting himself out of that crowd control, allowing his team to push out aggressively once again.
Yep, Infernion still a target here, obviously going to be trained down start to finish as a Destruction Warlock. With almost any melee class on you, it's quite difficult to get something going, so let's see how well he can do under this type of pressure from such a high caliber rogue mage. In the meantime, Team Bronze Troll initiating an assault towards Fried Kitty, looking for those ice blocks. Powerful defensive cooldown. If they can push through with enough damage, they may be able to find it. Minpoike denies with that Iron Bark placed, reducing all incoming damage. Lone Tar with that Healing Rain Honor talent adaptation to dispel polymorphs off himself is a curious maneuver on his front. I believe it also does dispel the snares and the root effects, so very interesting choice. Trying to keep his team as mobile as possible to chase down the Druid, and they actually have a bit of a mana advantage if they can stay in it and keep this momentum.
Yep, Lone Tar into the cheap shot. Is there follow-up from Fried Kitty? Doesn't look like he's able to find the Ring of Frost, but there's a full blind going out onto Lone Tar as well. Infernion doing a much better job. I think the extra offense coming in from Team Bronze Troll has made it difficult for Team to sort of find their stride. As I say that, big burst pressure coming in, the blind sap. Lone Tar, he has his trinket and the Spirit Link Totem, but he's not going to be using it. Infernion getting really low. There's the Spirit Link Totem. Lone Tar doesn't have to trade out his trinket, but that's a major defensive that Team was able to get out.
Yeah, I mean, they've been getting major defensive after major defensive throughout this entire game. Infernals have been dropped, and if Infernion can get those soul shards spent, his Grimoire of Supremacy will stack up, his Chaos Bolts will hit incredibly hard, and Acro is trying to deny that ramp as long as possible. Will he be able to is then the next question, and so far Infernion has not been able to get a Chaos Bolt off during this window of opportunity and gets denied right at the back end of it. Team completely shut Infernion out of this fight.
Yeah, look at Infernion. Just pay attention to him waddling across the map, trying to stay on target, using his Demonic Gateway. Normally a very defensive ability. He just uses it to try to stay on top of the enemy. There's a Mortal Coil into full fear on him, and Poike. Acro could be in some trouble. No Cloak of Shadows, no evasion, no trinket, no nothing. But he has the kidney shot available to slow down Infernion. But Acro's out of line of sight. This is a little bit scary for Acro, and Poike has to get there. There's a DR Incapacitate coming in from Rezus as he's trying to take down Acro, but I think with the Iron Bark, Acro should be able to survive.
Rezus Ring of Peace have been very good in this game. 2 Chaos Bolts connect, they stack up. Critical error for Team Acro at 10%. Shadow steps away to safety. Minpoike jumps, and Rich really wanted to tell Zico he was wrong there. He's raising his hands up in the air, but Acro's not going to go down. Team stay alive despite such a close call.
Yeah, there's the Frozen Orb from Fried Kitty. He just wants to snare everyone up. They need to find their footing in this matchup. Acro has to get chopped off. He has to stay alive. Mortal Coil comes in once again from Infernion. Finds a Chaos Bolt on the Acro. No feint. Still, no defensives available for quite some time. 8 seconds left on the Vanish. That's a big one that he can use to survive. Full Polymorph now into Lone Tar, Ring of Frost onto Rezus. Rezus has no Diffuse Magic and no Touch of Karma. Normally, Windwalkers aren't the best target, but they might be able to make a swap.
Touch of Death, Fists of Fury. The most damage Rezus can do, but he's under too much pressure. He can't stay on target, and all that damage is going to go to waste, unfortunately. Lone Tar sitting blind. I'm surprised to see it. He doesn't have any cooldowns to pair by saving it. He trinkets a Cyclone, but it's too late. He gets bashed on the trinket. Minpoike carry at the end of this match, and team have started to take down.
If not, team going to eliminate Team Bronze Troll from the tournament.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the gates have opened. Team Bronze Troll face elimination. Minpoike trying to keep his team alive in this tournament and fight for as many points as he can get. This is the first tournament of the Arena World Championship Series. We're at the base of the mountain for the entire year as they hike to the peaks for the World Finals later this year. They need to accumulate as many points as possible. If they get eliminated now, it will reduce their likelihood of qualifying.
Yeah, it's going to be devastating for any one of these teams that does want to go and make it to the World Finals. Like you said, there's a stun onto Trap, on him in Minpoike. Acro seems to be the target of choice. Bloodx now caught in the full kidney shot. That's the thing. Infernion, if he's left alone in this matchup, he's going to be able to do quite a bit of pressure. Bloodx getting swapped to, though, taking a whole bunch of damage. And maybe team, they just opt to crowd control Infernion, go after Ludex in this matchup, who's going to be much squishier.
Chaos Bolt's flying. Fried Kitty ducks around the corner. Acro in retreat. They're avoiding that Infernal. The fiery rock elemental marching its way to the target. Ludix charges in. Lone Tar's playing aggressive with his team, and this is interesting on the Restoration Shaman's part. Usually we see Shamans very defensive oriented, but Lone Tar is supporting his team quite effectively. The damage is quite high as well as Ludix is carrying Fried Kitty on low health. Vendetta gets activated, but Fried Kitty is still taking the brunt of this exchange. Mortal Coils go flying. Infernion needs to find a Chaos Bolt. Lands a spell lock him in Poike. Great timing. Fried Kitty, he's dancing with danger right now as that Temporal Shield will go off, bouncing him back. Spelllock is now over, Minpoike can freely heal. Lone Tar caught in crowd control, but no fear now secured. This composition looking a lot better overall for Team Bronze Troll. The pressure mounting on Fried Kitty, but Ludix is falling as well. Both sides under immense pressure.
Yeah, Ludex in a lot of trouble right now. Lone Tar has to keep him alive. Infernion doing everything he can, spamming out fears. Full stun on him, Minpoike into a full trap. Fried Kitty could be in some trouble. Minpoike opting to trade out his trinket to get out of that crowd control. The fear on the Acro gets dispelled quickly. Cyclone now onto Lone Tar. Ludex in a lot of trouble, kind of all by himself with Infernion caught into the polymorph, but he's charging in. He doesn't care. Kidney shot with the smoke bomb. Very scary situation here for Ludex, but a fear on Minpoike and a coil on Fried Kitty does slow down the crowd control on Lone Tar, buying him some room to actually heal up Ludex.
Another spell lock on Minpoike into a Shadow Fury. Good crowd control chain initiated by Infernion into the freezing trap. Everyone in crowd control. Fried Kitty the target here. This could easily be an ice block if they can just get any amount of damage off. They need just a bit more. They get a fear off the back end of this chain. Minpoike has been crowd controlled. He might just be crowd controlled through the ice block if they can keep it going, but they drop the chain for a couple seconds. Minpoike gets some heal over time effects up, and Fried Kitty will start to stabilize, but another chain like that, and Fried Kitty could easily go down. Lone Tar and Infernion, or Lone Tar and Ludex have more cooldowns to keep themselves going, and they might just close it out. This composition is surprisingly effective, Enrique.
Yeah, Fried Kitty just not able to get away as easily as he was against Rezus. Ludex doing a good job, and now they actually are turning their attention onto Infernion. I feel like going on to Ludex, it looks like a juicy target going on a Hunter compared to a Warlock, but leaving a Warlock just free casting fears and free casting Chaos Bolts is devastating. You have to put those kidney shots onto Infernion, which means you're committing your damage onto him. You want to control up the game and eventually take him down.
Full fear, full freezing trap. Fried Kitty sees that crowd control and activates Temporal Shield, denying a huge amount of damage during that crowd control moment, which would otherwise be quite scary. Temporal Shield, an important cooldown we've seen all of the mages using basically throughout the tournament, and they have to be preemptive with it and read the situation. Fried Kitty doing a good job in this position. Crowd control has now basically been nullified, but still taking a lot of damage. Minpoike struggling, has to use Iron Bark just to start to stabilize, but even still forced to retreat away. They're just on top of Fried Kitty. They may even get an Ice Block if they can connect. Infernion trying to make his way over, gets kidney shot, but Ludix is just soloing him. It seems to me, if they go on Ludix, sure, they nullify some of his damage. Infernion's free casting devastating, but if they go on Infernion, then Ludex is just freely raining down pressure on Fried Kitty, and either member of the team seems capable of killing him, and if that's the case, this might be devastating for team.
Yep, Fried Kitty still in a lot of trouble, getting lower. Could be the second ice block. Temporal Shield gets used, gets interrupted on Arcane. No polymorphs coming in. He realizes without that polymorph spam, going to get taken down. He uses the ice block, gets topped off immediately by Minpoike. Lontar now into the Cyclone. Kick on Infernion, but Minpoike with no trinket. Fried Kitty is very vulnerable. This is the Icy Veins. They need to make something happen, but really not able to pull out too much. Lontar still has his trinket. Spirit Link coming up in 15 seconds. Infernion looking healthy defensively. Ludex as well. Team Bronze Troll, they may have found the answer.
Ironbark is going to be fading here shortly. Any crowd control on Minpoike, and Fried Kitty is going to be knocked out of this game. We're going to a game 5. Ludex right on top of him. Minpoike doesn't have much to work with. The pressure is really starting to mount. Infernion is going toe-to-toe with Acrolol in the back line, trying to find some pressure over there, but it gets denied. Fried Kitty moves in with that Frozen Orb, trying to get desperately something going for his team. Not able to find it. Now Minpoike gets stunned. The crowd control chain has been initiated. There's not much left for Fried Kitty. Temporal Shield. Lontar doesn't have the mana to remove it. It's a race against the clock. Is he going to fall first? Acro peels away Infernion. Ludex cannot race that clock. They still have pressure if Infernion can get in line of sight. 1 Chaos Bolt, 2 Chaos Bolts right in line of sight. Fried Kitty not able to get out and avoid them. He does manage to now start to stabilize with the Ironbark, but he cannot afford to make a mistake like that as we've just stepped foot into dampening. Polymorph secured. Infernion trades, trying to get aggressive and defensive at the same moment with that unending resolve, but his entire team is crowd controlled, and he's trying to go toe-to-toe with Fried Kitty. It may not be the best opportunity, but he wants to go for it. He's getting locked out on every single cast, not able to get a Chaos Bolt off at this particular moment, and Poike gets freezing trapped. Ludex trying to carry the team.
Yeah, Infernion in that kidney shot not going to be super effective. Shadow Fear on him and Poike. So he looks to put a little bit of damage there, but I think Minpoike is going to be completely fine. If you look at mana, Minpoike is way ahead. Lontar, obviously he's been purging in this matchup, putting his mana way behind, and now with dampening, he might not be able to hold on for much longer. Fried Kitty still getting low though. Smoke Bomb on Infernion. Acro doing everything he can to keep him alive. Infernion into the kidney shot. Cyclone on Lontar, Polymorph on Ludex. Beautiful cross crowd control coming in from team. Nice setup. Infernion, can they take him down? Fried Kitty just really struggling to find damage in this matchup so far. Acro trying to set him up, but the burst damage of the Frostmage just isn't being super effective right now. Ludex being all over him is able to slow down his damage, and now once again team having to play defensive. Fried Kitty kiting away, but Ludex still on top of him.
Yeah, with dampening ramping up, it's going to get dangerous for both sides. Lontar with no mana, it's going to be difficult to heal, but it doesn't have many cooldowns either, whereas when Poike has Ironbark and mana, but no ice blocks. Triple crowd control, Infernion's in trouble. It's match point. They'll be going home if he goes down right now. Poike needs to nail one more Cyclone. Doesn't manage to get it. The timing is off by just a second, and now Infernion stays alive for the Spirit Link Totem to connect, which means that Minpoike is going to be sweating. He needs to keep his mage alive for 44 more seconds, but with Infernals crashing down, I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity. Fried Kitty retreating away. Lontar lightning bolting, knowing they have to kill him in this little window that they've got to stay in the tournament.
Yeah, Minpoike does trinket out there. That means that if Team Bronze Troll can get one more nice crowd control setup, a trap into a fear, Fried Kitty still in a lot of trouble. Very vulnerable. Has a cold snap coming up in 25 seconds. Second ice block in 45 seconds. If Fried Kitty can hold on for 45 seconds without using ice block, it's going to be a huge lead for team in this matchup. Lontar out of mana. Fried Kitty's going to have 2 ice blocks. Icy Veins does get used. Kitty shot over onto Infernion. Fried Kitty looking for the crowd control he needs onto Lontar, but not able to find it. Really not getting too much value out of that Icy Veins in this exchange. Infernion trying to line of sight, but still getting low. The Assassination Rogue damage with Vendetta is proving to be too much for Infernion. Lontar trying to keep him alive, but he is completely tapped on mana.
I mean, at this point, if Fried Kitty can stay alive 14 more seconds, he gets 2 ice blocks. At that point, it's over for Team Bronze Troll. They're going to have to interrupt Fried Kitty on Frost and burst him down to get a kill at this point. There's no other openings. They're so far behind. Will they be able to do it? Fried Kitty could throw, potentially, as an option. Chaos Bolt does do huge damage with that Malediction Trinket. It could also be devastating. Minpoike in the backline, channeling Tranquility, keeping his team up and avoiding interrupts. Infernion desperately spamming out Fears to get a Chaos Bolt off. Gets counterspelled. Fried Kitty ducks around the corner. Lontar right on top of the team, but he's got no mana left. Gets cheap shot. Fried Kitty blinks in for the Polymorph. Could be the game-winning play. Doesn't get it. Gets denied. Minpoike now freezing trapped. Fried Kitty getting rushed down, but he's got 2 ice blocks to his name. He may have to just trade one right now. He's letting Ludex connect. Ironbark stabilizes him. Infernion now getting pressured. Trying to hold on to that unending resolve, but with a full Polymorph secured, he's got no other option. Drops that defensive to stay in the fight, but Maledictions are flying in. That's absorbing so much incoming healing from Lontar after this crowd control chain. He gets reflected. Was that a stolen Nether Ward reflect on his own Mortal Coil? Because I don't think there's any other thing that could have done it. And ultimately, team are looking to close here. Infernion doesn't have much left. He's hanging on the edge right now, trying to kill Fried Kitty at the same time. Who's going to go first? Seems like Temporal Shield denies the kill on Fried Kitty, and Infernion is just on the ropes.
Yep, and Poike caught in the full trap, but he does have the trinket. Infernion still low. Lone Tar trying to play catch-up in this moment, but at 26% dampening, it's going to be difficult. Lone Tar doing a good job, though. Infernion getting lower. Once again, Maledict connects onto Infernion, absorbing all of this healing. Lone Tar into a Garrote full Ring of Frost secured by Fried Kitty. Infernion 3v1 situation. How is he going to survive this? Crowd control chain is extended with a polymorph into a cyclone. Lone Tar trinkets out into a DR bind. Infernion has to hold on a little bit longer. Spear Link's almost up, but it is not enough. Team closes out this series 3-1.
Oh man, you can see Infernion using absolute.
Wow, that ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90% of you think that Method Black is going to be able to take it. It sounded like our casters sat in a similar vein. Let's see if nLite can make that upset a reality.
10% just really like Zuniaki. Here, nLite battle for their tournament lives. Method Black in the lower bracket as well, surprisingly knocked down by the chalky, milky men in the upper bracket, Gelubaba's team. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can battle back for a rematch in the finals or if they'll just be eliminated entirely. Zuniaki's aggressive lineup is not doing too well in this deep dampening meta. It's not potent enough to kind of penetrate through the defense that all of these Restoration Druid teams have available to them.
Yeah, Swapsy taking a little bit of damage here, gets topped off by Chaz very quickly. Zuniaki going to be very vulnerable in this matchup. Triple stun coming in. Swapsy getting low. Maledict's doing work here. Chaz gets the Ironbark onto Swapsy, but now Zuniaki's the one who is in trouble. If Swapsy and Raikou can stay on target, Unholy Death Knights shred through Discipline Priest, basically countering their shield. Zuniaki landing some heals on himself with the Shadow Mends, manages to stay alive with the Rapture, but no Trinket. Now he has no Rapture, only a few defensive cooldowns left. And Method Black, I think they can close this game out fairly early.
Historically, Feral Druids also tear apart Death Knights, so I'm curious to see which one ends up being weaker on that spectrum. At the moment, Zuniaki seems to be taking quite the brunt of this exchange, finally catching some Shadow Mends and starting to stabilize. Zuniaki, one of the best Discipline Priests easily in the game throughout history. He's actually playing Trinity against this build, which is quite interesting. It's going to put him in a difficult position if he's not able to keep atonements on 3 players while getting tunneled down. But Swapsy has been kept at bay. He isn't able to stay on target. Raikou is also locked down in crowd control and can't make his way over, but finally they land the double stun. I-beam, tons of damage by Raikou, and Zuniaki kind of disrespected his damage to trade out Powered Barrier instead of Pain Suppression, but it means he has a lot more health to recover trying to make that decision in that trade, but it seems like it's going to be able to pay off at the end.
Yeah, manages to find it. Cassidy casting the Cyclones is going to be soaking a lot of those interrupts for Zuniaki to actually top himself off. Swapsy getting low. Use the Death Pack to keep himself alive. Chaz needs to find the healing on him with the Iron Bark. Should be enough. Cassidy getting a little bit low as well. So here's the problem. When Swapsy and Raikou are on Zuniaki, Cassidy and Kara, they have to be on top of him in order to deal damage. And both the Unholy Death Knight and the Demon Hunter do cleave. So they get like a 3-for-1 value when they can stay on target on Zuniaki. Grip them in the open like this. You can see Zuniaki has to trinket out. Cassidy getting a little bit low as well. Then eventually Method Black, they can pick the target that they want to finish off.
Zuniaki, the last non-Restoration Druid healer in the tournament, trying to keep that Discipline Priest dream alive in the lower bracket. Is he going to be able to do it is the question. It's not looking too good. They've got decent pressure. He actually moves in and gets a Psychic Scream, isolating Swapsy, and they're going to take the opportunity to chomp down. Swapsy in trouble. Chaz Ironbark's at very low health and manages to recover, and now Zuniaki is on the ropes with both Raikou and Swapsy on his back. Maledict connects. He's forced to use Pain Suppression and Rapture at the same time, but even still barely hanging on. Another interrupt, and it's going to be Curtains. He manages to land it. Raikou doesn't get faked out. Imprisons Zuniaki at low health for Swapsy to reconnect, and out of this imprison, if you're Zuniaki, what do you really do? He's just ducking around the corner. Another Maledict connects. Raikou's all over him. No interrupt available. Shadow Mends gets spell erupted right at the last second, and perfect interrupt chain will allow Method Black to take down Zuniaki in game 1.
And we already said how difficult it does look for nLite. Now that we have an extra data.
They have to play aggressive in this matchup, I believe. Method Black playing the long game against Discipline Priest. I feel like their comp is effective at stalling out the game. nLite, they're going to have to play aggressive. Cassie actually opting to play the adaptation, which is kind of curious to me.
I mean, every crowd control is every stun at least, so it allows him to get out of more frequent stuns. I think he's imagining that Zuniaki's the target, so it just allows himself to be more aggressive and maybe bait them to even go on him because he's not going to have a way to get out of stuns. I think it's actually a nice maneuver by Cassidy to try and get some extra uptime.
Yeah, Zuniaki's going to be able to survive. It looks like Raikou and Swapsy looking for damage on him. Kara coming back, trying to retreat and help him out. Cassidy is trying to solo down Chaz in the meantime. Kara gets the cleave damage on Swapsy and Raikou, putting out pressure there. And then Cassidy getting nice damage on Chaz. Chaz going to have to play catch up on all 3 members. Zuniaki looking for a Shackle Undead on that Abomination. That was a nice little counter. You can see that Abomination caught into the shackles. And that's a lot of damage that the Unholy Death Knight has available. So it was nicely done by Zuniaki to slow that down.
That's a ton of damage off the back of the Avenging Wrath. Dark Archangel as Raikou is forced to retreat away back to Chaz's side. And despite all that pressure that they developed, they really didn't burn any mana on Chaz's side. In the meantime, Chaz cyclones up Cassidy and Zuniaki in a 3-on-2. And having a Death Knight on you is definitely not a walk in the park that you want to be having. And the interrupts are landing through. Zuniaki's forced to trade this powered barrier, but he's still getting interrupted. If they have a stun, this could easily just be it. He manages to stay in it with these Shadowman spams, allowing himself to somewhat start to stabilize. And it's not too clear to me that nLite have their strategy completely nailed down, and I don't think it's really going to work for them. Swapsy can basically heal through a Ret Paladin by himself with Deathstrike, and Raikou is quite self-sufficient as well with his healing, his leech effect from being in Metamorphosis, which he's actively in with I-Beam. So a couple rejuvenations, plus those healing effects that the Demon Hunter and Death Knight bring, you're not going to create spread pressure on them. Chaz can then easily have Life Plume on himself and sit in bear form, and effectively his entire team isn't going to take damage where Zuniaki is. So this strategy is not going to work for them.
Yeah, pay attention to Kara's mana bar as well. He is the support Zuniaki needs, and when he is out of mana, cannot provide the additional healing. However, he regenerates mana very quickly, so Kara has to save up his mana for when Zuniaki's in trouble. He can get the heals out, keep him topped off, but after that, that is the opportunity for Method Black to get aggressive, where Kara can't really help him.
Kara's going after Chaz. They've had it. It's enough. All right, Zuniaki, let's see what you can do. It looks like Kara's going to just leave you in the wilderness to survive the Death Knights, and if you can't do it, then I guess we're losing, but it's going to inevitably be that case. Now they actually swapped to Swapsy with triple crowd control. Good burst. Swiftman, though, and Deathstrike immediately topping Swapsy. Despite being a critical moment there, was easily deflected by Method Black. Now Chaz under a bit of pressure as Kara seems to be babysitting a little bit less and starting to swing his hammer down a little bit more. He does generate a lot of pressure during this moment as Raikou gets Hammer of Justice. Zuniaki retreats away, trying to create as much distance as possible, but then getting Death Gripped right back into the fight. Swapsy's still low on health, but a nice Fell Eruption there, stunning the entire team, is going to slow down the fight. Kara trinkets and sanctuaries to allow Zuniaki time to breathe and get back to the pillar and back to safety. Zuniaki's mana is lower, but not nearly as drastically as I was expecting against Chaz in this matchup in particular. This composition does appear to be doing better in terms of at least keeping them alive.
Yep, they're staying alive, but offensively they haven't really found too much damage just yet. Raiku's gotten low a few times. Zuniaki gets Death Gripped in, positioning not on the box anymore, and now Raikou and Swapsy can really get aggressive. Kara has to help him out. He has the freedom. If he can get that on him, Zuniaki can retreat to the box once again. Rapture going to be traded out by Zuniaki, allowing him to spam out Power Word Shields to keep his team afloat. But Swapsy, if he can stay on target, it's going to be very scary. But Zuniaki's doing a good job line-of-sighting Swapsy in this matchup, trying to avoid that Unholy Death Knight, who is the real threat to his life.
They did actually manage to pull Icebound Fortitude, that cooldown that has a 3M on it underneath Swapsy's frame. It's pretty big defensive cooldown to use in a moment that looked quite mundane. So now without that extra defense later on, he could be vulnerable. Malediction flying in from Chaz. Zuniaki has to deal with that. He is now playing Shining Force to knock the DPS members away. Would have liked to see him save it to knock Swapsy away as well. Only getting Raikou, not too effective on a Demon Hunter, can just bounce right back. Zuniaki still making his way around the corner, but inevitably it's just looking like a race that he's not able to win. Chaz can just stay in it longer with the mana, rotate cooldowns more effectively. The Mortal Strike effect, no Mortal Strike effect on either side, but with Necrotic Strike and Malediction, it's way more devastating for the Priest.
Yeah, full stun on Zuniaki. He needs to be able to survive. The Powered Barrier comes in. Sanctuary from Kara as well. Kara has to be with Zuniaki for Zuniaki to survive. There is no way he can survive this damage without it. Swapsy actually rotting down a little bit now. Chaz having to play catch-up, throws out the Ironbark, tops off Swapsy instantaneously with that cooldown. Raiku's still a very difficult target to take down. Like Sid was saying, he has Leech, so every time he attacks, he actually heals himself up when he's in that Metamorphosis. Kara rotting down a little bit. Zuniaki has to play catch-up on all three members. But he's still just trying to avoid as much damage for as long as possible. Dampening has now kicked in. Zuniaki will be able to hold on for a little bit longer, but as dampening gets higher and higher, I just don't know if he can survive this damage.
And just look at this brick wall. Method Black's health is just not moving at this point in the match, and Chaz's mana is moving but not as fast, so it just looks more and more like nLite are going to lose. Zuniaki's been playing as well as he basically possibly can throughout the entire day. It's just the meta is not in his favor at this moment. If he manages to pull it off, it would be quite legendary, so we will have to give him the opportunity to try. Nice Shining Force. Swapsy's got a long way to march back towards Zuniaki. Good positioning on that punt, and it will allow Zuniaki an opportunity to breathe and maybe even sit down for a drink and regenerate some mana. Nope, Raikou immediately like, no, you don't get to have any chances, denying that drink right away.
Yeah, Demon Hunters have quite a lot of mobility, so it's going to be difficult for Zuniaki to actually get away and go for those drinks. Bash Cyclone now on Akara. If they can connect on Zuniaki, this is a good opportunity for Method Black. Now that Kara's out of the picture, nice double fear coming out from Zuniaki on a Swapsy and Raikou. Like you said, Zuniaki's been doing such a phenomenal job in this matchup with his positioning, with his defensive cooldown rotation. It's so difficult for him to really pull ahead in this matchup.
Oh.
One Trinket comes in, one Maledict. Is he going to get interrupted? No, Zuniaki's actually spamming out the heals. Another Maledict. He's trying to cross the map with this freedom. He gets Death Grip back, getting lower and lower. Paints a Brush traded out very late. Imprisonment on that. He has the Power Word barrier coming up just now. He's going to have to use it, but the Shining Force allows him to escape once again. Nicely done by Zuniaki.
Good usage of the map as well with that knockback downstairs. Swapsy has to march just so far to get back to his target, which is great against the Death Knight. And Raikou isn't likely to kill Zuniaki on his own. It's just disrupt them until Swapsy can get there, basically on the Demon Hunter's part. But once they're both there, it's quite difficult. Zuniaki sits down for a drink, gets one tick of it, gets full mana. If there was an opportunity for Zuniaki to somehow pull the rabbit out of the hat in this game, it would be off the back of a play like that. Dampening starting to ramp up. Raikou getting swapped too. And I don't think they're going to kill Swapsy unless it's exceedingly high dampening, but how do they even make it to that point? It's either Raikou or Chaz that they're going to burst down, I think, inevitably, if they can't make it that deep. Zuniaki getting interrupted. If they can chain two in a row, Kara tries to back him up, but even still, will it be enough? Imprisonment on the defensive cooldowns. Raikou knows exactly what he wants to do in this situation to just make it so difficult for Zuniaki to recover, but he does ultimately manage to bounce back.
Yeah, Zuniaki does stay alive for now, but still getting low. Swapsy putting out a lot of pressure on him. Raikou looking to reconnect as well. Chaz going to get a Cyclone onto Cassidy more than likely. Doesn't manage to find it, but Chaz keeping his team very healthy in this matchup. Abomination gets shackled once again. Nicely done by Zuniaki, but at 20% dampening, what is this Discipline Priest going to do? Shining Force once again being used by Zuniaki. He's trying to kite around the pillar, denying the uptime from Swapsy. Nice Hammer of Justice from Kara. Gets dispelled out there, and Swapsy will be free once again, but he just can't connect on target, and this is such good positioning from nLite.
Chaz gets cloned up there as Cassie switches some attention to both Swapsy and Raikou, trying to spread damage on multiple targets to bait Chaz out of bear form and then stun lock him. And he is doing the best that he can, but in this position in the current meta, Restoration Druid just looks a little bit unbreakable in this matchup in particular. Zuniaki with Power Barrier down, desperately trying to stay alive, but still barely hanging on. Imprisonment onto the Shadow Man, he just cannot heal. Chaz is under pressure at least. There might be a glimmer of hope here for Zuniaki, but ultimately now stun locked with two members of the team. Swapsy denies the crowd control from the Cyclone of Cassidy, and that denial will allow them an opportunity. Maybe not! Double Psychic Scream! Zuniaki pulls off the miracle. Does he have a Shining Force for the darkness? He tries to mind control it, not able to fake cast the interrupts, not able to deny the darkness, but suddenly out of nowhere, they do manage to deal a ton of damage, but Zuniaki doesn't have much left to try and get another opportunity like that again.
And Kara did train out his Divine Shield as well, so that's not going to be available if they make a swap over onto him, but I feel like Zuniaki is going to continue to be the target of choice in this matchup.
There's a Discipline Priest and a Death Knight in this game. There's no way Swapsy ever targets someone other than Zuniaki.
All right, fair enough. Zuniaki on 50%. Once again, gets the Shackle on the Abomination. Very nicely done. I think Chaz actually dispelled him out there, so good pressure now over onto Zuniaki. 30% dampening. How much longer can he survive? The only reason he's alive right now besides a lot of really good play, is Kara's freedoms. That Blessing of Freedom allows him to escape the Unholy Death Knight a little bit longer, but now with this positioning, he's not on a box. He can't knock them away. Zuniaki is stuck in midfield, trying to get away. Once again, the Feather comes in. Chains of Ice gets used by Swapsy. Nice double fear. Zuniaki doing everything he can, spamming out Shadowmans, Penance, Shadowmans. Once again, Kara keeping him alive with the Hammer of Justice over onto Raikou. I don't think there's many priests in this game that could stay alive this long in this matchup.
I mean, the composition is supporting him quite effectively as well, but I would definitely commend Zuniaki in this Restoration Druid meta. He is able to stay in the fight quite effectively, just ultimately not able to push them over. So it must be so defeating for him if they're not able to pull off at least one win in this matchup. They do have decent pressure right now on Raikou, dampening, reaching critical mass, and maybe finally they can penetrate through the healing effects of this composition that Method Black have crafted.
Nice Cyclone coming in from Cassie as well, denying the heals. Avenging Wrath is available for Kara. That is incredibly scary at 35% dampening. Swapsy doing everything he can to survive. AMS gets traded out. He has the Icebound Fortitude as well as the Death Pack to heal himself up if he needs it, but you cannot be too greedy at this point, dampening 40%. Everyone has Sharpened Blade on them. Swapsy getting lower. Chaz gets interrupted, and nLite does it. Unbelievable. I really counted them out. But
Zuniaki, yeah,
literally
screaming.
What? Dude, you cannot count Zuniaki out.
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
going to write that down in my notebook.
Ben, you said that it was impossible for dampening, but anything can happen in dampening. If you're not perfect, that can take that win condition straight away. All tied up, though, nLite versus Method Black.
I don't really think they have much choice. Zuniaki's team really only has that option. They don't have enough crowd control to remove all three members of Method Black long enough from the game to deny Healing Surge and Cyclone or Regrowth. So all they can do is really stall. Right now, they've got crowd control on Chaz, and they're trying to attack both Swapsy and Waz. Kara, was he playing Repentance
No,
there?
he wasn't.
Okay, Swapsy. Now, I was thinking maybe Repentance could be a way for them to
No,
cross
he is
crowd
playing
control.
Repentance. He wasn't playing in the last series, though, so that is an adaptation.
All right, Kara, let's see what you can do with this interesting talent selection. That could be the crowd control option that they need to try and do enough damage, but right now they have to switch off the target with Thorns currently active, so they're trying to chase down Swapsy, and this corner right here out in the open on Tolvaron is the best corner to stand in. If you're an Elemental Shaman, a Balanced Druid, a Mage, a Warlock, anything with wizards and wands, you want to be standing in that corner. It's the wizard corner. There's nowhere to hide if you're Kara or Cassidy or Zuniaki in this position, and it's the best spot to stand on the map, inevitably to peel for your team and dish out tons of damage. So Swapsy knows that, and he's just going to be hanging out in this corner for most of the fight, and it's up to nLite to decide if they want to play in that corner or just wait for dampening, because otherwise they could and try and do an all-in kill later on.
Do we like Chaz playing at the pillar right now? We saw Looney playing completely in the open, and that
I think
way
he's doing that right now.
Yeah, when Kara and Cassidy are looking for any sort of crowd control or damage on Chaz, they're just vulnerable in the middle of the map instead of having that pillar where they can really line of sight. So I think Chaz repositioning in this matchup is good. Kara taking some damage right now. Zuniaki able to spam out the Shadowmans. Dark Archangel is up right now, empowering their heals, looking for Repentance once again. And Chaz has been able to avoid them so far, but Kara can sneak one of those in later on in the game, especially in dampening. That could be huge for nLite.
Hibernate and Repentance. Pretend that you're playing Mage Feral for a second, but I don't think it's going to work. Even if they do manage to get this Repentance on Chaz, they're actually just using it on Waz. Maybe they try to run Chaz out of mana by Dispelling on cooldown. It seems like nLite are just fishing for things to work, and I don't think any of them are going to ultimately work. Zuniaki does have decent mana, and to be fair, the pressure from Method Black has not been nearly as tremendous as we saw from Baba's boys earlier today.
Yeah, that is true, but maybe we're being reminded of the late games in dampening where healing does fall behind, because that's I feel like that was a very critical factor for this particular matchup to end. Kara in midfield once again looking for some damage over on Swapsy, but not really finding it just yet. Chaz able to easily heal through this damage so far. Kara is looking for the crowd control. He has his Avenging Wrath, so what I think their game plan is try to find some crowd control at some point, and when they do, pull the trigger with everything and try to take someone down. But outside of those crowd control chains, I just don't see them doing more damage than Chaz can easily heal through.
All right, Kara left in midfield and taking a lot of damage as the brunt of that Maledict. And Zuniaki says, okay, Kara, you had enough fun in the wizard corner. Time to come back to the pillar. And then Kara says, no, Dad, I'm going back, and just immediately runs back into the fight to get cycloned. Not able to really get much going here against Method Black. Zuniaki looks like he's eager to march across the battlefield for crowd control, but that's a pretty risky maneuver. Repentance again just being constantly casted on Waz, even though Chaz can remove it almost immediately. Thunderstorm by Swapsy. Still a ton of damage crunching here. Chaz will deny with Iron Bark as we etch closer to dampening, which is, I think, an inevitability in this matchup in particular. Good Tremor Totem by Swapsy, removing that Psychic Scream on Chaz, but Hammer of Justice will now continue the chain, and Car actually switches to Chaz at Waz, protects him, and this is what I mean. You can stun up one target and go after it, but if the other two are free, it's almost impossible to find any opportunity to kill, especially with the composition with no Mortal Strike, no healing reduction, such as the composition that nLite have brought. It seems to be the case that they just don't have an answer to this Restoration Druid dampening meta.
Yeah, it seems really difficult for them to deal with. I mean, in the last game, they did a really good job managing to pull it out till dampening, finding their win condition. Maybe they can do it once again, but I just feel like the Boomkin and the Elemental Shaman are so durable, it becomes very difficult. And that's why I feel like Method Black, they have such a huge advantage in this matchup. Lightning Lasso on Kara once again. Swapsy putting out huge damage. Zuniaki has to respond with the Rapture there to keep Kara alive, and should be able to easily do so as Kara charges in once again looking for some pressure.
To be fair, Kara can survive for pretty much the same reason. With Word of Glory as well as Swiftman from Cassidy and Zuniaki, it's effectively 6 healers in the arena. If you can't remove all 3 threats, one of them could potentially deny a kill during that burst moment until you do get to deep stages of dampening. Kara currently with Avenging Wrath activated, trying to get some work done here, but Swapsy already kited away. Kara forced to attack Waz. He would much rather be attacking Swapsy, I do believe, in this current position, but they are going to switch their attention to Waz, try and create some pressure there, but not really generating anything off the back of this Avenging Wrath. Kara caught in a Lightning Lasso as Swapsy tries to set up some damage for his team. That Malediction Trinket really paying its weight in gold as Kara gets bursted down, but with all 3 members open to heal, it should be Kara recovering. Actually, Cyclone at low health. If they can get Divine Shield from Kara before dampening starts, he won't have that for his big push, so he needs to hold on to it if he can. Denying with that Shield of Vengeance, soaking up a huge hit with that shield, but even still, now the Shield of Vengeance has been cracked and Kara is still exposed in center field. Swapsy Hex Zuniaki. Cassidy is out of range to dispel it, moves right back in. Kara trinkets out of Lightning Lasso and retreats. I think Kara must know, if they can get mana, wait until really mega dampening like they did against Swapsy's Death Knights, perhaps they can close the game out that way, and that's why they've decided, okay, it's time to retreat. We've managed to have mana in dampening, we still have Divine Shield, and we need to hold on to that as long as possible.
Swapsy just casting out the Chain Lightning, trying to get out as much consistent damage as possible. And now you can see Swapsy on one side of the pillar, you can see Waz on the other side of the pillar, just looking for damage, trying to not allow nLite to get a full reset in this matchup, but it's pretty hard not to stop them from resetting at this point in the game. They're all going to be running away, realizing this is not the winning strategy. They can't just be in Sid's wizard corner and actually secure a kill, so they have to wait
by the way,
for a little bit later on in the game. We're at 9% dampening now. And my prediction for this game, I want to know your prediction, Sid. I feel like this is going to like 54%.
For some reason, I actually think Zuniaki's going to win, though. Even though we've just been counting him out the entire day, I think if they do this strategy, the SSDS classic, just stay at the corner and wait and pray and go for an all-in kill, that it can work just based on what I saw them do to Swapsy's Death Knight earlier. But they have to make it to that point, and Kara is kind of just cheekily standing in the open, and during Incarnation of Waz, that's not exactly the danger that you want to be playing with. Cassidy is way too far out. He says, yep, get back, run to the corner and hide from this Elemental Shaman, dishing down pain, and nLite do manage to get back to the pillar and stay in it.
Yep, Cassidy tossing out some regrowths. Kara, Zuniaki, and Cassidy and nLite, they have managed to survive for now. Method Black has taken damage in quite some time. All of them sitting very healthy. Chaz in a very defensive position, spamming out the heals. Waz looking for damage on Zuniaki as well. But there's just not too much that nLite can really do. If they push out into the open, it's just not a favorable trade. So like we kind of talked about, their best option, wait until the rest of Druid healing isn't effective anymore, try to push in, all in, go really aggressive, but they need high levels of dampening for that to work.
I'm thinking 40% is probably the critical mass mark where they do make a big push, so we're almost halfway to that point, and Method Black have to make the decision. Do we win on that all-in? Because if they don't, they should be running on top of nLite, and we did see Baba's boys run on top of them when they started doing this and attacking all 3 members, so Method Black playing it patient in this position could actually cost them.
Well, it looks like Waz is pushing in. To be fair, Swapsy and Waz are on top of them. Just don't want to run too far behind the pillar. Chaz now not able to get out healing on Waz. It was a nice cyclone by Cassidy. Cassidy trying to extend the chain by getting crowd control over onto Chaz. Manages to find the cyclone. There it is. The Repentance finally lands. Can they put some pressure on Waz? Doesn't look like it. 21% dampening, just not enough just yet. Kara, though, with that Repentance, those are the things that could win them the game later on.
I still feel like it's going to be a kill on Chaz. I'm not sure. Maybe Swapsy, without Frenzy Regen, they can crush him through Astral Shift. We're now over the 20% dampening mark, over halfway, I think, to the point nLite needs critical mass to be able to take down the target. And we have to wait and see which exactly the target is going to be in deep dampening. I'm not even sure if they know what would be the best target in this case. I'm not sure how often they try to do this strategy in particular. It's usually a strategy you only employ if you absolutely have to, and it's typically Destruction Warlocks, but in this case it's also if you're playing a Retribution Paladin into an Elemental Shaman Balanced Druid, you just simply cannot play out in the open. You only have this option. You have to save Divine Shield for an aggressive push, otherwise you're just simply too exposed and will get destroyed out in midfield. Chaz sits down for a drink. He knows that this is going into deep dampening, at least wants to make sure that mana isn't a problem, so he is conscientious of that at least. Waz getting bashed up, but Zuniaki's got a power berry. Finally, we see Method Black developing some pressure on targets here, and they need to start punishing this playstyle from nLite despite it, because if Kara pushes forward for that all-in, it could cost them a game, and if they lost this series, it would be devastating for them in the tournament season.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and you can see Zuniaki really struggling to keep his team alive, relying on Cassidy and Kara's off heals. It becomes really difficult for the Discipline Priest, especially as dampening gets higher and higher. All this little bits of damage, the damage over time effects from the Moonfire, the Sunfire, the Flame Shock from Swapsy and Waz will eventually add up to an amount Zuniaki can't really handle.
All right, Avenging Wrath. It looks like Kara wants to make a move, and he's doing a ton of damage and catching Method Black asleep, maybe. Chaz responds just a little bit late. However, responding is going to be enough for Swapsy to recover, and now they've got Kara exposed. Cassidy says, nope, I'm getting back to this pillar with Zuniaki, but Kara got left behind, trying to make his way back over. Ursul's Vortex, trying to catch that life grip with it, not able to find it. They go for the Maledict to play on Kara with Star Surge comboed together. But he is able to duck out of line of sight, and I think that Avenging Wrath was a bit premature. Fortunately, it's not that long of a cooldown, only another minute and 25 seconds before Kara can make an attempt again with that opportunity. But based on the results of that attack, I'm not thinking that 40% is enough.
Yeah, no, we need 52%, which was my prediction.
Oh, you think 52%?
I think so. It might even be higher, to be honest with you. Swapsy didn't even use his Astral Shift in that exchange. But to be fair, Cassidy still has his Berserking, so he can get aggressive. Feral Druid cooldowns are very effective as well. They might be able to take down Swapsy or at least force Ironbark again.
I mean, at this point, Zuniaki's mana isn't looking too hot. So if Method Black can start getting some damage out, I think they are going to take this, but they don't look nearly as confident as we saw Looney's team earlier in the day against nLite. Of course, nLite employed a completely different strategy. They did not try this. Let's just chill until as high as we can go and pray that they just die, because that's seems to be their only option. Triple Capacitor Totem here as they do finally start to push forward, and like Zico said in the pre-game analysis, that this map can backfire because this pillar is just simply so big you can never actually get around it to kill anybody. So maybe an open field map would have been a better selection, and play Rogue Mage on this map, because Rogue Mage would have made more sense, and then play Runes of Lordon. But in the meantime, Kara gets bursted down. He has to hold on to Divine Shield. If he uses it to survive, he can't use it to attack. If he can't use it to attack, he simply can't attack. So they have to be careful. They've played it out for this late game. They can't afford to just throw it away.
Yeah, Avenging Wrath is up, and the Berserking, so this is nLite's opportunity. They need the Dark Archangel in 30 seconds, and that is going to be the moment where they can push in, potentially. I mean, they could wait even longer if they really wanted to. Chaz sitting down.
I think you wait. I actually think you wait.
Wait, 70%? But that's risky. I feel like it's risky to wait that long, because that's a point where Zuniaki can't ever recover.
Well, I mean, double thorns. Like, you're gonna, you have to Divine Shield when you do it, because it's gonna be double thorn. You're taking too much damage, and if he Divine Shields and it's not enough, then the game is over. So I feel like they're gonna have to wait even longer if they want to make sure that they get it, because if they don't get it during Divine Shield, they're not getting it.
And we'll have to see. Zuniaki moving in. This could be it. Looking to go after Waz right now. Dark Archangel. Every single button has been pressed, except the Berserking from Cassidy. They managed to hold on to that. Barkskin still not used by Waz, but he gets interrupted. Getting low. Bash on Chaz. Waz could get taken down here, but the bear form is just so effective. Swapsy spamming out heals. Chaz with the Iron Bark. Waz with the Barkskin, but now maybe Kerr and Cassidy, they can just push him over. Repentance on Swapsy. Fear comes in as well. Waz has to be able to stabilize just a little bit longer. They need to be able to survive to put the counter pressure over on nLite, but they might be able to take Waz down right here and right now.
Why isn't Waz using Thorns? He's been sitting on it this entire time. He could have got so much counter pressure with the Thorns. He's still not using it, but they didn't get the kill. I don't believe they're going to get the kill. Repentance. Chaz dodges it. Good awareness by Chaz, despite dampening being so high. Avoids the crowd control, trinkets the stun, and now that's Divine Shield. They committed. They didn't get the kill. Repentance. Is it going to be enough? Because I really don't think so. Waz, I don't think Keybind is Thorns in this game because he still hasn't used it, despite this being the best opportunity ever to use it against this composition. He's just holding on to it. And now Chaz is going to come out of crowd controls, and he's definitely going to use his Thorns immediately, and they really just can't afford to attack into it. And this is what I was saying. I think they actually should have just waited. They had to wait longer. It was not deep enough into dampening, and now they have to wait 3 minutes for another Divine Shield.
They don't have 3 minutes.
They don't.
I can guarantee you that. We are at 56% dampening. Car, he used his Divine Shield to push in aggressively. Zuniaki almost completely tapped on mana. Waz pushing in. Incarnation. This is devastating for nLite. They're trying to hold on just a little bit longer. Maybe they can take Waz down. Cassidy running for his life as well. All three members of nLite once again in full retreat, but maybe Method Black won't be able to actually finish off this game. Like Zika was saying, this map is a double-edged sword. This is a huge pillar that they can use to run around, avoid damage, really mitigate what Method Black can do offensively.
I mean, Zuniaki, you've got 10% mana, half health.
It's Zuniaki, man.
The enemy team full health, basically full mana. I don't know at this point much else he can do. Lava Burst fly in. He just pops Dark Archangel and says, okay, team, go for it. I'm chilling back here because there's not much else I can do. Jumps out with a powered Solace. They can't attack into Thorns. They can't afford the cost, but everybody is just dead on the side of nLite as dampening mounts up higher and higher. Cassidy gets swapped to and bursted out of nowhere. Zuniaki's got nothing to work with. In desperation, they try and kill Waz, but another Thorns. They can't afford to attack into it, or they're just going to be throwing their own lives away, but they're just risking it. They don't care. It's do or die. Get the Repentance and win. Solar Beam denies it. That Repentance might have actually been able to close the game. Good awareness by Waz. He's back to the Supati's Wizard corner, and in this position, it's going to be curtains for the team of nLite as Lava Burst finally close it out at 65% dampening. Method Black put nLite on match point. I do have of the day. nLite, Zuniaki's team, they face elimination. They have not been able to find an answer for this Restoration Druid, Elemental Shaman, Balance Druid throughout the entire tournament, and unless they can pull off a miracle here in game number 4, I do believe, they are going to be sent packing. Carr jumps in towards Chaz. Cassidy is gunning down Waz. They're going for a split strategy, trying to mix it up, trying to catch Chaz off guard, and then maybe go for a freezing trap and a swap later on. But in the meantime, Cassidy's been stalled out with a Cyclone and unable to start ramping. Carr going to start the attack with a freezing trap as they do select their target. Both Swapsy and Waz taking a bit of heat here. Chaz repositions, Innervate, well timed there by Chaz, allowing him to freely heal through the multi-target damage of nLite. They do manage to get at least a decent amount of pressure early on.
Yep, nLite, they're playing very aggressive, bashing out onto Chaz. Waz falling behind, Swapsy falling behind as well. Chaz just needs a few moments to top off his team though, and then this offensive push will be sort of knocked away, and unfortunately for nLite, if they can't continue this pressure, it's going to be difficult for them moving forward. Chaz getting swapped to now. Nice mind control on Swapsy. nLite all over the place in this matchup. This is a great opener for them. Cassie now into the bash. Doesn't have a trinket. Rapture from Zuniaki will keep him alive as they're forced off onto the pillar once again.
And Cassidy retreating back to the safety of this pillar in midfield, and then as soon as he's recovered, jumping back into the fight. Surprisingly, Zuniaki actually is ahead on mana. This might be the only point that this happens, so I want to point it out, but this strategy may actually be opportunity for nLite. They've got a lot of pressure. Chaz is dipping low, but with both Regrowth, Cyclone, and Healing Surge being casted, it's unlikely that Chaz will go down, even with the Maledict. Potentially, Dark Archangel might be enough for Cassidy to bite through it. They do manage to pull at least multiple defensive cooldowns from Chaz. As soon as they see that, another opportunity to switch to a different target, and nLite are playing this match the best that I've seen them play throughout the tournament.
Yep, Zuniaki, instead of sort of playing midfield, running at Chaz, he's playing on the pillar, he's keeping his team aggressive, so doing a good job, putting the fears onto Swapsy when he can to deny some of those off heals when they do make those swaps onto Chaz. So I think Zuniaki is playing this game a lot better than he did against Baba's boys on Ruins of Lordaeron. Now Waz getting a little bit low. He has the Thorns activated, so going to be using it this game to redirect some damage onto Cassidy and Kara as they are looking to get aggressive.
All right, Kara still trying to keep the pressure, but gets lightning lassoed by Swapsy, Cyclone and Cassidy, everyone in crowd control. Zuniaki still ahead on mana in this matchup if they could somehow manage to keep that going into the late game. And I love these freezing traps on Chaz. Maybe he should time them during the defensive cooldown windows like Barkskin and Ironbark to try and force even more during that window, but they do pull Astral Shift from Swapsy, and this is the most cooldowns we've seen them get against this composition, and either they're playing significantly better or Baba's boys are playing much better than Method Black are in this composition. I mean, this may be the first time we've seen Method Black play this. They're just pulling it out of their pocket, and you can definitely see the difference between a team that's well-versed. Zuniaki still playing at the pillar. Powered Solace, that little beam of light that jumps out from Zuniaki. He has to use that on cooldown to generate mana, and it also deals damage. If he can use that as often as possible in his rotation, he can potentially out-mana Chaz, but if he's not managing it properly, he will start to fall behind.
I like what Swapsy's doing. He's playing on top of Zuniaki, not allowing him to just spam out smites, keeping the pressure onto him. Meanwhile, Waz getting damage onto Kara, onto Cassidy during this matchup. Lightning Lasso now onto Zuniaki, actually activating his human Rachel to get out of that every man for himself. But still, nice pressure from Swapsy. Chaz getting swapped to in the meantime. Barskin was forced out. Cassidy looking for a Cyclone onto Chaz, freezing his HP. He's looking to spread his damage over time effects onto Swapsy as well.
I'm just wondering if there's any other healers. Zuniaki, I guess the Root Solar Beam isn't really that effective, so playing Human, I do believe, allows him... Is he playing Night Elf? It's hard to tell. I think he's actually playing Night Elf. I'm not sure why Zuniaki is running Night Elf of all the choices that he has available, unless he just likes the aesthetic of Night Elf. But he can Shadow Meld, but it's a lot more difficult than just simply being able to get out of a stun or get out of a root effect. So a bit surprising choice there. Carr kind of makes sense with the Dark Iron Dwarf. You can remove all the magic over time effects, get a big boost of damage, and then Cassidy is kind of limited on his options, really, at least until we get Kultirans. I'm not sure when they are coming, but they are coming, so maybe we see that in the future. In the meantime, Cassidy getting caught in center field. Zuniaki lined up, primed and ready. Swapsy's actually trying to go after Zuniaki a lot more, which is interesting. Chaz, though, gets freezing trapped, unfortunately, at the same time that Waz gets Cyclones. They're forced to attack a different target. However, nLite have way more pressure than I've ever seen so far against this composition, and they've got good mana as well, and we're going to a Game 5 potentially here. Unfortunately, that Game 5 is probably going to be a Death Knight Swapsy, so even if Zuniaki manages to pull this off, he has to do it again, and this is the most difficult tournament you could ever put a Discipline Priest in, easily.
Yep, Zuniaki is up to the challenge, though, doing a great job keeping his team alive. Cassidy now taking a little bit of damage. Nice Cyclone coming in from Chaz or Waz. I'm not sure which one managed to find that on Cassidy, freezing his HP. Rapture now up for Zuniaki. It's a very low cooldown. It's a very low cooldown that Zuniaki has available. Every minute and 20 seconds, he can keep his team alive with that by just spamming out the Power Word shields. It's very effective. Zuniaki hasn't had to use the Pain Suppression or the Powered Barrier just yet in this matchup. We are now just entering dampening at 3%. It's going to become more difficult for both of these teams. Method Black has sort of stabilized, and it is Zuniaki that's struggling to sort of catch up his team.
Yeah, mana's still in it, but these burst windows are just going to get more and more scary. With no Gladiator's Medallion on Cassidy, Lightning Lasso cannot be removed by him, and Lightning Lasso does the most damage on the team of Method Black, so it's going to be a bit scary there. Chaz in a freezing trap. Zuniaki still posted up in midfield, just maximizing his damage, maximizing his mana retention to try and desperately win the game in the later stages, but going up against the Restoration Druid variant is not likely. Cassidy gets bursted down. Swapsy moves in, trying to close this match, but he has overextended and decided to not overstay his welcome, thunderstorming both Cassidy and Kara away and pulling back to Chaz's side. In the meantime, Chaz decided to try and sneak away for a drink during that opportunity, but did not manage to find it. Kara does deny him that opportunity, and with mana still tied, it's still anyone's match. Chaz gets stunned up. Is Kara going to go for the freezing trap is now the question. Doesn't look... He is going to go for the freezing trap, but Cassidy just can't attack. He's forced to retreat away, and it's such a difficult dance to initiate if you want to chain crowd control together, but you're getting counter pressured at the same time. You have to stop so many vital abilities. Any one of them going off can just deny your kill, and it's just so difficult to do. On top of that, you need deep dampening to really penetrate just through the passive nature of the Restoration Druid's heal over time effects, and it's looking rather grim, but Zuniaki is still keeping that light at the end of the tunnel. He's still marching towards it despite how grim the outcome looks.
Yep, full trap now on Chaz. Do they have the damage on Swapsy or Waz? It looks like they are splitting right now. Swapsy taking a little bit of damage as the Maledict Trinket does absorb some healing. Number 2 coming in. Chaz dispels it. Swapsy should be able to survive with that. And in the meantime, nLite doing quite healthy. Getting bashed up is Cassidy in midfield. Zuniaki getting interrupted here. Kara just behind the pillar, just kind of sitting there. I think he might have to res his pet. Once that beam, he was standing in the beam for too long. He was silenced. He couldn't res his pet. Finally able to walk out of that, get his pet out, and now he can push in, try to get the crowd control over onto Chaz, and they can continue this damage on the Waz.
Freezing trap secured, dampening ramping up. This is when they need to try and get Barkskin from Waz to look for kills later on, but they're not even getting it. Waz in bear form with thorns, redirecting damage and making himself more durable. This is a dangerous choice, but they're just trying to gun through it. Trying to force a kill potentially. Ironbark will deny it. Cassidy moves over to Chaz immediately to try and switch some attention, but Lightning Lasso will deny some of the follow-up. Zuniaki sitting down for a drink. Earth do manage to stop it with a Starfall and a Cap Totem eventually. Zuniaki not going to be getting any mana, but he still has a well-established lead, at least moving into dampening. They just need to start forcing some cooldowns. They do have good crowd control here on Swapsy. Maybe they go in for the kill here and now. Nope, not enough. And Cassidy's forced away immediately by Waz's Incarnation. Lots of Star Surge damage. Maledict soaking up some healing from Zuniaki. Does not have Dispel available, it appears. And Cassidy is just struggling to stay in the fight. Dome of Light here by Zuniaki. Well placed during the Incarnation. And with that Cyclone on Waz will completely nullify the assault of Method Black.
Yeah, Waz into the Cyclone, slowing down all of that damage at 22% dampening. Things are going to become very scary. Zuniaki's team and nLite, they aren't playing nearly as defensive as we saw in the last game, so I think it's unlikely we're heading to 60% Dampville. Chaz now caught into full stun. Is there going to be a follow-up trap? It looks like nice pressure coming in from Kara. He's actually just deciding to pressure down Chaz instead of trapping him. Now that he's low, he gets trapped. Waz getting rotted down as well by Cassidy. Cassidy could be in a little trouble, though. Caught in the midfield. Swapsy putting out big damage. Lava Burst coming in onto him. But Zuniaki doing a good job on this pillar, keeping him alive, keeping him offensive. But a nice thunderstorm from Swapsy, both Cassidy and Zuniaki. Caught into the midfield. Lightning Lasso will put out huge damage onto Cassidy as well. Zuniaki is running out of mana, and he is running out of time.
Yeah, that well-established lead is all but burned out, and Zuniaki needs to replace the light bulbs on his team. He's trying to here, sitting down for a drink and allowing himself to regenerate. If he gets full mana, he's not able to. Starfall denies it. He didn't even want to risk it, but with half mana, is half mana enough? Zuniaki moves in, drops the Maledicts, tries to get a lot of damage up, but not really getting too much. Cassidy's taking the brunt of the exchange. Lightning Lasso followed up from Bash. Devastation during this cooldown. Cassidy just cannot get any pressure going. Waz activates Thorns, double Thorns. I do not believe that they stack, so a bit of a mistake there on the part of Method Black. Cassidy retreats away. Zuniaki's already burned the mana he got from that drink just moments ago, and despite playing this out as effectively as he can, it's just looking more and more grim. Maybe they all in on Chaz on the next stun with Dark Archangel. So Swapsy just kind of wasted his Gladiator's Medallion. That's actually a pretty big mistake. I wouldn't actually be surprised to see Swapsy die pretty shortly from that mistake. No, preemptive Astral Shift will kind of shore up that. He may just die anyway. Where is his damage coming from? From nLite. Swapsy stays alive. Healing Surges and Cyclones to back him up, but how much longer? Dampening seems to be finally starting to make it difficult for Chaz to immediately recover. Zuniaki's forced to life grip Cassidy to safety right as that Maledict connected, dispel it and top off. Both teams almost on the ropes for mana. One more big push, but 2 Thorns are available for Method Black. If Waz activates that, it's going to be a risky exchange for nLite to trade damage onto Swapsy and damage onto themselves during that moment, during the Thorns activation. Kara preemptive aspect of the turtle to try and allow Zuniaki to get mana back, but Waz denies it with Starfall, and now there's no aspect of the turtle. Cassidy's so low. Zuniaki's got no mana. Everybody's back to full HP on Method Black and still got a little bit of mana left in the tank, and this is just looking like an inevitability for nLite's defeat.
Yeah, this is what's so difficult for nLite. No one has Trinket. Kara has his rotating out, but Cassidy, if he gets caught in a full Cyclone from Waz, which is likely if they are on Swapsy, their offensive push just gets stopped completely. Bash now onto Waz. He has the Barskin. He has the Thorns up as well. It's going to be difficult for nLite to push through this. Chaz still has the Ironbark to fall back on as well. Dark Archangel was used there by Zuniaki. Powered Barrier gets dropped out. Cassidy gets Cyclone and knocked out of it. So he is vulnerable in Car. He doesn't have that aspect of the turtle for quite some time. Complete control of this last little bit of the game from Method Black. 41% dampening, and this is where Zuniaki is really going to struggle on that discipline freeze.
I mean, once again, Method Black all back to full HP. The only thing really is Chaz made a mistake. He pre-Iron Bark, never mind, the mistake is made up for, and Waz is basically not going to be going down it whatsoever. And there's too much damage for nLite as they're just quivering around the corner to stay alive, to have any opportunity to snag more points in the first tournament, but with absolutely nothing left in complete defiance, they tried to make a final stand, but ultimately will be a final fall. I do believe here shortly. Swapsy lines up the Stormkeeper, goes around the corner, and as soon as these lightning bolts, he get denied with the bash. They're squeaking for any opportunity, any little sign of weakness that they can try and exploit, but there just really isn't one. Solar Beam on the entire team. Zuniaki's got nothing left, and everybody is rotting down. Zuniaki manages to stay in it just a bit longer. Maledix connects. Gasti cannot afford to attack into Thorns, which gets activated. Zuniaki activates Dark Archangel. It's all or nothing, but I think it's going to be
What is happening?
Cassidy hangs on. They're playing it out so bravely, but I just know they're inevitably going to die. They're just trying to do whatever they can to get a kill, but they can't crack the defense. Can they crack the defense?
I don't know what's going on. Full trap on Chaz! No way. Can they take Swapsy down? He has the Astral Shift. He gets interrupted. Activates it just a little too late, sort of baiting nLite into the open, but this might be too late in the game with a stun on Chaz. Can they take him down? Double Fear as well on Chaz. No Tremor Totem available. How is he alive? And like, can they do the impossible and take him down? Zuniaki, Kara, Cassidy all so low. The last push, the last effort they have to try to take down Swapsy. Thorns denies it. Chaz uses the Iron Bark, but he's still low. Zuniaki holding on by a thread. How? What is happening?
Zuniaki needs your energy, everybody watching right now. Can he pull off the miracle? The last discipline freeze in the tournament, filled with nothing but Druids. Cassidy gets cloned at low health, but Swapsy is still so low. Healing Surge manages to stabilize. Cassidy comes to the clump of Zuniaki's bashed, and finally, Method Black pushed them out of their misery.
Cross kill?
No way, right? They've got to be putting them out of their misery at this point. Zuniaki just refusing to go down even in these final seconds. 2 versus 3, hexed up, no way to connect. Carr still just jumping at his target like, come here, I'm gonna do this, I don't care, I've played this out for I need to get this kill, I've played this series out for far too long, Carr says, but I mean with his pet dead and his Feral Druid also dead, I just don't think they're gonna be able to pull it off. Method Black restabilize. nLite are lights out. That light at the end of the tunnel is just not there despite how long they've walked.
All right. Do you think any of these new rosters in particular have a great road?
Chalky Milkman, their rogue mage is on point really in this entire tournament, and that can be the composition to completely dismantle elemental shamans. So even though that composition we saw looked dominant